No one knew his name. To them, he was just number 17, an orphan kidnapped from the slums and sold to an illegal research lab. At the lab, he got injected with all sorts of monster cells to create a human-monster hybrid called a chimera. And why were they doing all this? You probably already know this one, so give us a like and subscribe and let's speedrun this. One day, a gate to another world opened, and all the monsters poured out. Some very creative humans named it the Demon Realm, very unique. Then, just like clockwork, awakened humans begin appearing, and predictably, they're called hunters. But there was one tiny little problem. Not enough people were awakening as hunters. That, plus the high mortality rate, we're talking a serious manpower shortage here. So what does humanity do when faced with extinction? Build our own monsters, of course. These new lab-grown hunters were devastatingly powerful. Now, how did they make these things? Well, let's just say the ethics department went on a very long vacation. They mixed death row inmates with funky glowing space rocks and a dash of monster goo. Desperate times led to some seriously dark experiments, my friends. This grim process made it possible to mass-produce these chimera hunters. It was a win for humanity, as long as you weren't on the receiving end. Decades later, at an illegal chimera research lab, two researchers are just about done for the night. They notice that something's wrong with number 17. His arm looks rotten, about to fall off. Experiment side effect maybe? Deciding the subject is trash anyway, they just sign off on it and walk away. The researchers report to the lab director. Number 17 is now useless. His body is too badly damaged. When asked how long it has left, the prognosis is grim. A month tops. So the director, being a great guy, decides to send him on one last suicide mission, have him cover the retreat. However, do not input a return command. Number 17 is being sent on a one-way mission. The day of the mission arrives. Number 17 is doing all the heavy lifting, slicing through a colossal worm creature like butter, taking down monsters in one single energy blast. Watching from a safe distance, the human hunters are impressed. As expected of an S-class chimera hunter, one of the hunters says it's been 3 days and the gate isn't closing, but the leader isn't worried. He's confident that with their S-class disposable shield holding the line, they can last forever. Their only job is to handle the stragglers that get past. Finally, the gate shows signs of closing. Time to get home. The leader calls the retreat. Everyone dips, except for our disposable MC. The orders were to leave him. His lifespan's up anyway, the leader explains. The girl feels bad, but the leader dismisses her. Chimeras are basically robots. They just follow orders. As number 17 takes on the last few monsters, the orders crackle in his brain. One last final blast, and he's done. Once the mission is over, he doesn't need to return. His body finally gives out. Retreat route secured. Mission complete. Return not permitted. At the moment of his death, something stirs in his mind. A past he never knew he had. He was once a human, kidnapped at age 9. With his brain scrambled from the experiments, the memories are just scenes without any meaning. So he just calmly watches the tragic story of his own past life unfold. The memories begin 79 years ago at an orphanage. Then 70 years ago, he's being scolded for hitting a friend. Eventually, he's kicked out. We can't keep you anymore. Alone in the cold, he wanders until he finally collapses in the snow. As he lies there, a black van pulls up and its occupants see an easy target. Next thing he knows, he's strapped to a table in a lab labeled number 17. Then the experiments begin. They inject S-class silkworm larva cells, eager to see the results. To their surprise, he maintains his human form. Seeing this, they decide to push even harder. Fast forward to 64 years ago. He's now a teenager. He effortlessly blasts a pair of giant wasps out of the sky. A hunter apologizes for being a burden. It's fine, number 17 replies, carrying the whole team even as a kid. But 59 years ago, the side effects start. He starts losing his memories. 54 years ago, the experiments continue. Number 17 is now their greatest, most monstrous success. 20 years ago, he's now treated like a trained circus animal. And finally, we're back to the present. All missions complete, and our MC falls on the battlefield. Then, a long time passes, and everything has turned to dust. But back in the spot where number 17 died, something is happening. A single bone starts to twitch. Suddenly, it shoots into the air, glowing with an intense energy as it starts to rebuild. With 527 types of monster cells implanted, the story of number 17 isn't over just yet. Flesh and sinew rapidly weave themselves around the new skeleton. The regeneration culminates in a blinding flash of golden energy that explodes across the battlefield. As the light fades, 2 feet plant themselves firmly on the scorched earth. He looks down at his hands. Number 17 is now completely human. Reborn in a fiery wasteland, our hero has a very important question. Am I turning back into a human? He glances at his hand, which immediately morphs into a monstrous claw. Guess that answers that question. The monster cells are still active. Also, it seems that a lot of time has passed and no one's come to retrieve him. I guess I was discarded, he thinks. Ghosted by your own evil scientists. Ouch. But then he checks his wrist and sees the experiment number branded on him is gone. Hey, a silver lining. Does this mean he's finally free? No longer tied to that awful lab? The hope is real, my friends. He figures this miraculous regeneration must be thanks to some immortal-type monster cells they pumped into him, like a phoenix or something cool. These types can revive over and over as long as their core isn't destroyed. Basically, he's a walking, talking water bear with better abs. He recalls being told humans couldn't even fuse with immortal cells. But hey, who cares about the rules when your body is back in its prime? All the nasty side effects are gone, the constant brain fog has finally lifted, and all those creepy control spells they embedded in him are gone too. He is 100% free. He thinks about his past life, chained up like an animal. If his time as number 17 is really over, maybe, just maybe, he can finally live like a human. The number 17 was just a label. He tries to dig deep and remember his actual name. A memory surfaces. The head of the orphanage once told him he had a rough personality and suggested he try to help people instead. Based on the idea of helping 1,000 people, he was given the name Xian Duwoon. Back in the present, Duwoon just scoffs at the memory. How ridiculous! How could a homeless orphan from the slums possibly help anyone? He can't even help himself find some pants. Which brings him to the ultimate question. Then what should I do now? Revenge maybe? He entertains the idea for a solid second. But honestly, that all feels like a lifetime ago. The desire for revenge has kind of faded. Besides, he has no way to get back to the human world anyway. Whatever, he'll just deal with his old enemies if he happens to run into them. With a new sense of purpose, he makes a decision. Okay, I've decided. He stands there silhouetted against the sun like a hero. For now, I'll try to live like a human being. Hey Okaroon, looks like we found your missing ball. Anyway, enough of that. Duwoon's now thinking of the first thing he needs. Clothes. It has been a while he's needed clothes, to be fair. So begins his trek across the barren desert on a noble quest for pants. Eventually, his journey leads him to a lush, green forest with a sparkling lake. He pushes through some bushes, looking for anything he can use for his new wardrobe. And he stops, noticing signs of a scuffle. Looks like there was a monster turf war here recently. Lying on the ground is the body of a huge, griffin-like monster. It looks tough, but there are no major wounds on it. He leans in for a closer look and figures it must have died from poison. Good, he thinks, cracking his knuckles. I needed leather anyway. The timing is just too perfect. His arm morphs into a sharp bone blade. Well, that's one way to start a crafting session. He tries to remember the dissection techniques he was forced to learn in the lab. See? All that trauma was educational. Alright, let's give it a try. He plunges the blade right into the creature's hide. Suddenly, a wave of purple energy erupts from the corpse. Whoa, it's the poison. The toxic cloud surrounds him. But meh, he's totally immune to that. He just wrinkles his nose at the smell and decides he should probably wash the hide out later. A short while later, the job is done. Not bad for his first time playing tailor. Now wearing a makeshift loincloth, he heads to the lake. Next up, laundry day. He tries to wash the hide but finds it's incredibly stiff, almost like a sheet of metal. Then, a brilliant idea strikes him. When in doubt, punch it! He starts pummeling the hide with his bare fists to soften it up. Classic problem solving. He pauses, wondering if this is actually how you tan leather. He figures, yeah, probably. With a final flurry of mighty punches, bam, the job is done. He holds up the hide and finds it's finally soft and pliable. See? Brute force works every time. He starts shaping it, but hold on. The creature's alive, and it stares in shock as Duwoon rips up his hide. Smash! That's haute couture for you folks. He slips it on and adjusts the fit. Not bad at all. He finally has clothes. Duwoon adjusts his new leather getup, feeling pretty proud of himself. It's a perfect fit. He tugs at the collar, noticing the monster's poison is still faintly glowing on the hide. He decides it's not a big deal, but then a strange squawking sound stops him in his tracks. Wait a second, wasn't that thing dead? The body is chirping and shaking. It's alive. He figures it must be one of those immortal-type monsters. He was pretty sure it died, but here it is back from the dead. Back in his hunter days, he would have finished it off without a second thought. But it's weak now and poses no threat. He decides to let it live, telling it they both got a second chance at life. With a final maybe we'll meet again, he just turns and walks away, leaving the poor thing completely stunned. With the clothing situation handled, his next priority is finding some shelter. He finds a large cave and wanders inside to check it out. Seems like a decent spot. And then the ground beneath his feet completely shatters. A monstrous, armored centipede bursts from the ground. As this behemoth looms over him, his only thought is this place too dark? This man's priorities are just built different. In a flash, he slices the creature into pieces with a single sweep of his hand. Problem solved. Seeing the messy aftermath, he dismisses the cave. Too much cleanup. It's a nope for him. His house hunting journey continues. Snowy mountain. Too hard to find food in. Nope. The mushrooms here are too smelly. Nope. This cave is too humid. Double nope. A volcanic area is, you guessed it, Way too hot. Another nope. This is the worst episode of House Hunters ever. Finally, he stumbles upon a place that literally takes his breath away. The scenery is actually beautiful. He never imagined he'd find any part of the demon realm this nice. Intrigued, he decides to explore the area, leaping across the landscape like it's nothing. He peers into the crystal clear water and sees it's absolutely teeming with fish. Of course, they're demonic piranhas with razor-sharp teeth, but to Do-woon, they look delicious. With a natural food source, he starts thinking that maybe building a house here is a good idea. There are flowers, the air is fresh, this place is a 10 out of 10. Standing in a sunlit grove, he finally makes up his mind. Alright, the future site of Cheon Do-woon's dream house has officially been acquired. But just as he's enjoying the moment, the atmosphere shifts and crackling energy fills the air. Well, the peace didn't last long. The swirling black portal rips open space itself, spitting something out onto the ground with a loud crash. As the dust settles, a small robotic figure stands in the crater, sparking with electricity. Its glowing red sensors scan the area as it asks itself, is this the demon realm? Looks like someone's got a new neighbor. Alright, back to Do-woon. He has found his perfect little slice of paradise. Yep, this is the spot. He can even hear a waterfall. It's got all the perfect vibes for a cozy, post-apocalyptic lifestyle. And just like that, he makes up his mind. It's time to stop wandering and build a home. A real house, right here. First thing on the agenda, a bit of landscaping. But forget an axe, our guy has a different method. With one flick of the wrist, his energy threads just zip through the forest, slicing down trees like they're made of butter. Instant deforestation. He steps back to admire the mess he's made. Pretty good. Now for phase 2 of his master plan. He uses his powers to sort through the logs, picking out the best ones like he's at a supernatural lumber yard. So he's got the wood, but the ground is all bumpy with stumps and rocks. No problem at all. Who needs a shovel when you can just punch the planet into submission? Bam. And there you have it, a perfectly flat foundation. He looks so proud of himself. He takes a moment to think, realizing he's not following orders for once. He's just doing things on his own. With that newfound motivation, he casually lifts a log that weighs more than a car to set up the pillars. He wonders if this is what people call free will. Man, he's actually having a good time. Who knew manual labor could be so fun? With the frame sorted, he lays down the floorboards at super speed. But now he needs to put up the walls, and he's fresh out of nails. So he improvises with the next best thing, snail monster mucus. Hey, don't knock it. When this stuff hardens, it's as tough as stone and it's waterproof. It's organic construction material, folks. For the finishing touch, he sets up a nice little barrier. Just a casual home security system to keep the riffraff out. And there it is. One cozy cabin held together by snail goo and protected by his own magic silkworm thread. Home sweet home. He looks at his creation, but something feels off. He can't quite put his finger on what's missing. The poor guy is so clueless about normal life that he literally has to ask himself what a house is supposed to look like. He starts digging through his memories, back to the training videos they showed him at the lab before the world went crazy. Ah, that's it. He remembers that normal people often had pets, like a dog playing in the yard. Yeah, that's probably not happening here in the demon realm. So, he considers the next best thing a little vegetable garden. Then, a light bulb goes off. He remembers seeing a snowy mountain not too far from here. His grand idea? He's gonna go find some mandragoras to plant in his yard, because what every home needs is screaming demonic plants. Apparently, their natural habitat is way up near the summit, where the demonic energy is super concentrated. So off he goes, trekking through the deep snow. The cold doesn't even bother him. One of the few perks of his condition. The falling snow brings back a memory. It was snowing just like this on the day he was taken to the lab. He remembers being just a kid, freezing in the snow. Back then, he actually thought being kidnapped was a good thing. He thinks about the upside of being a chimera. At least he never has to worry about being cold or hungry anymore. As the storm clears, he sees he's arrived. He's found an entire field of little mandragora sprouts poking out of the snow. He knows they're delicate creatures that can die from stress, so he decides he'll only take a few of the younger ones that can adapt better. He carefully pulls the first one up, bracing himself for that famous eardrum-shattering scream he's read about. But instead of a shriek, it just lets out a sleepy little murmur. Huh? This is not what he expected. He pulls up another one, and it does the exact same thing. They're just making little sleepy noises. He looks at the two adorable little potato creatures in his hands and realizes, are these guys just talking in their sleep? It turns out the whole deadly scream thing is because humans artificially cultivate them. When pulled out under stress, they freak out and die. He figures they're not screaming because this is their natural home. But why are they so chill with him? And then it clicks. His body is infused with mandragora cells. They must think he's one of them. He's their long-lost big brother. Well, that works out perfectly. He carefully tucks his new little plant friends into his belt to keep them safe and stress-free. He's already thinking about the future, imagining making tea and snacks from them when they're fully grown. Then he remembers their fruit can be super poisonous if you take it by force. He'll have to ask them nicely for snacks later. Suddenly a scream cuts through the quiet snow. He figures there must be some hunters nearby, getting themselves into trouble. A sly little grin spreads across his face. This might be the perfect opportunity to grab a gatestone. Meanwhile, a couple of beat-up hunters are having a very bad day. Their team used them as bait and left them for dead. And what's attacking them? A pack of vicious white rabbits with fangs and freaky-mouthed tentacles. One of the hunters desperately puts up an energy shield, trying his best to hold back the fluffy, tentacled tide of death. But these bunnies are relentless. His shield is already starting to crack under the constant assault. He's screaming his head off, regretting everything, and begging for someone, anyone, to come and save him. With a final crash, the shield shatters completely. It's over for him. He's about to become rabbit food. But just as the bunnies close in for the kill, boom, a massive force slams into the ground, sending them all flying. The hunters stare in total shock at the figure standing in the crater. Is that a person? Of course it is. It's our boy Do-woon, making his classic dramatic entrance, looking completely unfazed. He glances at the monsters and says, "Snow rabbits?" One of them growls, ready to get back to the fight. Big mistake. A single golden eye flares to life in the shadows. He hasn't had a proper fight in a while. And just like that, the killer snow rabbits are absolutely terrified. They realize they just picked a fight with the final boss. The entire pack, which was about to rip two guys to shreds, now turns tail and flees in a complete panic. The two hunters can't believe their eyes. B-class monsters are running away just from looking at this guy. What is he? One of them finally snaps out of it long enough to thank their mysterious savior. Good manners, at least. The hunters introduce themselves, and when they ask for his name, he just gives them a simple Shin Do-woon. Tae-hoon doesn't recognize the name and gives his weird outfit the side eye. He's wondering if this guy is some kind of mountain hermit hunter. Do-woon cuts right to the chase. He can tell they're low-level D-class hunters. So what are they doing in such a dangerous place? Tae-hoon admits it was all for the money. They took on a high-paying job to go capture a chimera. That word makes Do-woon freeze. A chimera? His mind is racing. Are these guys here to capture him? But Tae-hoon clarifies that it's a mechanical test subject that escaped the lab by jumping through a gate. Do-woon lets out a huge internal sigh of relief. Okay, they're not after him. Phew, now he just needs to get that gate stone. He asks them where their gear is, and more importantly, their gate stone. They spit that their jerk teammates took everything and ran. Clutching his bleeding arm, Tae-hoon realizes they were set up from the very beginning, used as bait, and left to die. We get a quick flashback of their team leader telling them to stay safe with the most punchable, sinister grin ever before ditching them. The hunters start pleading with Do-woon. They explain that the demonic energy in this place is starting to contaminate their bodies. If they don't get back to the human world for purification soon, the energy will corrupt them completely and they'll die. They're begging him to take them back with him. Seongju even has a pregnant wife at home. Desperate times. A golden aura flashes across Do-woon's face as he scans the area with his powers. He mutters, "Found it." Without saying another word, he just crouches down and blasts off into the sky. The hunters are just screaming after him, completely stunned. "Wait, where are you going? Dude, what about us?" As their desperate pleas fade away, the camera pans over to a small robot looking up at the sky. The little robot stands at the edge of a snowy cliff, sensing something is wrong. It thinks it's dangerous here. Suddenly, the backstabbing hunters burst from the trees, shouting that it's time to capture the robot. They all charge at once. The robot remains perfectly calm. The dangerous ones will be eliminated. Its cute white exterior pulls back to reveal a terrifying black combat mode with a glowing red eye. And just like that, it unleashes a storm of attacks, completely overwhelming the hunters who thought they had it cornered. This is gonna get messy. Looks like Do-woon might have missed the main event. He arrives at the scene of the fight, wondering if he's a step too late. The snow is stained completely red, and it is clear the hunters rage quit, even leaving a valuable gate stone behind. He notices they even ditched all their gear. And check this out. Some strange tracks are left behind, animal prints mixed with a child's footprints. Our boy's big brain connects the dots. He starts wondering if the creature actually changed forms during the battle. He recalls the hunters mentioning some escaped test subject from a lab, a mechanical creature of all things. Apparently, it's made of liquid metal, allowing it to change its shape. The metal is so rare, though, that they could only make it the size of a small child or a dog. And Do-woon's over here smirking, impressed that such a little creature could overwhelm 5 B-rank hunters all by itself. But wait, what is that? Suddenly, a desperate voice cries out for Seongju to hang in there. Nearby, Kim Tae-hoon holds his dying comrade. The poor guy thinks he is done for, his body completely tainted by demonic energy. Seongju's last wish is for Tae-hoon to tell his wife he is sorry. Tae-hoon desperately just begs him to hang on. But sometimes, just when all hope seems lost, a miracle happens. Tae-hoon looks up, and his expression of pure grief turns into one of pure jaw-on-the-floor shock. It is Shin Dawoon, now equipped with their abandoned gear, looking like some kind of savior descending from the heavens. Without even a second thought, Taehoon immediately drops to his knees. He's literally begging. Please, I beg you, save us. Taehoon pulls out their last lifeline, two 10 million won checks, desperately offering to buy a gate stone. Dawoon just stares at the money. 20 million won? Not bad for a day's work. He figures he does not really need it right now, but it might be useful if he ever returns to the human world. So, he goes ahead and pulls out a spare gate stone he had on him. As a portal opens, Taehoon bows deeply, promising to never forget this massive favor. Taehoon rushes to his friend, but Dawoon looks like he is having some second thoughts about the deal. He asks if gate stones did not used to cost around 200,000 won. Dude, what century are you from? Taehoon says they are about 1 million now. Dawoon places a hand on the dying Sinanju. Just feels like you gave me too much. Alright, I'll throw this in as well. And he grins. Boom! Suddenly, a massive torrent of blue mana erupts from Dawoon, engulfing the two hunters. Taehoon is panicking. Is he infusing mana? Yeah, that is a technique so dangerous even A-rank hunters avoid it. If the mana collides and tangles, their mana holes could shatter, killing them both. Taehoon thinks they are both going to die for sure. A one-way ticket to the afterlife. But then, the impossible happens. The demonic energy infecting Seungju is completely purified. I am alive! Seungju cheers, hugging a dumbfounded Taehoon who is just standing there completely baffled. As the two hurry back through the gate, Taehoon realizes what Dawoon just did. Purifying demonic energy requires an overwhelming amount of mana. He is left with one burning question: just who is Shin Dawoon? Meanwhile, Dawoon heads back home. He is relieved to find his tiny precious Minecraft cabin is safe and sound. A little whimper from his bag catches his attention. The mandragora he gathered has droopy leaves from all the travel. He finds a good spot near his cabin and carefully plants the little guys. However, they look extremely displeased with their new accommodations. Just look at those grumpy faces. Dawoon wonders if they are hungry after traveling without soil. He decides to try feeding them some mana, a trick that usually works for him. And it works like a charm. The mandragoras immediately perk up, looking happy and energized. Just then he senses a strange aura nearby. Could it be the creature the hunters were chasing? Sure enough, a small robot with glowing yellow eyes peeks out from a bush. Dawoon decides to ignore it. If it wants something, it will have to make the first move. Smart for once. Inside his cabin, he tucks the money away for later and starts to unpack all the new loot he just got. The bag is full of useful gear, a cooking set, 8 gate stones, spare clothes, and sleeping bags. A full-on survival kit. He finds a pack of instant ramen and smiles. He has not had this since he was in the orphanage. Feeling hungry, he decides to cook some right away. It is ramen time. Following the instructions, he heads to the river to get some water. As he scoops up some water, a huge, aggressive-looking fish leaps out. He remembers people usually add extra stuff to ramen and figures the fish might taste good. He snatches it midair. Next, he needs toppings. He finds a nest with some weird, transparent eggs and decides they will do. Since he does not have green onions, he just plucks some random leaves from a tree. Gourmet cooking, folks. With his motley crew of ingredients ready, he heads back to his cabin. The little robot, still hiding, watches him with curiosity, noting that he is cooking. He realizes the instructions do not mention when to add the fish, so he decides to just boil everything together. What could go wrong? As the pot begins to boil, the little mandragoras watch him curiously. The pungent aroma from Dawoon's ramen wafts towards them, and yuck. Clearly this is not a Michelin star dish. That same toxic smell drifts through the trees, catching the attention of the hidden robot. Unlike the plants, the little machine seems to love it, drooling at the scent of the cooking. I want some too, the robot thinks, wondering how to get it. An idea sparks as it recalls something it observed back at the lab. Its plan? Exploit human weakness. Remembering that humans like dogs, the robot transforms into a scruffy, leaf-covered poodle. Whining and limping, the mechanical dog approaches Dawoon. But our boy is not fooled, recognizing the creature that has been tailing him. So it turned into a dog to lower my guard, he muses, and now it is faking an injury for sympathy. The dog lets out an innocent woof, and Dawoon cannot help but see it as a clueless kid. He wonders how it even escaped the lab. Shrugging it off, Dawoon offers the drooling puppy a share of his meal. Looks like it is ready. Want some too? He glances down at the bizarre concoction. A whole fish, strange eggs, and unknown leaves stewing in an ominous broth. Yummy. Both Dawoon and the robot dog take their first bites. The dog looks confused by the flavor, but Dawoon pauses. A memory flashes through his mind. Him as a small child, sitting with other kids, happily slurping down a steaming bowl of ramen. A faint smile touches his lips. Yep, I think this is how it tasted. It is the flavor of a long-lost memory from when he was 7 years old. The memory is so powerful, it completely overpowers the toxic smell of his creation. Delicious, he says aloud. The poor mandragoras, however, are not sharing the nostalgic experience. One of them even pukes it guts out. With the meal finished, Dawoon stands up. All right, if you are done, head out. I need to clean up. As the dog trots away, Dawoon notices something off. Hey, wait a minute. Weren't you limping with your left leg before? Busted. The dog freezes mid-step, a look of sheer panic on its face. Caught red-handed, the dog immediately resumes its limp and scurries away. Dawoon just watches it go with a knowing smile. With the dishes sparkling, our boy Dawoon figures it's time to tackle the next big challenge, laundry. I mean, you can't rock the tattered leather look forever, even if clean clothes remind him of his tragic pollen allergies. He tries to be gentle with it. Really, he does. He doesn't want to rip the only other shirt he owns, but his super strength is a little hard to control. With one mighty swing, boom, he completely obliterates the rock he was using. Well, so much for that particular piece of geology. My man just one-punched a boulder to do his laundry. He just sighs, completely unbothered. It's fine, he's got another set of clothes anyway. No big deal. Just then, his attention snaps to something else. Oh great, the little mechanical stalker is still here. This time it's disguised as a cute, sparkling rock. He's wondering why this thing won't just take a hint and leave. Looking back, he realizes it's been following him all day, trying out the worst disguises imaginable to get closer. When he was checking out some flowers, it even turned into a walking log. A plus for effort, F for execution. The thing has zero strategy. It just changes forms randomly. Then, its greatest enemy appears, a single bee. Suddenly, it drops the disguise, revealing its true robot form and starts panicking. Bugs. Dawoon instantly realizes this robot's mental age is probably under 5, and it really hates bugs. This whole clumsy act is a classic side effect of being a young chimera who had knowledge forcibly uploaded to its brain. Rough. The robot, totally embarrassed, tries to hide behind the flowers. Dawoon, being a cool guy, just pretends to admire the scenery. After all that drama, he finally gets the laundry done. Man, that was way harder than it needed to be. He hangs the shirt up to dry and notices it looks a little small. Oh well, time to check on his little plant babies. The robot, still in its brilliant rock disguise, watches him, and then a tiny light bulb goes off in its head. Its logic is flawless. That mister is wearing clothes. I'll wear clothes too. And just like that, it's shirt stealing time. The robot proudly puts on the shirt. Done. Now these clothes are mine. Finders keepers, my friend. In a brilliant flash of golden light, it begins to transform. Uh-oh, what's happening now? It morphs into a small girl with long brown hair striking a pose. Human form. It's finally perfect, she declares. Meanwhile, Dawoon is checking on his garden, and it's a tragedy. The mandragoras are all withered and depressed. He pulls on what he thinks is a weed, but nope, it's some kind of monstrous worm creature from my nightmares. He realizes the ground is completely infested. Time for some emergency gardening or his plant buddies are toast. He decides to build a proper vegetable bed, maybe as big as his house. But as he turns, he spots someone watching him. It's the robot, now in her little girl form, peeking out from behind a tree. Hello, she says shyly. Dawoon figures she's finally ready for a conversation. Yeah, hello, he replies, probably very confused right now. She points at his sorry-looking hut. Is that your house? He confirms that yes, it is his humble abode. So, are you a native here, mister? She asks. Dawoon smirks, deciding it's time to mess with her a little. He asks what tribe she's from, and you can practically see her brain short-circuit. She panics and makes up a story about a land beyond the waterfall. Oh, you mean the coconut tribe? He asks, totally making stuff up on the go. And she immediately agrees, giving him a shaky thumbs up. That's right, I'm from the coconut tribe. Dawoon points out her outfit is just his stolen shirt. She fires back that her tribe has a finder's keeper's rule. Fine, you can have it, he says, giving in. The girl celebrates her great victory, a true master negotiator. He then asks why she's here. She claims she was kicked out of her tribe and has a little favor to ask. She gets right up in his face and yells, I want to live here too. Well, that's one way to ask. She explains that since there are no bugs and there's a house, it seems like a pretty safe place to crash. Dawoon smiles, seeing right through it. She's not a native or an exile, she's just a scared kid who needs a safe place. Okay, he says, but if you stay here, you have to pull your weight. No freeloading. She is absolutely overjoyed. Got it, just tell me what to do. I'm ready for anything. First on the chore list, they need to plow a brand new monster-free vegetable bed for the mandragoras. She enthusiastically grabs a huge wooden stake. Leave it to me. I'm strong. Yeah, we know. With a battle cry, she starts tearing through the earth like a tiny bulldozer. She's clearly got some experience points in physical labor. Dawoon watches, thinking she's not even trying to hide her powers. Maybe life in a lab doesn't teach you how to act normal. He formally introduces himself as Cheon Dawoon and asks for her name. She freezes. Uh-oh, a critical error. She admits she doesn't have one and decides to invent one on the spot, inspired by those pretty flowers she saw earlier. She strikes a heroic pose surrounded by flowers. "My name is Kim Nari," she declares with a confident smile. Dawoon mishears, asking "Gay Nari," which means dog Nari. She stomps her foot, yelling, "It's Kim Nari. Get it right." They finish the garden in record time, complete with a cool stone fence Dawoon built. Teamwork makes the dream work, folks. The Mandragoras are absolutely thrilled. They're hopping and dancing around their fancy new home. Dawoon smiles, glad his plant kids are happy, but as he glances over, he sees Nari just staring silently. He turns to her, totally confused. "Why are you crying all of a sudden?" he asks. Tears stream down her face as she says, "Those Mandragoras remind me of my friends." Dawoon is immediately skeptical. There's no way a concept like friends would exist back at that shady research lab. Suddenly, a horrifying scream rips through the forest. A dark, evil energy just washes over the entire area. Nari drops to the ground in pure terror. Dawoon calmly tells her not to worry. It's just monsters hunting each other. Casual. She mentioned seeing a little chick-like monster earlier. Dawoon senses that it's being ganged up on by something much bigger. He states it plainly, it's going to be eaten soon. Because this, my friend, is the demon realm. And he hits her with a direct question. "Do you want to save that monster?" She cries out that she can't. Dawoon realizes the lab's mind control programming is still active, blocking her free will. So he rephrases it, not as a command, but as a choice. "If you help, maybe it can survive. Want to go check?" Her eyes snap open. With zero hesitation, she yells, "I'll be back," and launches into the sky like a rocket. Meanwhile, in the forest, a gang of giant praying mantis monsters are bullying a tiny, helpless little creature. But just as the final blow is about to land, Nari flies in. "Stop hurting it," she screams. With tears in her eyes, she steels herself, declaring, "I will save it." A memory flashes back. Back in the lab, the other chimeras hated her for always being number one in the experiments. She remembers being bullied and beaten down by the other kids who were just desperate for their own chance to live. Snapping back to the present, she channels that rage and smashes her fist into the ground with incredible force. Crack! Yelling, "Stop!" Nari launches herself forward and fires a massive energy blast right into the monster's ugly face. Fueled by her traumatic past, she roars, "Bullying someone just because there are a lot of you is bad," and punches them into oblivion. Back at the cabin, Dawoon is just peacefully feeding his little Mandragora sprouts some of his mana. Totally chill. Suddenly, Nari lands behind him, calling his name. He turns around, surprised she's already back from her little rampage. She's in a complete panic, holding the injured creature and crying, "What should I do? It's not getting better at all." And yeah, the poor little guy looks completely out of it. He's got the swirly cartoon eyes of defeat. Dawoon tries to calm her down, but stops when he sees the monster. A memory of a much bigger, fiercer version flashes in his mind, and it hits him. "Wait, I feel like I've seen it somewhere before. Oh boy, here we go again." Nari desperately begs Dawoon for help, and he strolls over to have a look. He whips out some glowing blue mana, like a fantasy doctor checking vitals. And the diagnosis? Luckily, there are no fatal injuries. Phew. Dawoon starts reading its energy signature, and wait a second. He recognizes this one. It's the same type as the undead monster he skinned earlier, just in chibi size. He's busy pondering why it went from extra large to extra small, but Nari cuts him off. She just wants a simple yes or no, dude. Is it dying or not? Dawoon finally reassures her. Turns out the little guy is just starving because it's too tiny to hunt for its own loot. He even gave it a little mana boost so it should heal up on its own. Problem solved, right? Wrong. Nari can't just leave it. We get a tragic flashback to her lab days where bullies tore up her stuffed toy. Oh, the trauma. So, back in the present, she's pleading with Dawoon not to abandon it. Look how limp and helpless it is. The guilt trip is real. She hits him with the puppy dog eyes, promising to raise it, train it, and feed it well. Dawoon just smirks, warning her it's gonna get pretty big. Nari promises to put it on a diet, and somehow that works. He caves. "Alright, do what you want." And just like that, Nari's face lights up like she just won the lottery. Dawoon's already thinking of a use for it. Maybe it can be a guard dog? Just then, the little creature starts to stir. It opens its eyes and... oh no. It recognizes Dawoon as the one who skinned me before. It lets out a tiny little goo sound. Whoa! Nari is totally floored. It's cooing like a pigeon. Meanwhile, the creature is wondering what's a little girl doing in the demon world. Nari cuddles her new pet while it internally screams, "Let me go," and Dawoon freezes. He can understand it. What? After some quick first aid, Nari proudly announces its new name. "Everyone meet Goo." Seriously, she names it Goo. Dawoon actually thinks it's a decent name. Goo, however, is having an existential crisis about being named at all. "Oh, it keeps cooing. Maybe it's thirsty," Nari says, and dumps a whole bucket load of water on it. Great start. Oh man, now the poor thing is bloated like a pufferfish. Maybe stop with the water, Nari? Nari's next 5-star idea? It must be hungry. And with a whoosh, she's off to find some food. This girl is a menace. With Nari gone, Dawoon decides to do some woodworking. But when he tries to carve the wood, it just shatters. Our boy is not a carpenter. He's totally confused, but then Gu pipes up, pointing out he's using the wrong type of wood. This pet is already more useful than the main character. Dawoon, who apparently knows zero about carpentry, is amazed. He immediately asks which wood color is the strongest. Simple man, simple questions. Gu starts to explain. Obviously the red, then stops cold. Wait, can you understand me? The cat is out of the bag, folks. Gu can't believe it, but just in case, he activates his mind-reading skill to peek inside Dawoon's head. But wait, he's met with these vicious red eyes before the connection just shatters. That was not supposed to happen. Gu is floored that Dawoon blocked his mind-reading. But more importantly, it blurts out, "You can actually hear me?" Yeah, it's more like he hears Gu's thoughts as human words. Then he flips the script. Isn't it weirder that a monster can understand human speech? Touché, Dawoon. Dawoon starts thinking Gu must be one of those legendary smart monsters from the old stories. Yeah, let's go with that. We've met before, right? Dawoon asks. Gu admits it, saying it actually wanted to see him again. This is getting wholesome. Get this. Gu explains that by skinning it, Dawoon accidentally removed a poison and saved its life. So it vowed to return the favor. Best medical procedure ever. Great, Dawoon says, cutting right to the point. Can you help me now? Gu was not expecting him to cash in that life debt so fast. After a brief hesitation, Gu puffs out its little chest and agrees. It will lead him to the special red wood. But before they can even take a step, a massive fiery explosion rips through the forest nearby. Well, so much for that plan. Nari comes sprinting out of the trees, screaming her head off. She's terrified they're going to drag her back to the lab. It's hot, she screams. As another blast knocks her off her feet, she's convinced the lab sent people to recapture her. The trauma is hitting hard. And look who it is. A guy with long, dark hair staring at a tracker. He's found his target, the shape-shifting mechanical creature. He feels bad attacking something that looks like a kid, but then psyches himself up. This is life or death for me too. Sure, buddy. And with that, he unleashes a massive stream of fire right at Nari, shouting that it's the end for her. Dude, chill. But the firestorm never hits. It parts around an outstretched hand. And there he is. Dawoon standing there like it's nothing. Forget the red wood. Saving the kid comes first. Oh, even Gu's all fired up. You know it's about to go down. Meanwhile, Nari is completely paralyzed with fear, just trembling and begging for the fire to stop. Poor kid. Dawoon decides to deal with Fire Dude first. What a total jerk attacking a child like that. Our emo attacker scoffs at Dawoon's ragged clothes, telling him to get lost while he's feeling generous. Big mistake. Dawoon just stands there. You talk too much. Cold. I love it. Oh, the disrespect. The attacker absolutely loses it, screaming, "This jerk's got an attitude. Just get lost." He sends another massive wave of fire, trying to turn everything to ash. This guy really only has one move, doesn't he? Dawoon is not impressed. He raises a single finger, which starts glowing with a brilliant blue light. It's about to be a one-hit KO. With a flick, he fires a beam of pure energy that slices right through the fire and slams at the rock above them. The explosion surprises Emo Dude. He lets out one last scream as the blast buries him under a literal landslide of rocks and dirt. All that's left is a massive crater. Dawoon turns to Nari and asks if she's okay. As Nari wipes away her tears, Dawoon points over to their defeated enemy. And now, for some life advice. Nari, when you're scared, just knock that fear out cold. He then demonstrates by grabbing the unconscious guy by his long hair. And when it wakes back up, knock it out again. What the heck? Dawoon just freezes, staring at a wig in total disbelief. And on the ground is the attacker, now completely bald, muttering about his lost hair in his sleep. What is even happening anymore? Honestly, my friend, I have no idea either. They're all seriously wondering why the guy was bald despite being so young. The sight of his shiny baldy head breaks all the tension. Suddenly, Nari just can't hold it in any longer. She absolutely bursts out laughing, declaring he isn't scary at all anymore. For Nari, a bald villain is just pure comedy. Watching her, Dawoon realizes Nari shouldn't have been overpowered so easily. It's time to figure out what really happened here. Gu activates his mind-reading ability, his eyes glowing gold as he prepares to dive into Nari's memories. Let's see what's in there. And we're in a flashback. We see some sinister-looking scientist in a lab, laughing maniacally like a classic cartoon villain. The scientist taunts a tiny, trembling blue slime, noting its brand new self-awareness right before summoning blue flames. This isn't going to be pretty. He tells the little creature not to be afraid. It's just the usual durability test. And cue the massive explosion of energy. Oh man, that's just rough. Well done, Nari. Dawoon gently pats Nari's head. He knows her trauma won't heal overnight, but hey, it's a start. Now he just has to figure out what to do with their unconscious guest. Gu inspects him, giving his bald head a few taps. Suddenly, a little light bulb goes off over Nari's head. She has a brilliant and probably insane idea. And next thing you know, bam! The attacker is tied up and hanging upside down directly under a massive waterfall. Peak problem solving right there. Nari explains her genius plan. If he gets wet, his fire powers won't work. The bald uncle has officially been nerfed. Nari is happily shouting about how bald uncle is a baddie when Do-woon cuts in. Hey, don't go judging people harshly by how they look. Very good advice, Do-woon. Nari just smirks. Looks like she might recover from her trauma sooner than he thought. He then decides it's time for the most important meal of the day, ramen. As Do-woon gathers water from the river, Gu asks what he's doing. Getting water for ramen, he replies as if there isn't a man being waterboarded nearby. Nari gets incredibly excited, yelling about how delicious his fish ramen is. Do-woon is actually a bit surprised she likes his questionable cooking. He teases her, asking if the coconut tribe also eats fish ramen. Nari agrees, committing 100% to the bit. Meanwhile, their captive watches in awe. He figures the man who beat him so easily must be an A+ class hunter, or maybe even stronger. As Nari dives into the water to catch some fish, the man speculates that Do-woon must be some legendary hunter living in seclusion. The man's horror grows as he processes this. They hung him up under a waterfall and are now casually making ramen? This is insane, even for the demon realm. With a triumphant splash, Nari emerges from the water holding 2 huge piranha-like monster fish. Victory is hers. Do-woon tells her to put one in the pot, and the captive can only watch in disbelief, warning them that boiling that thing will stink to high heaven. Ignoring him completely, Nari plops the fish into the huge pot. The man is beside himself. He's questioning if they've ever even seen ramen before. Nari and Do-woon head back to camp, excited for their fish stew ramen. Their captive, at his breaking point, screams for them to wait. Everyone freezes. He can't take this culinary crime anymore. Breaking free, he shouts, "I'll make them for you." And just like that, the attacker is standing at a makeshift table, under a spotlight, ready to cook the most important ramen of his life. He trembles, holding the dry noodle block. He knows his very life depends on the quality of this meal. As he cooks, he's being watched by Do-woon, Nari, and Gu, whose eyes are glowing red with a menacing hunger. No pressure at all. He explains his process the pure love method, where the amount of water is based purely on intuition. Seems legit. The noodles and seasoning go in. The cooking time must be precise, exactly 4 minutes and 30 seconds. He'll time it using his own pulse. At 60 beats per minute, he just needs to count to 270. This is some next-level dedication. As his heartbeat monitor pulses, he counts 118, 119. The tension is palpable. At 200 seconds, he makes his ultimate move, yelling "air shower," as he dramatically lifts the noodles high into the air. He explains this is a critical step. Air exposure makes the noodles perfectly bouncy. The more you know, my friends. He laments the lack of kimchi, but he's done his absolute best. With a single tear of pride, he declares he has no regrets. What a performance! The masterpiece is complete. This, my friends, is Nam Kiseok's Pure Love Ramen, rated a 90 in taste. Man, this is making us hungry. Nari and Gu stare in absolute awe. Nari can't help but point out that this looks way different from the fish sludge Do-woon usually makes. Do-woon decides to see for himself, taking the first fateful bite with his chopsticks. And with that, the three of them dig in. The moment the flavor hits, their eyes fly open in shock. This isn't just ramen, this is a spiritual awakening in a bowl. It's a transcendent experience. This is the taste of pure love. Nari is ecstatic, waving her chopsticks and shouting that it's delicious. Do-woon, equally impressed, just tells her to finish eating first. Soon after, the pot and bowls are licked completely clean. Gu is so full it's passed out in a food coma right there on the table. A true warrior. Nam Kiseok asks how it tasted. Do-woon gets straight to the point. Just tell me what you want. Do-woon explains that the food was so good he feels bad eating it for free. He'll grant Kiseok any one request if it's within his power. Kiseok gulps, a bead of sweat running down his face. This is it. This is his one big chance. Without a second's hesitation, he slams his forehead to the ground. Please teach me, he begs. He wants to become strong like Do-woon, respectfully calling him Hyung Nim. Do-woon just looks confused, asking what he's even talking about. Kiseok explains his theory. Do-woon is the strongest hunter he's ever met, and the house implies he's here for some long-term grinding. He starts listing his qualifications, claiming he's a great cook and can even make amazing fried chicken since his father ran a chicken joint. He offers to be Do-woon's personal supply runner through the gates in exchange for training and lessons to finally reach A-class. Do-woon cuts him off. Let me ask you one question. Why did you attack Kim Nari? Was it for the bounty? Kiseok looks confused, asking if he means the mechanical creature. Do-woon quickly shushes him, whispering that she's doing a coconut tribe concept and to just play along. When Do-woon presses him for a real answer, Kiseok tears up, claiming it's a deeply private matter. Suddenly, he erupts, shouting that he doesn't care about bounties or Nari. All that matters to him is passing the hunter promotion exam. Really? Then get up, Dawoon says plainly. Kiseok looks up, tears still in his eyes, completely confused. Dawoon glows with a faint aura. I've had a delicious meal, so let's have a sparring match first. Kiseok is overjoyed, thanking him profusely. But he's not the only one. Nari slams the empty pot down on the table and declares that she wants to spar too. She wants a shot at beating her fear into unconsciousness. Kiseok scoffs, telling the kid that he's not weak either. Nari just glares back at him. Dawoon interrupts, pointing to a huge, jagged black rock nearby. Can you break that? Kiseok sees that it's a black-blue stone several times harder than diamond. Dawoon presses, so you can't break it? Kiseok laughs nervously, admitting that's a bit difficult. He claims you'd need to be at least A-class to even scratch that thing. As he's talking, boom, the rock shatters into pieces behind Kiseok. What the heck just happened? His brain has officially short-circuited. Nari's hand is still crackling from obliterating the stone. Bald uncle, come on, she commands. Let's have a sparring match. Alright folks, let's get the story straight on this guy, Nam Kiseok. He was a naturally awakened hunter and, believe it or not, was once a super promising talent. I'm talking a real prodigy here. This dude first got his powers when he was only 8 years old. Considering most people don't awaken until they're angsty teens, our boy was an incredibly rare case. In the B-class hunter trial grounds, he was an absolute monster. He combined that raw talent with some serious effort, shooting up the ranks to B-plus class before he even turned 20. He was enjoying some explosive growth and all the fame that came with it, dreaming of becoming the best hunter out there. Life was going great, well, except for one tiny little problem. His hair started falling out at the exact same age. Other people start awakening their powers. The irony is just brutal. The balding progressed at an alarming rate. By his early 20s, the crown of his head was bald. By his mid-20s, a full-blown M-shaped disaster. He tried every medicine and hospital, but nothing worked. His doctor, who is also bald, just bluntly tells him to give up. And that devastating news just brings him to tears. The poor guy is completely broken. Despite his handsome looks and natural talent, it was no use. The man who used to shine so brightly was losing his glow. His growth as a hunter completely stopped. He failed his A-class test, and the proctor looked down on him, muttering, "A-class my butt." Lying in his messy apartment, he watches a TV program featuring a Dr. Han Myung-do from the Hanbit Research Institute. The doctor explains that he accidentally put some liquid metal, a rare material from the demon realm, on his head. The result? This nearly 90-year-old doctor reveals a full, luscious head of silver hair, laughing like a supervillain. Kiseok bolts upright on his couch, his mind completely blown. That frickin' nonsense. The newscaster jokes about developing a baldness medicine, and a spark of hope ignites in Kiseok's eyes. But his hopes are immediately crushed when the doctor pledges to use the rest of the liquid metal to create a mechanical creature for the sake of humankind. That is the last straw. Kiseok slams his fist on the coffee table, roaring, "No! Make that baldness medicine! Curing baldness is for humanity too." And you know what? He's not wrong. Later, a news article on his phone changes everything. The Institute's robot has escaped into the demon realm. A new mission is born. There are no laws in the demon realm, so finders keepers, baby. He screams to himself, "I will definitely find it. I will find it and put it on my head." Which brings us to now. Kiseok, face down in the dirt, looking completely baffled. Nari stands over him, cheering, "I won again," while Dawoon just roasts him for not landing a single valid hit. Watching nearby, Dawoon warns Kiseok that if he keeps performing this badly, he can't be trusted to run errands. Kiseok immediately starts pleading, "I'll do well, please watch me." But back to more important matters, Dawoon's finished building a sturdy wooden cabinet, thanking Gu for helping him find the right materials. He glances over at the still-determined Kiseok. He's pretty persistent. Kiseok mutters to himself. Even though he's been getting thrashed all day, he feels strangely relieved. He wonders if it's because he finally took off his wig. Feeling free, he summons his fire once more. Flames erupt around him as he shouts, "Kim Nari, let's go again." Gu thinks his fire powers are okay, but getting beaten by a kid is pathetic. Dawoon corrects him, reminding him that Nari isn't just any child. Kiseok charges forward, vowing to win this time. Nari stands her ground, fists raised, and calmly says, "Bring it on, uncle." He slams his fiery spear into the ground, causing a massive explosion. From the smoke, a silvery, liquid substance rises up to meet him. He cries out in shock, "Liquidization?" The metal quickly forms back into a tiny foot, and wham, slams into Kiseok, sending him flying into the cliff face. Nari laughs triumphantly, no longer afraid of fire. "It's all thanks to you, uncle." Defeated yet again, Kiseok wonders if he should give up and stay at B-class forever. He's completely out of techniques. But then he thinks, nah, where would someone like me, treated like trash, ever get to have a sparring session like this, and finds the will to stand up. So Nam Kiseok, the man who never gives up, gets back on his feet and begs Nari for just one more round. He suddenly notices a nosebleed. Dawoon asks how long he's been in the demon realm, and Kiseok realizes it's been 9 days. Dawoon tells him it's time to go back. As a B-class hunter, the demonic energy will kill him if he stays any longer. But then Dawoon pats him on the shoulder and offers some encouragement. Still, I think you can reach A-class, so give it your best shot. Kiseok is floored. He's failed the A-class test for 6 years straight, which everyone says is a hopeless situation. Dawoon's final words hit him hard. Don't give up. Overwhelmed with emotion, tears well up in Kiseok's eyes. He looks at Dawoon with newfound respect and calls him his big bro. As Dawoon sees Kiseok off, he gives him one last piece of advice. Make sure to purify the demonic energy once he gets back. Kiseok is overcome with emotion, promising to work hard. Yeah, he'll turn Kiseok into an A-class alright, an A-class porter. Harsh. With a swirling portal open, Kiseok asks if they need anything else, mentioning they're out of ramen. Nari challenges Kiseok to a rematch next time, while Kiseok has one last very important question for Dawoon. By the way, did you see my wig, big bro? Dawoon gives a blunt I don't know while Gu looks away suspiciously. Kiseok accepts the answer and steps through the portal, still wondering where his hairpiece could have gone. As the portal closes, Gu asks if it will be okay. Dawoon and Nari are confused by the question. Gu's concerned, what if Kiseok betrays them and brings back other hunters? Dawoon recalls reading Kiseok's mind. The guy's desire to get stronger was completely sincere. That, and the fact that he's bald. He smiles to himself. Yeah, this guy might be worth training after all. Nari suddenly asks Dawoon if he can understand what Gu says. Yup, he definitely can. Back inside the cabin, Dawoon proudly shows off a new cabinet he built with Gu's advice, but Nari points out that the room is a little dark. Dawoon considers her point and decides to fix it right away. With a quick flash of power, he transforms his arm into a blade and saws a perfect window into the log wall. Nari and Gu pop their heads through the new opening, thrilled with how bright it is. Dawoon realizes that if they like it bright, they'll need lights for the nighttime. But how would they even do that? He explains the concept of a glowstone, a crystal that emits light in the dark. A few of those on the ceiling should do the trick. Gu asks if he knows where to find them, and Dawoon figures they're probably in the volcanic area. Gu starts murmuring to itself, thinking about how the volcanic area is one of the most dangerous places for hunters, and that it's also its hometown. The little creature starts sweating, clearly distressed. Noticing Gu's weird noises, Nari squishes its face and asks Dawoon what's wrong. She can tell Gu is worried about something. Wow, Nari is surprisingly quick-witted for noticing. Dawoon tells them he'll just go by himself, but Nari immediately shoots that idea down. She's going too. She declares that she's not afraid of fire anymore and wants to join him. Dawoon is impressed by how fast she conquered her fear. After a moment of thought, Gu chimes in saying it will go too since it has some business to take care of there. With everyone on board, Dawoon smiles and agrees. Good, then let's go together. I'll make some equipment for the volcanic area too. Meanwhile, back in the garden, the happy little mandragoras have found Kiseok's lost wig and are playing with it. Far away, a fiery volcano spews smoke and lava into the sky. Looks like we know our next destination. From within the smoke and darkness, a pair of glowing yellow eyes stare out menacingly before a single tear falls from one of them. Alright folks, welcome to the Volcanic Zone, one of the top 3 most dangerous places in the demon world. So naturally, it's our next field trip destination. Here, the air shreds your skin with volcanic ash, and every breath is a lovely cocktail of toxic gas and demonic energy. 5-star resort, for sure. This place is so deadly that the human world has basically just put a big question mark on the map and called it a day. Meanwhile, Nari is treating this lava pit like one big muddy puddle. Gu's curious how Dawoon can stand the heat. He finally asks what he is, and our boy just casually drops, "Me? I'm a chimera hunter." Gu is understandably shocked, pointing out that chimera hunters don't usually look like, a normal dude. Dawoon admits he used to be a monster, but after regenerating he got this human form. Talk about a glow-up, my friend. He asks Gu if it's weird living with hunters, but Gu admits it's actually not so bad, even if Nari almost sets herself on fire. In fact, he kind of enjoys having someone to talk to. Hearing this, Dawoon cracks a genuinely relieved smile. Nari runs up, wanting in on the conversation. Dawoon tells her Gu was just asking what he is. She immediately beams, deciding Dawoon must be a native of the demon world, just like her. "I'm the native here, you cheeky brat," Gu replies. "You can just feel the sass." They push onward, and finally, Dawoon spots their objective, the lava vents. The main quest location is in sight. Nari celebrates as they reach the summit, and Dawoon spots the glowstones. But of course, there's a big monster in their way. A massive fire-bellied toad is guarding the loot, and hold on, is it crying? Nari points out another one nearby, and Dawoon realizes it's a dead female carrying a clutch of eggs on her back. Gu explains that only breeding females have that crater on their backs that can carry eggs. With her dead, the intense heat will cook them all. Well, that got dark fast. Nari looks on, completely heartbroken for the poor toad. Without saying a word, Dawoon tells her to wait right there. And then he just sprints towards the giant, grieving, angry monster. Nari is screaming, and frankly, so am I. Gu warns him to stop because the toad is super agitated, but Dawoon doesn't listen. The toad unleashes a massive fireball jutsu, completely swallowing Dawoon as Nari screams in terror. But our boy emerges from the inferno, gently boops the toad on the head. What? The massive creature just collapses. Dawoon explains he used a tiny dose of paralyzing venom. Above him, Nari's screaming if he's okay. He's fine because he's got fire-belly toad cells in him too. I can't help the dead one, he says, looking at the two toads, but let's save the living. Okay, that was a pretty cool line. A few minutes later, Toad Dad wakes up to find he's wrapped in a glowing energy harness with the egg strapped onto his back. He knows what he needs to do, so he nudges his wifey one last time. It's like he's saying a final goodbye. I'm not crying, you're crying. Suddenly, it launches itself into the air with an incredible leap, completely shocking Nari and Gu. The toad gives them one last look before disappearing. Nari is convinced it was a thank you, and honestly, I am too. Dawoon just smiles. Yeah, maybe. With the side quest complete, Nari is ready to get back to the main objective, mining. Nari easily yanks a huge glowstone from the wall and holds it up like she just won the lottery. Meanwhile, poor Gu is exhausted and wishing he had his old body again. Well, why not go visit your friends instead? Dawoon offers. He noticed that Gu even brought them gifts. Gu absolutely loses it, blushing and flapping around. What friends? I'm not meeting anyone. The denial is strong with this one. Dawoon keeps poking the bear, but Gu insists he just regrets not saying a proper goodbye. Sure you do, buddy. This leads Dawoon to ask the obvious question. Then why did you leave your group in the first place? And we get a flashback. It turns out Gu was a rare one, the only creature with intelligence. It was both a blessing and a curse. He tried to have a philosophical discussion with his brethren, but they just ate the scorpion he was studying. No thoughts, head empty. In the land of the ignorant, the intelligent one is the outcast. He had the gift of language, but absolutely no one to share it with. So I left to live alone, he finishes. He figures his kind probably didn't even notice he was gone. Man, that's rough. He's trying to pull out a particularly stuck rock. Suddenly, it pops out and smashes on the ground with a weird sound. Nari checks it out and spots something half buried in the rock. And what do you know, it's an egg. Dawoon checks it out and sees a small crack. He figures Gu must have made it when he dropped a glowstone on it earlier. Whoops. He mentions that eggs need to hatch naturally to be healthy, which puts them in a tricky spot, to take or not to take. Nari immediately wants to adopt it, but Gu is having a meltdown, warning that it could be anything inside. But Dawoon's curiosity is kicking in. He realizes they have a perfect nesting box at home. Oh no, he's getting ideas. He agrees, and Nari excitedly volunteers for egg duty. Gu flies into a rage. Are you people insane? What if Nari gets hurt? Gu asks. With a classic protagonist smirk, Dawoon just says, she'll be safe. I'll make sure of it. Gu grumbles, but gives in. With the party's new pet acquired, they decide to finish up and head home. Back at the cabin, Nari announces their return, carefully cradling her precious new egg. Nam Kiseok is waiting for them outside. Brother, where have you been? He asks. Kiseok offers to carry Dawoon's backpack, puffing out his chest and claiming he's strong enough to handle it. He grabs the handle, gives it a mighty heave, and is immediately slammed into the ground by its impossible weight. Bam! Down he goes. Dawoon just tells him to look up and asks, what's wrong with your face? Alright, there's a quick little bonus here titled Gu's Gift. Oh, this should be good. It turns out Gu tried to share some ramen with his old flock, but the big firebirds just stared, completely confused. They just ripped open the bag and started happily munching on the dry, uncooked noodles. Okay, now back to Kiseok's bruised up face. My man, what happened? Did you get into a fight? Dawoon didn't think he was the type to get beat up. Kiseok just awkwardly fiddles with his cap. Well, Nari beat him up, so Dawoon thinks that's hilarious and actually something to be proud of. Kiseok, desperate to change the subject, quickly announces, hey, I gotta go prepare the food. Real smooth, my friend. Meanwhile, Nari is watching Dawoon do some arts and crafts. He's carving a glowing rock with his super sharp demon claws. You know, casual. She asks what he's making, and he just casually says it's a fluorescent light for the ceiling. But then he adds that he wants it to look pretty. And Nari is just shook. She starts gushing, telling him he's super smart because he knows stuff and explains things well. She even calls him kind-hearted, remembering when he saved those frog eggs. You're just like a dad, she exclaims. Ain't she so cute? So, but how's your dad from the coconut tribe? Dawoon asks, putting her on the spot. Nari just squirms. Elsewhere, our little buddy Gu is having the time of his life, soaking up the sunset. He's thinking his body is melting in pure bliss. He literally sinks into the ground like a happy, squishy puddle. What an absolute mood. But his Zen moment is shattered. A giant, shadowy figure with glowing red eyes looms over him. Well, so much for peace and quiet. Suddenly, it's not just one figure, it's 3 pairs of angry red eyes staring him down. This is not good. It's the Mandragoras. They combine their powers for their ultimate attack, the Mandrake Triple Fusion Rolling Splash. And this super powerful attack comically bounces right off Gu's pudgy body. Hoomp hoomp. Gu, now with a very angry face, just stares down the last 2 mandrakes as they keep charging. He is not amused. Nari runs in, yelling at everyone to stop fighting. Dawoon, ever the calm observer, just explains they're probably mad because Gu invaded their territory. Right on cue, Kiseok announces that dinner is served. Perfect timing to break up a monster fight. Hold on to your plates, folks. It's Namgiseok's heartfelt Inarizushi. Kiseok looks super proud of himself, thinking it's an easy dish that looks impressive. Bro used instant ingredients, but we will let him have this moment. He presents the whole spread like a game show host, and everyone looks genuinely amazed. Not gonna lie, it does look pretty good. But before anyone can dig in, Dawoon stops them. He glares at Kiseok and says, "You did not answer me earlier. Tell me, what happened to your face?" The tension is back, folks. Kiseok finally caves. He explains that he went to the Hunter Association for a screening test and ran into some A-rank jerks. They made fun of him for failing 7 times, he fought back, and he got his butt kicked. Yup, that sounds about right. Kiseok confirms, adding they asked if his pride fell out along with his hair. Oh, that is a low blow. Dawoon looks at his head and asks, "But it is a buzz cut, right? You are not actually bald, are you?" This triggers a frantic scientific rant from Kiseok about hair loss. Dawoon's sorry, he asked. Changing the subject again, Dawoon asks when the promotion test is. Kiseok replies, "Next month, in 60 days. Dawoon announces it is time for special training. Kiseok is thrilled, ready to work his hardest. He has no idea what he is in for. In part 1 of this special training, Kiseok is now on permanent dishwashing duty. He's taking over for Nari. LOL. Nari and Gu have already licked their plates completely clean, but Nari still looks like she could eat more. That girl is a black hole. Next up, Dawoon points to a giant bag of glowing rocks and tells Kiseok to wash all the volcanic ash off them. Every single one. Kiseok asks if this is really special training, but Dawoon shuts him down with a simple choice: do it or stay a B rank forever. Ouch. With Kiseok's new life as a maid settled, Dawoon invites a delighted Nari to go fishing. They just straight up leave him there. Cold-blooded. Kiseok just watches them go, staring at the mountain of dirty dishes. You can feel the despair. But then, a light bulb goes off. He looks at the plates and realizes, wait, he must have a plan. Our boy is not completely dense. He gets a sudden burst of motivation. Everyone thinks I am a natural-born genius, but I, Namgiseok, am a man who reached B rank through effort. Preach, my dude, preach. He keeps hyping himself up, calling himself a man of diligence, perseverance, and unwavering trust. He is a man who never gives up. With renewed vigor, he runs after them, yelling for them to wait. Later, at the riverside, Dawoon and Nari are fishing peacefully. Or at least they were, until Nari wakes up from her nap. She immediately starts complaining that all the fish are going to Kiseok instead. And she is not wrong. Kiseok is in the water getting swarmed, screaming that aquatic monsters are his elemental weakness and it stings. This is hilarious and also sad. Dawoon just sighs, totally unbothered. He calls Kiseok a high-maintenance worker, no sympathy whatsoever. He tells Kiseok to just use a mana shield, but our boy admits he is still a noob at it. He's really struggling out here. This gives Dawoon an idea. He reaches into the bag and pulls out one of those big, glowing stones. He tells Kiseok to hold it. Kiseok is confused, but he takes the stone anyway. The second he touches it, bam! A massive surge of dark, primordial energy erupts from the stone. Kiseok drops it immediately, freaking out that he cannot use his arm because the stone is packed with raw magic. Dawoon explains that this magic is raw energy. To use his own power, Kiseok has to push it out with his refined mana. It's like a magic workout. He tells Kiseok he already has plenty of mana, he's just clumsy at using it. Basically, he has all the gear but no skill. With a single touch, Dawoon sends a pulse of energy through Kiseok, literally mapping out all his mana pathways for him. What a cheat code. Kiseok stares at his own hands, which are now glowing with bright blue energy. A path should have formed now, Dawoon says, understatement of the year. Following instructions, Kiseok lets his mana flow and his hands are suddenly enveloped in a powerful aura. Dawoon tells him to try lifting that magic rock again while concentrating on his mana. Round 2, fight. With a grunt, Kiseok strains, blue energy crackling everywhere as he puts every ounce of focus into this. You can do it, buddy! He lets out a massive roar, pouring all his new power into his arms. This is his shonen hero moment, and he does it! He lifts the huge magic-infused stone high above his head. Kiseok is ecstatic. He finally understands that the dishwashing was all a secret training arc for his mana control. Dawoon, you magnificent schemer. Dawoon tells him to keep circulating mana while he finishes the dishes. And Kisako is now pumped to clean, yelling he can clean anything. Okay, calm down. Later that night, the cabin is quiet under the full moon. Inside, the new glowing rock light is providing some nice ambient lighting, very cozy. Dawoon and Nari are asleep in the bed, while Kiseok is passed out on the floor next to them. A happy, dysfunctional family. Kiseok is even dreaming about his goal, muttering A rank, in his sleep. The grind never stops. As Dawoon sleeps, a rustling sound comes from a nearby drawer where Gu is sleeping with the egg. The noise wakes Gu and his eye snaps open. Something is not right. In the dim light, he sees the shadowy figure of Nari walking silently through the room. A little creepy, not gonna lie. Gu is awake now too, and he watches her leave the cabin. He wonders, where is she going so late at night? So Nari heads to the river and wades in. Turns out she's sad because her only set of clothes, the ones Dawoon gave her, are getting dirty. But Nari isn't one to mope around. She gets this look of pure determination and starts washing them right there in the river. Meanwhile, Dawoon and Gu are watching from the bushes, completely confused. Laundry? At night? Why? The gears are turning slowly, folks. Thankfully, Gu is there to scream some sense into him. She doesn't have any other clothes, you dense fool. And with that, victory. Nari holds up her wet clothes, shouting that the stain is finally gone. Mission accomplished. The light bulb finally clicks on for Dawoon. He realizes he might have been a bit of a neglectful guardian and steps out of the shadows. Nari is so proud of herself, she strikes a pose and announces her laundry is perfect. She is just too adorable. She turns around and bam, there's Dawoon trying to act all casual like he wasn't just stalking her from the woods. He claims they were just out for a walk. Nari nervously agrees she was on a walk too. Then Dawoon gets all serious and asks her to stay still for a moment. Okay, what's he up to now? And look at this. He fashions a belt for her out of a vine and even tucks a little flower into it. Nari is completely starstruck. She just looks down at her new accessory and stammers that it's pretty. The poor girl is just overwhelmed. She notes it looks like his own belt, and then he reveals he picked her favorite flower. This guy actually pays attention. But the sweet moment is shattered by a loud scream from the woods. Nari, rightfully terrified, grabs onto Dawoon's hand for dear life. Dawoon, however, doesn't even flinch. He just calmly says, "Oh, that's just a grasshopper." "Buddy, what kind of grasshoppers live here?" "Oh, you know, just a casual B-class steel locust. A giant metal bug monster. A perfectly normal grasshopper." As they walk home, Dawoon finally gets around to asking if she needs anything like clothes or shoes. But Nari is just too sweet. She squeezes his hand and says what he gave her is enough. My heart can't take it. Nari might be satisfied, but Dawoon is on a mission. The next day, he opens a portal to the slums of District 13. He steps out wearing modern hunter clothes but is still barefoot. Classic Dawoon. He's decided that making her wear one oversized tunic is just not okay. He couldn't bring Nari, of course. She's still traumatized by the human world, not to mention she still has a tracker on her. He finds it pretty amusing that he's using a powerful gatestone just to go on a shopping trip, the ultimate dad errand. Just as he's wondering where to even start looking, a random kid taps him on the shoulder. Ah, the classic side quest NPC appears. The kid offers to be his personal guide to a great clothing store for a fee of just 10,000 won. What a deal. He promises a place that's both cheap and good. Dawoon agrees but says he only has large bills. Bongsu immediately pegs him as some broke rookie hunter who got scammed in the demon realm. Little does he know, he scoffs and asks if Dawoon even has money for clothes, then tells him to follow. This kid's got some serious attitude. Bongsu says he's making an exception because Dawoon looks pathetic. Our guy just smiles and says thanks. He is enjoying this way too much. The kid introduces himself as Oh Bongsu, and Dawoon gives his name. The unlikely duo is officially formed. Bongsu asks if he's a newly awakened hunter, and Dawoon plays along, acting all surprised. Is it that obvious? The kid lays out his entire theory. Dawoon spent all his money on gear, went to the demon realm, and got robbed blind. It's so detailed and so wrong. He tells him not to worry since it happens to everyone. Dawoon is just amused by how confident this kid is. Offended, Bongsu shouts that he's actually 17, just short because of malnutrition. But Dawoon's staring at something else. Bongsu then points out a group of thugs, warning Dawoon that District 13 is no joke these days. He explains that a group called the Space Gang has taken over, and the cops have basically just given up on the area. The name Space Gang seems to ring a bell for Dawoon. It makes him wonder if the orphanage he grew up in is still around. They finally arrive at the store. Inside, a blonde woman is sighing about how hard it is to run a business in the slums. She's complaining that her main product is children's clothes in a district where nobody can afford kids. And just then, the door chimes. Bongsu cheerfully waves hello, calling her boss Ajuma, and she completely loses her mind. She screams that it's Nuna, not Ajuma. She's not even married, and this kid is calling her a middle-aged woman. Bong-soo introduces Dawoon as a customer, while Dawoon has a sudden realization. This is his first time ever shopping for himself. The owner immediately pulls Bong-soo aside, furious that he keeps bringing broke hunters to her store. She puts him in a headlock, complaining about all the unpaid tabs he's racked up by bringing in freeloaders. She points at the barefoot Dawoon and asks if he looks like he has any money. All Bong-soo can think is, but he's handsome. Bong-soo argues that she told him to bring pitiful hunters here because they reminded her of her brother who passed. That was only once or twice, she screams. And go get yourself cleaned up? Here's some money, she adds, still screaming. Peak comedy right there. But their shouting match is suddenly cut short. He pulls out a check and asks, I'd like some clothes. How much can I get with this? They are both completely stunned. It's a check for 10 million won. And he had the nerve to say this was all he had. Suddenly, the owner's entire attitude changes. She clasps her hands together and rolls out the red carpet. It's VIP time. She asks what he needs, and Dawoon lists off clothes and shoes for a little girl, plus something for himself. Her eyes light up like a Christmas tree. Children's wear is her specialty, and she is about to make the sale of a lifetime. She immediately starts pulling out every outfit imaginable. We're talking frilly dresses, sporty outfits, and enough pink to hurt your eyes. Time flies, and before they know it, the cash register is printing a receipt that's basically a mile long. And just like that, the store is completely sold out. The owner sits there exhausted but looking extremely satisfied. Dawoon ends up buying over 100 items and casually says he'll carry it all himself. No delivery needed for this guy. Then he hands Bong-soo a bag of new clothes and 100,000 won for his trouble. Not a bad payday for a tour guide. With his shopping spree complete, Dawoon says he has one more favor to ask. The plot thickens. Now sporting a new outfit himself, Dawoon walks with Bong-soo, thinking that buying new things actually feels pretty good. Bong-soo leads him to an inn, promising that it's clean, safe, and run by a good person. He seems to know all the spots. Dawoon tells Bong-soo to wait outside for a minute while he heads inside. This is starting to feel a little suspicious. Left all alone, Bong-soo starts to get paranoid. This is all way too generous. Something feels off. He clutches the clothes Dawoon gave him and wonders if this is all a trap to kidnap him. He's seriously thinking about making a run for it. But then he hesitates. What if this guy is actually a good person like the lady at the clothing store? The poor kid is totally conflicted. Dawoon checks out the room and tells Bong-soo it's just as he said. Clean, and the owner seems nice. But plot twist. The room isn't for him. He jingles a set of keys and offers them to Bong-soo, saying he noticed the kid was homeless. Bong-soo is completely floored. Dawoon explains he's paid for a year of rent and meals up front. Just, wow. And with that incredibly kind gesture, Dawoon just turns to leave, casually saying he's heading out now. But Bong-soo is still suspicious. He clenches his fists and asks if this is all some elaborate kidnapping plot. Dawoon, who is already opening a portal, just looks confused. What are you even talking about? With tears in his eyes, Bong-soo demands to know why a total stranger would do all this for him. The clothes, the money, and now a room. Dawoon just gives him a gentle smile. He says Bong-soo simply reminded him of how he used to live, a long, long time ago. As he steps into the portal, his last words echo through the alley. Goodbye. See you again. Chills, you guys. Chills. And just like that, Dawoon pops back into the demon realm, announcing his return. Kiseok and Nari immediately run over, relieved he's back. When Nari asks where he was, he reveals he went to get her a present. He then drops a massive bag overflowing with clothes. Nari is shocked, and even Gu is wondering how many outfits he could have possibly bought. Nari is absolutely delighted, while Kiseok nervously wonders if there's anything in that giant bag for him. Of course not. Dawoon turns to Nari and tells her to go inside and try on whatever she likes. Dad mode is fully activated. As Nari happily runs inside, we see the mysterious egg they found earlier. And folks, it's starting to crack. The cracks are spreading, and the whole egg is shaking. It looks like whatever's inside is about to make its grand debut. Back outside, Dawoon is folding a literal mountain of clothes, and he finds it strangely calming. Of course, that piece lasts about 5 seconds before Nari calls him over. She's rocking a new frilly dress and is fishing for compliments. Dawoon gives her the thumbs up, but oh no. Nari's just getting started. It's fashion show time, folks. First, it's a pair of jeans. Then she's a spooky ghost in one of Dawoon's shirts. And Dawoon's just loving it. He finds this whole chaotic display completely adorable. After what feels like an eternity, she finally makes her choice. The suspense is killing me, and the winner is a hoodie with a little chick on it. Why? Because it looks just like Gu, obviously. Gu is deeply offended by this comparison. Meanwhile, Dawoon assigns Nari the final boss battle, putting everything away. But Gu, the voice of reason, pipes up. Where exactly are you going to put all this new loot? Dawoon's solution is completely logical and not at all overkill. He's just going to build an entire new dressing room. Simple. Gu's worried about the wood, but Dawoon has a wicked little smirk. Oh, he's got to volunteer for the manual labor. He calls out for Nam Kisuk, announcing it's time for some special training. And bam, Kisuk makes his grand explosive entrance. Kisuk is super hyped, showing off Dawoon's old nasty leather outfit. He thinks it's some legendary training gear. He's like, "Master, this thing is soaked in poison. I almost died touching it. Your methods are so hardcore." And Dawoon's response is priceless. "Nah, I was just too lazy to wash it. Here, you wear it." And he's like, "Actually, you know what? That's a great idea." He tells Kisuk to suit up in the poison gear and start chopping trees. Kisuk is about to have a full-blown panic attack, but he's saved by the bell. Nari screams for help from the cabin. "What's wrong?" "Oh, just the giant monster egg from the volcano. It's shaking like it's in a paint mixer." Dawoon calls it. It's hatching. Kisuk is prepping for the apocalypse, while Nari is 100% convinced it's going to be adorable. A crack appears and a glowing reptilian eye peeks out. Yep, it's showtime, people. First, a giant clawed foot smashes through. Then a long, scaly tail follows. This is not looking good for Team Cute. We've got claws, we've got scales, we've got a creepy forked tongue. Everyone is bracing for a straight-up nightmare monster. And out pops the cutest little snake chick thing I've ever seen. What is that? Kisuk is completely baffled by this plot twist. Nari, on the other hand, is already freaking out. And just like that, the cute little guy goes full face hugger, launching itself right at Kisuk. And he lets out a scream that could curdle milk. Cut to the next day, Kisuk is outside wearing the poison shirt. He's literally suffocating in a cloud of poison, wondering if Dawoon is even human for wearing this cursed thing. Meanwhile, Dawoon is done with laundry, because priorities. He sees Nari feeding the new pet, which is now acting all sweet and innocent. Dawoon's thinking about a name, but the little dude gets a random burst of zoomies and just bolts. Naturally, Nari and Gu immediately give chase. And just like that, we're playing a game of interspecies tag. Dawoon thinks it's all cute, but Gu is the designated party pooper. He warns that monsters from the volcanic zone are bad news. Why? Because apparently volcanic monsters think plant-based monsters are a 5-star meal. And the more magical the plant, the tastier the snack. Which means our little mandragora friends are basically walking catnip. So yeah, this adorable new pet is the natural predator of their other adorable plant pets. This is gonna get awkward. And one look at the mandragora's faces tells you everything. They know they're on the menu. So begins the world's tiniest, most intense standoff. The snake chick versus the head mandragora. Nari wants to play referee, but Dawoon stops her. This is the demon world, my friend. They gotta sort out the pecking order. The two enemies face off. What an epic start to the battle. The snake chick lunges, claws out, going straight for the baby of the group. Savage. But wait, the eldest mandragora jumps in, blocking the attack with its trusty stick. Okay, not bad, little guy. They're using a triangle formation. The second one moves in for a counterattack, and the snake chick just casually blocks it with its tail and even gives a little smirk. Gu's like, "Don't celebrate yet, fool. You forgot about the youngest one." And the tiny one unleashes a freaking energy blast right at the snake chick. And boop, it is a direct hit. The little snake is stunned, and its eyes start welling up with tears. Nari's like, "Wait, is it crying?" And then comes the waterworks. Nari rushes in to comfort the big baby, and Dawoon officially calls it. Victory for Team Mandragora. Kisuk is just speechless. He mutters that the fight was unexpectedly grand, which is one way to put it. But the fun's over. Dawoon tells Kisuk to get back to his poison shirt log carrying duties. Poor guy. While all this was happening, something was also happening halfway across the world. It's a jacked, bird-headed dude with glowing blue bling flying across the water like a final boss. Alright, so the crew is building a new dressing room, and it's all hands on deck to get it done. Well, almost everyone. Gu's version of helping is to become the world's tiniest, most demanding construction foreman for poor Kisuk. Meanwhile, Nari and the brand new snake chick are on arts and crafts duty, happily slathering on some mysterious green goo. And Dawoon's playing interior decorator, making their cozy little demon realm cabin feel a bit more like home. After 2 grueling, sleepless days of grinding, Kisuk's personal construction nightmare is finally over. The man just completely collapses, letting out a scream. You can just see it on his face. The poor guy is absolutely drained, probably having flashbacks to his 2-day boot camp from hell. He kneels before his masterpiece, this big wooden wall, surrounded by a gloomy emo aura like, did I even do this right? But hold on. Dawoon hits him with a rare compliment, basically saying, hey, you didn't completely mess it up. High praise from him, folks. Later on, Nari points out that the new room smells like flowers, which leaves Kisuk completely baffled. But he takes a whiff, and yep, it totally does. He admits the lavender scent is actually super peaceful. Look at him, all blissful. So what's the secret? Dawoon explains it was all Gu's idea. The tiny tyrant apparently picked out special fragrant wood for the project. He proudly adds that any clothes stored inside will get a free perfume upgrade too. And it seems like everyone loves the new setup. The little mandragoras are humming happily and the snake monster is passed out cold. Speaking of the little guy, Kiseok asks if its name was really Sasa. It was Daewon's idea, but he's open to better suggestions. And Kiseok's brilliant galaxy brain follow-up name, Snake Chick. Just look at Daewon's face. He is not impressed. Nari jumps in with Peep, which is cute, but Daewon shoots it down because it sounds too much like Goo. Not to be outdone, Goo suggests majestic footsteps in the drawer. Yeah, hard pass on that, my friend. Since every other suggestion was a dumpster fire, they all agree to just stick with Sasa, and Sasa sleeps through the whole thing. So with the home renovation complete, Goo asks Daewon what's next on their adventure list. And this is where Daewon gets serious. He explains that since he's not alone anymore, they really need to upgrade their security. His big idea? A nice sturdy fence to keep any demon realm riffraff from wandering in when he's away. Kiseok doubts anyone would even come here, but Daewon drops a truth bomb. S-rank monsters or other hunters could pop up anytime. Goo, ever the problem solver, suggests a field trip to the coast to find some top-tier magically infused building materials. Apparently there's a yellow glowing quartz there that's even tougher than the black jade stone they've used before, a legendary tier item basically. Daewon is totally on board. He's already picturing a glowing fence that's both a fortress and gives off a cozy campfire vibe. So he decides they're heading out immediately. Nari is hyped for a beach trip. Kiseok, on the other hand, looks like he just saw a ghost. Kiseok starts freaking out, getting a nosebleed from the sheer stress as he tries to warn them how dangerous the coast is. He tries to weasel his way out of it, claiming he needs to head back to Earth soon to cleanse the demonic energy. Daewon agrees, putting him on Mandragora sitting duty. Kiseok gives him one last serious warning that place is off-limits to anyone below A rank. Why? Because 2 disaster-level monsters rule the coast, and that definitely gets Daewon's attention. He clarifies that they're escaped chimera hunters from a lab with bird-like faces on human bodies, and speak of the devil. Elsewhere, a winged, bird-headed humanoid is just cruising through the sky, totally unaware he's being watched. A team of hunters spots him. Their leader yells, "It finally appeared. Prepare the tracker." One of the hunters fires off a glowing energy ring and bam, a direct hit on their target. The chimera seems to flee, making the hunters wonder if the rumors about its power were just a bunch of hype. The leader decides not to chase. The tracker will lead them to their shelter. The leader with a goatee calls the chimera a failed product, complaining that it still looks too human after 60 years. He gives a big villain speech about how the Chimera Hunter program is humanity's greatest achievement, and today, they're just erasing a mistake. But just as they're feeling all high and mighty, the lookout on spyglass duty sees something that makes his jaw drop. The target isn't running away. Oh no, it just did a U-turn and is now flying straight at them at full speed. The leader starts screaming his head off for everyone to get their defensive barriers up immediately. But it's way too late. The chimera comes flying in with a devastating kick that shatters their barrier in a single blow. Boom! As the chimera dives in for the final strike, the hunters have that classic moment of realization that they have messed up. Big time. Just as the leader orders everyone to block the attack, a small figure zips in out of absolutely nowhere. It's Nari, and she slams her fist right into the chimera's side, yelling, "Don't bully weak people." The Birdman is just stunned, stumbling back from the sheer force of a punch from this tiny girl. Nari grumbles that Sparrow Uncle is bullying people, but Daewon Riley suggests she might have that situation a little bit backwards. One of the hunters alerts his leader that Nari, the mechanical creature, is also here. Man, that tracker on Nari is such a pain on the backside. But more importantly, he can't believe he's seeing that guy again. He turns to the chimera and casually asks, "Hey, Birdhead, don't you remember me? We were roommates. What number were you again?" The chimera is completely speechless. Daewon remarks that it's amazing to find him still alive. Seeing this super weird reunion, the hunters decide this new guy is also suspicious, and it's time for a tactical retreat. But as they're about to leave, Daewon realizes he can't let them go. It'll just cause more problems later. So, it's time to clean house. The winged chimera suddenly pauses and takes a sniff of the air. Then the recognition hits him. "Right," he says. "It was you." A memory comes flooding back to the surface, triggered by a familiar smell that he could never ever forget. It's the smell that only they would know. The unique, nasty stench of the chimera cell combination drug from the TDA Research Institute. And the winged chimera greets him, not as a stranger, but as a long-lost acquaintance. Long time no see, number 17. Alright, let's hit the rewind button. We're going back 66 years where a frantic chase is kicking off in a dark forest near the TDA laboratory. Our Birdman is booking it through the trees with a little girl on his back. She's shivering, and he realizes she's having a seizure from whatever messed up experiment they just went through. And man, the guilt is hitting him hard. He's bleeding and wondering if he should have just left his sister Jaya behind. He's thinking her wings are totally useless, but Chia just snuggles in closer, saying his wings are warm. He tells her to hang on and floors it, but then, bam, He skids to a halt. Someone's blocking the road. It's a kid, just a young boy, holding a flashlight, and our Birdman knows him instantly. It's number 17. This kid, a young Dawoon, drops some bad news. He overheard the lab folks. Turns out, our Birdman's side effects are so bad he's on the schedule for disposal. Yikes. Dawoon spells it out for him. Even if they do escape, a detonation spell will take them out in 3 days. But his sister? She's not on the disposal list yet. So Dawoon suggests maybe just staying at the lab, getting suppressants, and living a little longer. But our guy is not having it. He tells Dawoon that he couldn't possibly get it since he has 0 side effects. He doesn't know what it's like for them. We flash back to Gia, crying and begging him to run away so they can live like they used to, even for just 1 more day. That desperate wish is all he can hear. He realizes it's not about how long you live, but how you live. So really, all he wants is to live freely, even if it's just for 1 day. But Dawoon just gives him a blank stare, and then he opens a massive swirling blue portal right behind him. Well, that's a twist. Our Birdman is completely floored. How did this dude get hold of a gatestone? Dawoon explains their options. The demonic energy could totally poison their human cells and it's game over. Or they turn into total monsters, but hey, at least they can live freely. Bird Boy asks if there was any way to survive as a human. Dawoon says it's possible, theoretically. They need to get level up enough to be able to coat themselves in mana. It's not going to be easy. Uh-oh, they're out of time. The lab goons have found them and they're closing in fast. Bird Boy turns to dip but then stops. Hey, we've been roommates for 4 years and we don't even know each other's names. My name is Yubom. What's yours? Young Dawoon just smiles. And then we snap back to the present. My name is Cheon Dawoon. Dawoon says while releasing some kind of golden mist. And just like that, the memory wipe is complete. Dawoon asks a hunter his name, and the guy is totally clueless. He has no idea who he is or why he's even there. Dawoon opens a portal. It worked perfectly. Now get in. Forget everything that happened here. Yubom is shocked. Turns out, our boy has A+ rank Oblivion herb cells that can wipe about 3 hours of memory. Dawoon suddenly asks, Number 33, was your name Yubiom? And Yubiom just smiles, totally shocked he actually remembered after all this time. But this touching reunion gets cut short by Nari tugging on Dawoon's shirt. Mister, are you and that Sparrow uncle really friends? Dawoon replies, yeah, and he's from the Sparrow tribe. And Sparrow and Coconut tribes are allies. Harry, still pretending, rolls with the program and apologizes to Yubom, who is completely lost. What the heck are Sparrow tribe and Coconut tribe? Suddenly Nari's tummy lets out a huge rumble. She's hungry, of course. So Dawoon just turns to his old pal. Yubom, where's your house? You got any food? No subtlety whatsoever. And Yubiom is just short-circuiting. Is Nari his daughter? Is this some kind of weird roleplay scenario? The poor guy has no clue. So he leads them to his place on the beach, which is a stunning, massive house woven to look like a giant bird's nest. I want one. Nari is blown away, and even Dawoon is impressed, complimenting Yubom on his building skills. He's not just a bird brain after all. Inside, Yubiom serves up some massive grilled clams topped with weird plants from the demon realm. Looks sketchy, but hey, when in the demon realm. Gu dives in first, and its tiny mind is absolutely shattered by the freshness. That must be some good clam. Nari is right behind, stuffing her face and declaring that the clam is literally dancing with every single bite. The enthusiasm is contagious. Dawoon finds out it's even better with the red moss, and Yubom smugly reveals it's an all-purpose seasoning. The Gordon Ramsay of the demon realm, folks. Yubom is happy they're enjoying the food when his eyes widen and he starts shivering. The moment is broken by Nari waving an empty pan and demanding seconds. Yubom has to break the news, they're all out. Not a problem for Nari. She declares she'll go catch 10 more herself and sprints off to the water with Gu and Sasa, an absolute legend. With the kids gone, the mood gets serious again. They talk about Dawoon's immortality and Yubom gets right to it. Are you planning to get revenge on the TDA laboratory? Dawoon says yeah, he thinks about it. But watching Nari playing in the ocean, he says life isn't so bad right now. He's taking his time. Then Dawoon flips the question on him. Yubiom's face darkens as he drops a bombshell. Unlike Dawoon, the other chimeras still have the lab's detonation spell inside them. Dawoon points out that Yubom can control his wings now, but asks why his head is still a bird. Fair question. Yubom says he keeps the bird head out of solidarity for his sister Gia, whose face has also changed. Dawoon's face gets hard as he stares out at the ocean, getting ready to ask a tough question. And then he just drops it. You know it too, right? That you have a month to live at most. Woof. Right for the gut. And Yubiom just slumps over, totally defeated. You noticed, huh? He flashes back to when they first arrived, desperately gathering mana just to stay alive. Eventually they found a balance, and for a long time things were peaceful. But that peace got wrecked when Gia's mana core got tangled, causing her demonic energy to go completely berserk. In a desperate move to save her, Yubium ended up damaging his own mana core in the process. Classic hero move, terrible outcome. So now Jia is basically in a self-induced coma, eating poisonous fruits just to slow down the rampaging energy inside her. That's grim. And Dawoon just calmly states the super obvious solution: a potion made from mandragora can heal a damaged mana core instantly. We zoom to Jia, weak and alone in a dark cave, surrounded by these half-eaten poison fruits. It's a rough sight. And then an absolutely agonizing scream tears through the darkness as her demonic energy just erupts violently. Not a good sign. Yubiom is absolutely floored. Was there really a way for him and Jia to survive this whole nightmare? And Dawoon, calm as ever, lays out the solution. Alchemy. Specifically, water purified from the fine roots of a mandragora. He's talking about the mandragora, that screaming plant monster you definitely do not want to pull up without a good pair of earplugs. Now, you might think their tiny little roots are nothing special, but you would be dead wrong. They are the very core of its life force. See, these roots are basically demonic energy vacuums. They suck it right up from the ground to grow and even multiply. And that is exactly why water purified from them is like a super potion for repairing damaged mana holes. It is chock full of that good stuff. And what do you know? Dawoon smiles, revealing he has conveniently been raising Mandragoras this whole time. He offers to bring the potion right to him. Yubiom cannot believe his luck. But hold on, Dawoon reminds him of the catch. He needs an alchemist and his curse prevents him from going to the human world. So while he is gone, Dawoon needs a babysitter for the kids. Yubiom is all in, saying he will owe him one for this. Then Dawoon remembers alchemists do not exactly work for free. And Yubiom, well, he is broke. But our Birdman has a different kind of currency. He presents a massive, fully stocked backpack to Dawoon. This thing looks heavy. Yubiom explains it is packed with high-tier loot that hunters usually bring from the demon realm. Dawoon assures him it is more than enough payment. With a smile and a glowing gatestone, Dawoon gives a cool, "All right, I will be back." Poof, Dawoon steps through the portal and finds himself right back in the human world. His mission is to find a skilled alchemy type awakened, and his guide, Oh Bongsu, knows the perfect spot. Bongsu says the Alchemist Association opened a branch in the slums last year and they can probably find who they need there. Dawoon notices the sandbags on Bongsu's arms and legs. Turns out the kid is grinding his stamina stats. He says he wants to get as strong as Dawoon, who looks just a little bit surprised to hear it. Bongsu gives a big thumbs up, saying anyone who can survive the demon realm with just their clothes must be insanely strong. You are not wrong, kid. Dawoon looks at him and thinks to himself that Bongsu actually does seem taller. Maybe it is just a growth spurt. Finally, Bongsu announces their arrival. The Alchemist Association, Slum District 13 branch. It looks a little sketchy. He tells Dawoon that a new skilled manager named Mr. Kim just arrived and that he is a really nice guy. Just then, Dawoon overhears a man on a nearby phone, pleading that he has not missed an interest payment in over 20 years. Bongsu just sighs. It is another call from a loan shark, which is apparently super common around here. And get this, the man on the phone is Manager Kim. He worked at the prestigious Gold City branch for 20 years before being demoted here with a pay cut. Dawoon assumes Kim must have done something wrong, but Bongsu says that is not the story on the street. Apparently, back in Gold City, one of his higher-ups was siphoning funds meant to support the slums. This guy was infamous for stealing credit and using dirty tricks to line his own pockets. A real piece of work. Manager Kim reported him, got on his bad side, and was promptly thrown out for doing the right thing. Classic. Bongsu calls out to Manager Kim, who turns around, surprised to see him there. Kim notes that Bongsu seems to have grown a bit, but Bongsu gets straight to business, saying Dawoon needs an alchemist. Dawoon is impressed, noting that high-ranking alchemists are rare, and he can't believe he just found one in the slums. With his job done, Bongsu heads off to continue his training, and Kim invites Dawoon inside. Inside, another man is lounging at a desk, complaining about his rotten boss and selling potions to D-rank hunters. Talk about low morale. As the door chimes, he sees Manager Kim return and quickly jumps up to greet him. Dawoon cuts straight to the chase. You are an A+ rank alchemist, right? Can you brew mana hole purified water with a mandragora? I need it immediately. Manager Kim is completely stunned. How could anyone find a mandragora in the slums, and how does this stranger know his rank? Dawoon simply asks, will this do? And Kim's eyes widen in absolute total disbelief. In Dawoon's hand are a few tiny tendrils mandragora root, pulsing with dense, dark demonic energy. The real deal, folks. Kim stammers that it is incredibly fresh, as if it was just dug up. He has never seen one so pristine in his entire life. For payment, Dawoon opens his backpack, offering to pay with some local specialties from the coastal region he's been living in. He dumps out the contents: a giant clamshell, 3 S-rank black pearls, and some ultra-rare red moss. That is some serious loot. Kim is ecstatic. He realizes he is seeing 3 S-rank black pearls and a demon realm giant clam, something not even the main headquarters has in stock. They marvel at the red moss, a key ingredient for top-grade potions that was only discovered recently. The value is off the charts. Dawoon asks if it is enough for the fee. Kim exclaims that this is enough to buy the whole building. The assistant manager says he will need to get the appraisal machine from the lab, since it is mandatory for items this valuable. He rushes out the door, promising to be right back. Just then, Dawoon notices a jar on a shelf. Didn't you say you did not have a mandragora? Kim explains that one is dead and 10 years old, kept only as a relic. But Dawoon interrupts him. Nah, this is still alive. The manager is confused. What do you mean? Look, if I feed it mana, it responds, Dawoon says. The creature inside actually twitches in response. Kim's jaw hits the floor. Dawoon explains it had just run out of demonic energy and was in a state of suspended animation. Kim protests, saying it is impossible since he has pumped plenty of mana into it before. Suddenly, the office door swings wide open. A smug man in a red pinstripe suit, flanked by 2 identical assistants, walks in. Been a while, Manager Kim. A terrified Kim stammers, asking what brings Executive An here. The executive remarks that the place looks more like a loan shark's den than an office. An's eyes immediately land on the treasures. I got word that some extraordinary items showed up in the slums. Kim realizes in horror that his assistant Park must have tipped off the executive. An smugly credits his capable subordinates. He reveals his assistants are twins with a movement awakening, allowing for double-speed travel, perfect for snitching. An turns his attention to Dawoon. So you are the one who brought these treasures? Dawoon just replies, what if I am? The man introduces himself as Executive Gijong An of the Gold City branch and invites Dawoon to come with him for a proper welcome. Dawoon just looks annoyed. He was having a perfectly fine conversation before this guy showed up to ruin everything. An tries to sweeten the deal, offering an exclusive contract with a sweet bonus. But Dawoon interrupts, asking about the mole next to his nose. Confused, An confirms he is a mole. Dawoon then asks if he has any relation to an An Bakdiok. An burst out laughing, absolutely thrilled. So you know my grandfather? He proudly declares that he is indeed the grandson of the great Gold Peace Prize laureate, An Bakdiok. A dark smile spreads across Dawoon's face. These genes are truly vile. A memory flashes through his mind. A blood-soaked room in the TDA lab, where a young Dawoon kneels amongst fallen children. An Bakdiok, a scientist with the same mole, stands over them with a whip, sneering about the subhuman wretches. The scientist sadistically offers to open a gate and toss them into the demon realm. Back in the present, boom! A wave of raw power erupts from Dawoon, blasting Gijong An backward. An crashes to the floor, gasping in pain. Dawoon's voice is ice-cold as he asks, are you just like your grandfather? Dawoon presses on, asking if An is just another power-hungry thug like his grandfather, crushing people and taking whatever he wants. Ignoring the denial, Dawoon's eyes glow with an icy blue light. He demands to know if the TDA lab, the source of all his suffering, still exists. What are you talking about? Gijong asks. Dawoon repeats the question, is the TDA research lab still around? Gijong immediately hits the floor, totally terrified. He claims he's never ever heard of a place called TDA. You don't know about the illegal Chimera lab where the famous Mbogdak worked as senior researcher? And get this, Manager Kim is eavesdropping and his jaw just about hits the floor. Gijong vehemently defends his grandpa's honor, shouting that the man dedicated his life to research and helping people. He insists Mbogdak was a hero who donated his entire fortune. The guy even received the Gold Peace Prize for his contributions. A real saint, apparently. Dawoon just smirks, completely unimpressed. He figures the old man was just repenting in public after murdering countless kids behind the scenes. He then casually wonders aloud if Bokduk's unexpectedly early death was due to the after effects of falling from a window. Gijong's eyes go wide with horror. That little incident was never made public, so how in the world could Dawoon possibly know? And folks, here comes the coldest line of the century. Dawoon's answer is simple and absolutely brutal. Because I was the one who pushed him. In a quick flashback, we see the whole story. Bokduk was threatening to toss the Chimera kids into a demon gate, so Dawoon gave him a little push instead. Poetic justice. Back in the present, Dawoon gives Gijong a new job. He orders him to investigate his own grandfather and the TDA lab. His parting words are a straight-up threat. I'll come find you when the time is right. Dawoon reflects on the twisted fate of meeting the grandson of the man who ruined his entire life. His first bio-experiment was at age 9, my friends. 9. His transformation into a monster started in his 20s, and from that point on, his memories are just a violent, hazy blur. For years, he was nothing but a weapon on autopilot. All kill, no chill, lost in an endless battle royale with no sense of self. Anyway, back in Manager Kim's office, Dawoon figures the lab must have changed its name by now. They're probably not that dumb. Just then, Manager Kim bursts in, happier than a clam. He proudly presents the finished product, purified water for the mana hole made from mandragora. Dawoon is impressed by his speed. A very humble Manager Kim replies that the ingredients were so pure that it went smoothly. He tells Dawoon that he'll calculate the remaining payment for the rest of the ingredients and wishing the hunter would sign an exclusive contract with him. As if reading his mind, Dawoon offers Kim all of his super rare synthesis ingredients in exchange for an exclusive 10-year contract. All Kim has to do is the alchemy. Manager Kim is just shocked. "You'll give me all of that plus an exclusive contract?" Dawoon replies, "You said you could buy your building with all that stuff, right?" And then the waterworks start. Overwhelmed, Manager Kim just bursts into tears and grabs onto Dawoon, explaining he's from these slums. When he was young, his parents took on massive debt. He promised them he'd work hard and pay it back. But no matter how much he struggled, he was always stuck. He tearfully asks how he can ever repay such kindness. Dawoon just pats his back and thinks, "Don't worry, buddy. I've got lots of work for you in the future." With his new alchemist officially hired, Dawoon decides to head back to the demon realm, hoping everything is alright over there. Spoiler alert, it is not alright. Back at home, Yubiom is standing in a total disaster zone. Jia has already gone on a rampage. He pleads with his sister to get a grip, but it's pretty clear she's way too far gone for that. Jia, now a terrifying beast with a literal skull for a head, just roars and attacks her own brother. Family reunions are rough. The blow sends Yubiom crashing hard to the ground. Looks like he was too late to save her this time. But wait, suddenly Nari and Gu appear, rushing to his side and scolding him for letting himself get hit so easily. Yubiom struggles to his feet, vowing to keep his promise to Dawoon to protect the little guys. With a heavy heart, he charges forward to meet his sister. It's either him or her. As Jia's attack is about to connect, Yubiom silently prays for Jia to be happy in her next life. But it's not over yet. Plop! A massive, squishy pink bubble lands on top of Jia. And who's perched calmly on top of this giant jelly dome? It's Dawoon. He casually remarks, "She should be knocked out by now, right?" Nari and Gu are overjoyed to see him, even if Gu is a little confused by the giant jellyfish that just appeared. Yubiom yells that it's his sister he just squished. "Well, did you have a better way to restrain her?" Dawoon asks. Desperate, Yubiom asks about the medicine. Dawoon just grins and holds up the 2 vials of Mandragora potion. "Here, hurry and give it to her." A bit later, around a campfire, Nari and a now human Jia are fast asleep, totally exhausted. The empty potion vials are lying nearby. Jia starts to stir, her monstrous hand turning back to normal. She looks around, completely dazed and wondering if she's dreaming. She sits up and sees 2 figures by the fire. Startled, she jumps back and demands to know who they are. Sleepy Nari wakes up. "Auntie Sparrow, are you awake already?" Which just leaves Jia utterly baffled. She has no idea what's going on. Yubiom greets her and calmly tells her to check her mana hole. She hesitantly checks and is completely shocked. It's totally normal, glowing with a steady, stable blue energy. A miracle. And she realizes her face is back to normal too. She asks what's happening. Yubiom seems surprised she doesn't recognize him. He reminds her this is the person she desperately wanted to see again. The realization slowly dawns on Jia as she stares at Dawoon in disbelief. Staring at Dawoon by the fire, Jia's memories finally click into place. She whispers his old designation, number 17. She grabs her brother in shock, asking if it's really him. Yubiom just nods, confirming that the boy who saved them all those years ago has returned. Yubiom reflects on the situation, thinking, this time too, he's the one who saved us. Meanwhile, Dawoon, completely unfazed by this emotional reunion, just asks if there's any more red moss. "Nah, that's all for today," Yubiom replies. Letting go of the past for a moment, Jia finally removes the skull mask that has hidden her face for so many years. With a brilliant beaming smile, she looks at Dawoon and says, "Thank you for saving us." Suddenly, Nari, who's been looking out at the ocean, spots something weird. "Huh? What's that over there?" She runs towards the shore, pointing at the waves. There's something sparkling in the sea. Jia joins her, explaining they're sea fairies. He clarifies that they're actually seahorse monsters from the deep. They just got the nickname because they look like fairies when they come up to play. Nari watches, completely captivated, as Jia explains they come up at night and return home when the sun rises. Yubiom adds that if you follow them, you can find yellow glowing quartz. This jogs Dawoon's memory. That's the whole reason he came here. Dawoon quickly asks how long until sunrise. Yubiom figures it's probably pretty soon. With a confident smirk, Dawoon stretches his neck. "Guess I'll go for a swim. It's been a while." Meanwhile, in a sterile, modern office, a man with long white hair asks for an update on the whereabouts of his mechanical creature, aka Nari. Someone reports that multiple B-class hunters failed to capture it and it's now hiding somewhere in the coastal area. The voice adds a chilling detail. The A-class hunters sent to that area all came back with amnesia. Luckily, their trackers still pinpointed the creature's location. Just then, his phone buzzes with an incoming call from someone named Managing Director Ann. He answers, and a gravelly voice on the other end says, "There's something I'd like to ask." And he gets straight to the point. "Do you happen to know of a place called the TDA Research Lab?" Director Ann asks about an old, super illegal lab called TDA, but he's interrupted. The head researcher is like, "Nope, Never heard of it. My totally legit Handbit Research Institute is squeaky clean. His old mentor always taught him to be an honest and upright researcher. But the second he hangs up, his face twists into this psycho grin. "Oh, I'll never forget my teacher's lessons," he says. Yeah, right. He's wondering how that man's grandson even knows about this off-the-books, totally not evil lab. Sounds like a classic loose end to me. There's a knock at the door and he switches back to his I'm a normal boss's mode just like that. "Come in," he says, cool as a cucumber. Some researcher bursts in, hyped out of his mind and holding a metal case. "Director, we did it. It's a success." Turns out they've cooked up some brand new nightmare fuel. It's a combination of liquid metal and a mandragora. What could possibly go wrong? And there it is, folks, the liquid metal mandragora. It's basically a sad, droopy Terminator plant thing floating in a tube. A real cutie. The director gets that evil glint in his eye again. He explains that mandragoras have an exceptionally strong sense of family. And liquid metal, it has this obsessive need to get back together with other bits of itself. It's basically the T-1000. So you combine the two and you get a living GPS that's designed to hunt down their other escaped creation. This is just brilliant. Speaking of which, An is absolutely losing it. He screams at his team to triple the bounty and call in the A-class big guns. He is not letting his little masterpiece, Nari, stay free for long. This guy has some serious attachment issues, my friend. Meanwhile, a world away in the demon realm, our boy Ubium is just chilling on a beautiful beach. Quite the mood swing, huh? He's looking at the quartz necklace Dawoon gave his sister and thinking, man, that dude is a total weirdo. He's not wrong. Later that night, Dawoon and Ubium are having a little heart-to-heart by the fire. Dawoon invites him and his sister over to his place. He even brags about his cook, but adds, he's bald though. Ubium's mind is blown. Dawoon actually lives in the demon realm? Dawoon's just like, hey, it's nice when you get used to it. So Ubium asks the million-dollar question, why stay here when you could go back? And Dawoon, smooth as ever, just flips it right back. Do you want to go back? Oof, that hits a nerve. Ubium goes totally silent. Dawoon admits he doesn't have the best memories of the human world, but a part of him is still curious. A classic case of nostalgia for a place you hate. So Dawoon drops another bombshell. He knows an alchemist, a manager Kim, who might be able to remove that nasty detonation spell from the lab. He tells Ubium to think about it, dropping some serious wisdom. There's a big difference between choosing not to go and not being able to go. Ubium is just floored. You can practically see the gears turning in his head. This is a total game changer for him. Finally, he asks what we're all thinking. Why are you doing all this for us? We've given you nothing in return. Dawoon gets all philosophical, staring into the fire. He says watching them made him question if life is about more than just surviving. So basically, he's using them for his own little existential crisis experiment. A bit weird, but hey, they're getting a free ride out of it. A light, back to business. Ubium spots something in the distance and shouts, it's coming up now. His sister Gia flies over, tossing him a rope. Big bro, catch this, she yells. Teamwork makes the dream work, I guess. He catches it, but has absolutely no clue what's going on. Just another perfectly normal day in the demon realm. Gia tells him to pull, but whatever is on the other end is seriously heavy. He is struggling big time. And then, kaboom! A massive net full of golden quartz crystals explodes out of the water. They have hit the jackpot. Ubium's jaw hits the sand. You mind all of this? He yells. Looks like his sister has been grinding for that sweet, sweet loot. Meanwhile, Nari and Dawoon are having their own little beach episodes, splashing around and having a great time. Dawoon is like, man, it's been a while since I went swimming. And Nari agrees she had fun. Aw, how sweet. We get this gorgeous underwater shot of Gia and Nari swimming with all these glowing sea creatures. It's straight out of a movie. Suddenly, a tiny glowing seahorse just lands on Nari's head. She is officially a Disney princess now, folks. She remembers seeing the massive quartz field on the seafloor. She thought it looked like a glowing yellow palace, so that's where it all came from. Back on the beach, Nari says she wants to go again, and Dawoon is like, yeah, sure, but it's time to head out. The whole crew is standing in front of this mountain of quartz, and Gia asks a very important question. So how are we going to move this? Dawoon, our master planner, admits he's just now thinking about it, but then he hears something and looks up. And what do you know? A massive, super colorful bird is just soaring by. Talk about a convenient plot device. Dawoon identifies it as a parrot-billed bird. He finds it weird that it's alone, since they usually travel in flocks. Nari thinks it's pretty, but Gia is quick to shut that down. She's like, yeah, they only look pretty from far away. Apparently, these things are over 4 meters long, have a terrible temper, and spit acid. Even pro hunters don't mess with them. And what does Dawoon do? He smirks. I was just thinking I needed a truck. This is perfect. Oh, this is gonna be good. Back at the cabin, Kiseok is meditating and feeling pretty good about himself. He can feel his mana holes has gotten bigger. Good for him? He's totally stoked. At this rate, he thinks becoming an A-class hunter is actually in the cards. Dream big, buddy. Just as he's wondering where Dawoon is, that weird metallic creature from the lab flops up behind him. Talk about creepy. Kiseok turns around and absolutely panics. "What is that thing?" he shouts. A very fair question. Before it could get back up, it gets kicked. 3 goons in tactical gear show up, threatening to melt the little guy down. The leader, a guy with blonde hair, looks up and gets a surprise of his own. His eyes go wide. He recognizes Kiseok. "Hey, isn't that Nam Kiseok? Look at the bald head. It's him." They are not being subtle at all. And of course, they immediately start roasting him about his raggedy clothes, asking if he's gone full caveman. Kiseok is mortified. He's frozen in place, blushing with a mix of rage and pure embarrassment. Oh, it gets worse. He recognizes them. These are the same A-class jerks who bullied him at his promotion exam for failing over and over. He can't believe his bullies followed him all the way to the demon realm. Talk about some seriously bad luck. But just then, the 3 little mandragoras step in front of Kiseok, ready to throw down. His tiny leafy bodyguards have arrived. The thugs' eyes turn into $signs. They've just found 3 wild mandragoras, and those things are worth a fortune. The blonde leader tries to sweet-talk them, crouching down and holding out his hand, like that is ever going to work. Kiseok gets super serious. He knows he has to protect these little guys for his big bro Dawoon. It is time to man up. But the main mandragora is having none of it. It puffs out its chest and starts stomping its little foot. It is not happy. And then, bam! A massive shockwave sends the 3 thugs flying through the air like Team Rocket. They're all in a panic, wondering if it was an earthquake. Actually, it's just Jia and Yubiom searching for Dawoon's house. Speaking of Dawoon, where's Sep's our guy at? Turns out he stayed back for a little monster taming session. He's wondering if he was a little too rough while taming it. Yeah, think, dude. Kiseok is having a complete and total meltdown. He's flashing back to the hunter's report, where they identified the Birdman and his friend as a disaster-class monster. And wouldn't you know it, that's the exact direction Dawoon and Nari went. The poor guy's brain is completely short-circuiting. Back in the present, the female chimera Jia looks at Kiseok and asks if he's Dawoon's cook, recognizing him by his, unique hairstyle. Kiseok absolutely loses it. He scrambles backward, yelling, "The monster can talk? Dude, try to keep up." The gears finally start turning in his head. He asks them if they happen to know his big bro, Xian Dawoon. The 2 just casually confirm that Dawoon is their friend. Kiseok is left wondering what kind of sketchy life his new mentor has been living. Yubiom then spots the stunned hunters in the background, noting they don't exactly look like welcome guests. And this gives Kiseok a terrible idea. With a grin that could curdle milk, he points an accusing finger and declares, "These guys are thieves. They're trying to steal Big Bro's mandragora." About an hour later, the gang makes a grand return home, landing with a ground-shaking dead. Dawoon, Nari, and Gu hop off their giant bird taxi. "There's no place like home," Dawoon says with a cheesy smile. Their ride promptly faceplants into the grass, completely gassed out. Dawoon wonders if maybe the massive quartz they were carrying was a little too heavy. He pats the bird's head, telling it to get some rest. Jia watches from a distance and remarks, "Wow, you really tamed that thing." Meanwhile, Gu rolls off the bird's back, completely out of it. Still feeling a little flight sick, Gu looks around and spots some new lawn decorations. 3 A-class hunters tied to a tree and looking utterly defeated. Dawoon calmly assesses the situation like this is a normal Tuesday. Yubiom claims they were trying to steal the mandragoras, but Dawoon senses there's more to it. Just as Yubiom is about to spill the real tea, Jia pulls a classic distraction, asking Nari for a tour. Nari excitedly agrees to show her the waterfall. With the kids out of earshot, Yubiom gets serious. He reveals the hunters were hired by the Hanbit Research Institute, and they're still hunting for Nari. That name rings a bell. Dawoon remembers that's the same shady lab where Nam Kiseok got his location tracker. And these guys are not messing around. It seems Nari has a special tracking device that works even in the demon realm, and they've sent some scary-looking hunter to find her. Dawoon is confused. If they were miles away at the coast, how did the hunters pinpoint their home? Yubiom reveals a tiny metallic creature. He explains it's a chimera made from a mandragora and liquid metal, and since liquid metals are naturally drawn to each other, it was used to track Nari. The poor little tracker was just drawn to its own kind, the mandragoras, and it led the hunters right to their doorstep. Looks like the Institute is not giving up. Annoyed, Dawoon starts thinking of a plan when he notices the mandragoras are making a racket. He chuckles. Turns out they're demanding he hand over the chimera. Even as a weird metal plant thing, it's still family. Dawoon goes to give it to them, but then stops. He just remembered something else in his pocket. How in the world did the mandragora know? He pulls out another, even sadder-looking mandragora. He explains that an alchemist raised this one, and he agreed to take care of it. In a quick flashback, we see the alchemist, manager Kim, tearfully begging Dawoon to take the little guy, believing it's for the best. Back in the present, the Mandragora family happily digs new holes for their 2 new members who look a bit down but are finally home. You gotta love their loyalty. With that settled, Dawoon asks, "By the way, have you seen Nam Kiseok?" And right on cue, Kiseok's scream echoes from above. He's being flown in by Jia, held upside down and looking completely terrified. Kiseok, crying his eyes out, clings to Dawoon's leg for dear life. Gia explains she found him getting pathetically nibbled on by fish while trying to feed them. Just as Kiseok tries to explain himself, he spots the giant blue parrot and completely loses his mind all over again. Dawoon just waves it off, telling him they can have a therapy session later. First, it is time to eat. While waiting for dinner, Nari watches the sad little liquid metal mandragora and gently uses her power to fix its droopy leaf. Her expression is unreadable. With a dramatic flourish, Yubiom and Gia present the main course, Nam Kiseok's special kimchi curry rice stewed for hours. Kiseok beams with pride, explaining that even though he used instant ingredients, he put in a full hour of non-stop stirring to make it perfect. For effort, my friend. Everyone gathers around the table, ready to dig in, while Kiseok watches nervously, hoping his cooking doesn't actually kill them. Gia and Yubiom take one bite and immediately ascend to a higher culinary plane. Dawoon just watches, thinking their reactions were so predictable. But then Dawoon notices Nari hasn't touched her food. She quietly says she is not hungry and heads inside to sleep. He figures the whole liquid metal chimera business must be bothering her. Maybe some good old-fashioned work will take her mind off things. Later that night, the two new mandragoras sleep peacefully in the garden, safe and sound under the moonlight. After that amazing meal, Yubiom and Gia are completely stuffed, joking that they feel more like pigs than birds. To burn off the calories, Dawoon suggests they build a fence. The two chimeras enthusiastically volunteer to handle the quartz cutting. But suddenly, Dawoon freezes. He feels a massive surge of energy. A gate is opening right inside the cabin. Inside, Nari stands before a swirling blue vortex. Believing her presence puts Dawoon in danger, she decides to return where she belongs. Dawoon bursts through the door just in time to see her step through. "Kim Nari," he yells, but it is too late. With one last tearful look, she says, "Farewell, uncle." She thinks she's a danger to her new family, so she's returning to the lab with the metal mandragora. She gives a tearful goodbye. But our boy Dawoon is having none of that. He swoops in and snatches her right up. "Where do you think you're going? This is your home now." Yubiom and Gia watch as Dawoon comforts the poor girl. They say that kids vanish in an instant. He just didn't realize how soon it would be. Later that night, the family chills out with some late-night ramen. Nari declares it's even better than before. Kiseok wisely states that nothing beats ramen after midnight. Gia gives Nari a light scolding for trying to run away, and Nari sheepishly admits she was wrong. But oh no, the ramen is a little too spicy for Nari. Luckily, our chef Kiseok is prepared. He slides her a yogurt drink, saying his mom always said it was the best cure for the heat. Yubiom recognizes the drinks from their old lab days. "There's one for each of you guys," Kiseok offers. After everyone's chugged down their probiotic drink, Kiseok offers to clean up. Gia and Yubiom get up to work on the quartz. With everyone else gone, Nari sits with Dawoon and apologizes for making him worry. Dawoon just brushes it off. He tells her the real villains are the scumbags who created and used her. Then he switches gears, asking about her friends from the so-called Coconut Tribe. Dawoon clarifies his plan. He's going to go clean up the research lab and needs to know who to spare. She tells him she was close with 3 other kids there. Dawoon realizes he won't need Nari for the location. Kiseok should know it. He wonders how their little side mission is going. Meanwhile, Kiseok is having way too much fun guarding the tied-up hunters. One of the hunters starts freaking out, remembering Dawoon suppressed his mana. He spits out his gag and desperately tries to cut a deal with Kiseok. He offers Kiseok enough cash to buy a house in the richest city, but Kiseok just scoffs. "I'm not the kind of person you can bribe with a minuscule amount of cash." He smirks, flashing a crazy exclusive black card. The hunter is stunned into silence. You love to see it. As the hunter stammers in shock, Kiseok just dismisses him. This is personal. He shakes the card between his fingers. Kiseok declares it's payback time for the advancement exam. He calls them out for being famous scumbags who prey on weaker hunters. He clenches his fist, asking what's worse, failing an exam or being a bully who scams people. Kiseok reveals a tiny ball made from the Oblivion herb. It's so compressed he has no idea how potent it is. The hunter panics. He knows that's enough to completely wipe their memories clean. Kiseok menacingly says, "Say ah," and the hunter absolutely loses his mind. The next morning, Nari is running around with the snake chick while Gu complains about how tiring parenting is. Yubiom is surprised to hear Dawoon is raiding the lab. Dawoon just asks him to look after Nari in the house. Yubiom agrees in a heartbeat. Just then, Kiseok shows up, packed and ready to go. And man, is he in a good mood. He's practically glowing with excitement. He's dreaming about meeting a top-tier alchemist to finally solve his hair problem. Yubiom instantly figures it out and laughs. Gia suggests they wear disguises so no one recognizes them, but Kiseok looks lost. She offers her awesome skull mask to Dawoon, telling him to put it on before they leave. "Does it fit me?" Dawoon asks. "Don't worry, she has a small face but her head is surprisingly big," Yubiom jokes. That sets off a fight between the siblings. Kiseok, meanwhile, is just standing there frozen. He's all like, "What is this? Why is my heart beating so fast?" Bro is completely down bad. He's wondering if this is love at first sight. But reality comes crashing down as Ja starts viciously pulling Yubiom's hair. Somehow, Kisok isn't fazed at all. He kneels before Jia and apologizes for being rude. Then he shoots his shot, smoothly asking, "So, what's your ideal type?" Dawoon and Yubiom are just watching this disaster unfold, and they are loving it. Dawoon notes that Jia looks super serious. Yubiom explains Jia has this quirk that she has to answer any question she's asked. She says first, they have to be flashy, and second, it would be nice if they could dance. Kisok is completely baffled by this. Then Jia adds that the fluffier, the better. Filled with a new, fiery purpose, Kiseok yells that they have to meet that alchemist right now. Later that day, a massive gate opens up right in the middle of a city. This thing is way bigger than usual. And out of it comes an enormous blue bird, Dawoon's personal ride. The onlookers are terrified, recognizing the legendary poison parrot rock. Someone spots riders on its back and screams to call the Hunters Association immediately. Kisok points out the citywide panic they're causing. Dawoon's response, "Why walk when you have a ride?" Now in a ski mask, Kisok asks where they're headed. Dawoon flips it on him, saying Kisok is the guide. Dawoon, now rocking Jaya's skull mask, admires the view and decides to name the bird Blue. Very creative, Dawoon. Kisok nervously asks one last time, "So for real, where are we going?" Elsewhere, a subordinate reports to the director that the hunters they sent all came back with amnesia. The director slams his hand on the desk. They lost the mechanical creature. He is furious. Losing their prized experiment means their powerful investors are going to be a huge problem. But his assistant has one more clue. He says they found something on the hunter's clothes. He holds up a small golden bead and a simple, taunting note. It just says, "See you soon." The director absolutely explodes with rage, screaming for his men to find who's responsible. Suddenly, his entire office window shatters as the massive bird soars right past the building. Meanwhile, Dawoon's brushing the dust off his clothes like it's nothing. Dawoon asks the shocked crowd, "So, who's the director of this research lab?" Alright, let's rewind a bit to just before the lab raid. Dawoon and Kiseok were soaring through the sky on a massive blue bird. Kiseok is clearly freaking out, asking Dawoon if he's absolutely sure about this plan. He points out that Hanbit isn't just some random lab, it's the famous one that created the mechanical life form, Kimnari. The whole thing feels super illegal to Kiseok, who still thinks of himself as a man of justice. Dawoon just shrugs it off. They'll figure it out when they get there. Kiseok has no choice but to trust him. Trying to change the subject, Kiseok points out their ride has a messed up tail feather. Dawoon glances back and confirms it. He says the left side just isn't growing in right. He explains it's been like that since he found him. The other birds bullied him for not being perfect. Dawoon saved him from the flock, and that's why the bird is so loyal. It even nuzzles up against him affectionately. Kiseok can't believe it was attacked for something so small. But for this species, beautiful feathers are everything. The poor bird got viciously pecked by its own kind, all because of its tail. Kiseok falls silent and gives his blue buddy a pat. He knows all too well what it feels like when something refuses to grow. But there's no time for sad stories. Dawoon spots the lab and gives a single command, "Blue, straight ahead." With a battle cry, the bird turns into a blue missile, rocketing straight for the target. Kiseok screams his lungs out as Dawoon calmly asks them to hold on tight. Blue is a terrible lander because of that missing feather. Oh, now he tells them. They smash into the building and the researchers are sent flying. One guy peers through the smoke, only to see the massive bird's face looming out, scaring him half to death. Before anyone can even scream, glowing golden threads shoot out, instantly tying up every researcher in the room. Dawoon steps through the wreckage. Kiseok asks why they didn't go through the front door. Dawoon explains, lab directors always have offices on the top floor, plotting things. They walk up to two of the captured scientists. One of them trembles, demanding to know who they are. Dawoon gives a simple answer, "I'm Kimnari's guardian." The researchers have absolutely no idea what he's talking about. But suddenly, Dawoon senses something is off. A dark, demonic energy is nearby. While this is all going down, a young man is getting an earful about his upcoming B-class exam. An older man warns him from behind a massive desk. "If you fail this time, I'm kicking you out of the house." This is the cocky C-class hunter, Lee Bakho. He just blows a bubble saying he's progressing way faster than his grandpa ever did. Then he has the nerve to ask his own grandfather for allowance money. The Hunter Association chairman, Lee Un-soo, lets out a heavy sigh. He's 84 and feels it's time to retire. Bakho groans, knowing exactly what's coming next. Another one of Grandpa's lectures. The chairman remembers the old days when he built the association to support true heroes. But now, hunters only care about cash. Chimera research meant to protect people has become a corrupt business. He believes a world where money decides who lives and dies is wrong. The association needs to be stronger. Unfortunately, every candidate for his position is just another greedy suit looking to build their own empire. Having awakened late in life, he's always been a powerless chairman. He turns to Baiko, who awakens so young, but his lecture is cut short when his advisor bursts in with urgent news. "Sir, parrot-poisoned birds have appeared in the slums." The news sends a shockwave through the room. The chairman is stunned. There was no gate signal. This shouldn't be happening. His advisor reports the situation is dire. No hunters are willing to go because it's the slums and there's no money in it. Absolutely furious, the chairman slams his desk. "Fine, I'll go myself." As his grandpa rushes out, Baiko's lazy attitude vanishes. "Grandpa, wait, I'm coming with you." Back at the lab, Dawoon's senses lock onto the white-haired researcher. That's where the dark aura is coming from. In a flash, his golden threads slice right through the man, whose body instantly explodes into a shadowy mess. The remains melt into a puddle of liquid metal. Kiseok is floored. That guy wasn't human, he was a chimera. The other scientist screams in terror, realizing their own director was one of the monsters. Dawoon watches as the liquid metal reforms, a furious voice echoing, "How dare you destroy my lab? I will kill every last one of you." The director bellows, charging straight at them. Dawoon easily dodges. He recognizes the metal is the same as Nari's, but this is not his artificial life form. And then the horrifying truth clicks. The director experimented on his own body and made himself a chimera. Just then, Gu succeeds in a mind link with Dawoon. A horrifying memory floods Dawoon's mind. A scientist standing over the bloody, dissected body of a child. The memory reveals the director's sick obsession. He's desperate to be more successful than some guy named An Bokduk. That memory makes Dawoon rage, and he smashes down on the lab director. "Did you kidnap kids and experiment on them?" Dawoon's voice is pure ice. But the director Han Myung-do just scoffs. He calls the innocent kids nothing more than beggar rats from the slums. "Oh, that was the wrong answer." Dawoon doesn't even hesitate, slamming him down. Myung-do tries to go liquid and escape, but it's no use. Dawoon's grip is just too powerful. Dawoon leans in close. "Time for you to reflect in the room of pain and time." With a terrifying surge of power, he smashes the director into the ground. Myung-do starts screaming as his body is crushed under the impossible pressure, twisting and contorting. His entire body gets sucked inward, shrinking down until he's nothing but a tiny, glowing orb. That's one monster dealt with. Kiseok and Gu stare in shock. He just turned a person into a ball. Dawoon just picks up the orb and turns to the terrified researchers. "Now, who wants to talk next?" After squeezing them for info, Dawoon learns the whole story. Myung-do's research was stolen by his master, Bokduk, sparking this insane revenge plot. He can't believe how pathetic it is. But something's off. There was nothing in Myung-do's memories about the TDA Research Institute. Was he really not involved? He's already dealt with Nari's tracking device, and he left the cleanup to Kiseok and the giant bird. Now for the last piece of business, the victims of Myung-do's experiments. He smashes through the door of the super-secret lab. And guess what? It's filled with tubes holding the bodies of experimented children. Wu is completely disgusted. What a piece of trash keeping specimens of dead kids like this. As Gu is talking, Dawoon flashes back to his own past on an operating table. He remembers researchers arguing over his body. "Are you insane? You want to dissect our golden goose?" One of the researchers exclaims. The other wants to cut him open and dissect him right then. The two argue like he's just a thing to be discarded. Back in the present, he gently touches one of the tubes. He should let them rest in peace. But he's suddenly interrupted by a presence. A small, fox-like creature with red eyes peeks out from behind a wall, sniffing the air. "This smell," it whispers. Dawoon is stunned. "It talks?" Nari didn't tell him about that. "Do you think it smells Nari on us?" Dawoon whisper. Gu gets defensive, claiming he washes every day. He asks the fox if it knows a mechanical creature. Its ears perk right up. "A mechanical creature. You met her?" Dawoon confirms Nari is alive and well in the demon realm. The little fox is so happy it starts crying tears of joy. So this is the best friend Nari was talking about. Dawoon asks if there are any others, and the fox calls them out. A tiny tree person and a little ant creature peek out from around the corner, looking super timid. And they're followed by, are those gopher cactuses? What even are these things? The fox confirms this is everyone. The rest were all either killed or sold. Dawoon is relieved they're all demon realm creatures. "Then you guys can all go there, right?" They all stare, completely shocked. A few minutes later, a massive explosion rips through the entire Hanbit laboratory. Chairman Lee Unsu and his grandson Baiko realize the lab was the target all along. Suddenly, Baiko spots something in the smoke. "Grandpa, over there, a poison parrot bird." But wait, it's not just a monster. There's somebody riding on its back. Up top, it's debrief time. Kiseok reports that he evacuated everyone just like Dawoon ordered. But Kiseok asks why they didn't use memory-wiping pills, but Dawoon just smiles. Suddenly, Dawoon spots the two men watching from the ground. Kiseok replies that they are Hunter Association President Lee Unsu and his grandson. Dawoon racks his brain. Lee Unsu. Where has he heard that name before? And then it clicks. Without saying a word, he hurls the glowing orb downwards. Kiseok starts screaming. Big bro, what are you doing? The orb rockets towards the president, and he catches it. Baiko stares at the orb in awe. The president recognizes it instantly. This is a mana sealing technique. Just then, his men report in. No casualties, but the researchers are saying Director Myungdu was a chimera. And get this, the attacker was the one who saved them from the fire. The president is stunned. Could that child still be alive? As they fly off, Kiseok is thrilled they're heading back to the slums. He asks if he's finally meeting the person who can fix his, problem. Dawoon says dealing with the Hunter Association would just be a pain. Kiseok nervously asks what the new plan is. Later that night, the alchemist on duty in the slums is startled awake by a loud bang at the door. He groggily opens it, wondering who could possibly be here at this hour. It's Kiseok's terrifying masked face, pressed right against the opening. The alchemist lets out a blood-curdling scream. Manager Kim scrambles backwards, yelling about a thief breaking in. Kisa tells him to chill out, but then the manager spots Dawoon and freaks out even more. What are you two doing here so late? Dawoon just gives him a friendly smile, holding up a giant horned demon skull. Oh, it's nothing much. You're just coming with me to the demon realm, right now. Meanwhile, while Dawoon is off kidnapping alchemists, Yubiom is working on a little arts and crafts project. He takes a polished glowstone, fits it into the quartz, and boom, a brilliant makeshift lamp. Neri is absolutely mesmerized by the light, and even Gia has to admit that's a pretty genius idea. As they wonder how many they'll need, a glowing blue gate suddenly rips open right in front of them. But it's not Dawoon coming through. Instead, a whole pile of tiny, cute chimeras tumbles right out. They're wondering if Dawoon sent them. They look incredibly weak. Nari suddenly vanishes. What's up with this kid? But hold up, something's brewing here. Sasa, the little snake chick, jumps in front of the newcomers. It's a battle for supremacy, folks. Sasa is establishing the pecking order. Sasa gives the little sapling a threatening but cute growl, but it totally ignores the chick and walks past her. Looks like the little tree chimera is more interested in the fertile garden. Unfortunately for the newcomer, this garden already has owners. The 5 mandragoras erupt from the dirt, looking way bigger and way more intimidating than before. They are not happy. Just then, Dawoon, Kiseok, and Manager Kim finally arrive. Manager Kim is completely stunned. He literally cannot believe they built an actual house in the demon realm. Dawoon spots Nari standing all by herself, away from the others, and tells his crew, wait here and don't move. He heads over to Yubiom and Gia and hands over a skull mask. Gia explains the situation. The sapling wants the garden and the mandragoras are not sharing. Both sides are locked in a super tense standoff, and neither one is willing to back down. Suddenly, a tiny ant chimera joins the battle, leaping right towards the sapling. But it's a team up. The sapling starts spinning the ant and launches it like a shot put. It's headed right for the mandragoras. But suddenly, there's a silver blur. It's the chimera mandragora, and it quickly bonks the ant away. One hit KO. The mandragoras strike a victory pose over their dizzy opponent. Everyone has to agree the mandragoras' teamwork is getting seriously good. The newcomers put up a decent fight, though. The little sapling retrieves its fallen comrade and leads the squad away from the garden. With that turf war over, Dawoon realizes there's still one problem left. Nari and the little fox. The fox sniffs the air, its ears twitching as it catches a scent it recognizes. It locks eyes with Nari, who's hiding behind a tree. There's no mistaking it. It's you, mechanical creature. Tears well up in Nari's eyes. The fox apologizes, saying she'll wait right there until the Nari forgives her. And we get a flashback. In a lab, some researchers were complaining about Nari, who kept losing its battles. The problem wasn't a lack of skill, but its personality. It was a kind soul that just took the beatings when others ganged up on it. The lead researcher had a sinister solution. If personality was the issue, then they would just remodel it. Their twisted experiment: give the robot weak roommates and let them become friends. Then, once that trust was built, they ordered the roommate to betray it. The fox was forced to viciously attack its new friend. The researcher's voice echoes, there is no experience as painful as being betrayed by a trusted friend. They tried to teach it to kill or be killed, but the robot, its eyes now glowing red, had other ideas. To avoid hurting her friends, Nari figured that the only way to protect them was to leave. So she blasts her way straight out of the facility. Back in the present, the little fox finally understands everything. Looking up at the crying robot we now know as Nari. Tears stream down the fox's face too as it leaps into Nari's arms, crying out, I missed you. They hold each other in a tearful hug, finally reunited. Nari promises, never again, I'll never leave you again. Meanwhile, Dawoon and the others watch the tearful reunion secretly. They head back, relieved to see the two friends made up so quickly. Meanwhile, Kiseok and Manager Kim have been standing frozen stiff because Dawoon told them not to move. Yubiom and Gia are totally confused by the new guy in pajamas. Dawoon proudly introduces Manager Kim as the A-class alchemist who is here to remove their spells. A flustered Manager Kim introduces himself, but he has a rather unique request. He timidly asks Yubiom if he could possibly pluck a few of his feathers. The A-class alchemist, still in his jammies, sheepishly asks if it would be a problem. Yubiom stammers that it's fine, he's just super embarrassed. Meanwhile, back in the city, Bongsu is telling a shopkeeper all about the giant blue monster bird. She totally missed it. She notices he looks cold and offers him a warm snack to heat him up. And it's not just any snack. It's a perfectly roasted sweet potato with aged kimchi, the ultimate comfort food. Bongsu eagerly blows on the potato, getting ready to absolutely demolish it. He takes a massive bite, his cheeks puffed out with steamy, delicious potato. He asks if he's the only one eating, but she just smiles, saying she already ate. She can tell something's off and checks his forehead for a fever. He just brushes it off as a tough workout. But she's not buying it. A fever and body aches for 10 days? That sounds exactly like Hunter pre-awakening symptoms. She asks if he's 17, noting that's the perfect age for an awakening to hit. Bongsu scoffs, thinking there's no way, but she shuts that down immediately. His background doesn't mean a thing. As he's telling her not to get her hopes up, she suddenly shoves a thick wad of cash right into his hands. He looks down, stunned. It's a huge stack of 50,000 won bills. She tells him to use it for bus fare and get to the Hunter Association in Silver City to get tested, period. Looking at an old photo of her younger bro, she tells him you never know. He might just become a great hunter. Totally touched by her kindness, Bongsu thanks her, calling her ma'am. Oh, that was the wrong move. She absolutely explodes, yelling that she is not a ma'am. He just keeps teasing her anyway. Back in the demon realm, Jia is sitting under the moonlight, carefully polishing their brand new glowstone fence. And look at this. Nari's little chimera buddies are all pitching in, wiping down their own glowing posts. Even the little green-backed weasels are on guard duty, protecting their post. Everyone's got a job. Yubiom slams another post into the ground, grunting that since they're chimeras, they never get tired. He glances over at Kiseok, who is absolutely struggling and wonders why this guy is even still here. Kiseok screams back that he's just helping out, not training, so just leave him alone. Dawoon steps in, telling Kiseok to hold on. Manager Kim needs to focus on treating Blue's feathers. Instantly, Kiseok flashes a huge smile and a thumbs up, declaring that this right here is the spirit of youth. Dawoon then turns to the young chimeras and lays down the law. If they want to live here, they gotta pull their weight. And they are all for it. They cheer in agreement, totally ready to help out. Yubiom watches with a smile, glad that everyone has a role, but he's still worried about how Dawoon is really holding up. Later, Dawoon and Nari walk together, carrying the last of the glowstones to finish the fence. He asks if she made up with her friends, and she instantly freezes into a block of ice, stammering out a yes. She nervously asks if he really went to the Coconut Tribe's village. Dawoon gets it. She's scared he knows her secret, just as she tries to confess that she's not from the tribe. But Dawoon cuts her off. Kim Nari, no one will come looking for you anymore. Standing in the beautiful glow of the new fence, he says he's taken care of everything. Then he drops an idea on her. What if we become the Coconut Tribe? He explains that their family is getting bigger and they need a name. So why not call themselves the Coconut Tribe? Tears just stream down Nari's face. She's completely overwhelmed with emotion. She thanks him from the bottom of her heart. He just smiles and says it's time to head back. Oh, the feels. Nari sprints ahead, joyfully shouting to everyone that from now on they are the Coconut Tribe. Yubiom smiles, glad their talk went well. Meanwhile, a completely exhausted Kiseok greets Dawoon. With the fence finally installed, their home looks more beautiful and secure than ever before. The little fox immediately tackles Nari, playfully scolding her for running off without telling anyone. Dawoon just watches them wrestle, thinking that's just how kids grow up. But suddenly, he senses something coming from above. It's Blue. The massive poison parrot rock descends from the night sky like a legend. Blue lands and immediately nuzzles Dawoon like a giant feathery puppy. Dawoon just laughs, realizing this monster is just a big kid. Then he sees it, and it's incredible. Blue's tail feathers are completely healed and sparkling with power. Manager Kim walks over, explaining that Blue flew off the second the treatment was done. The regeneration was insanely fast. So what was the secret? He used the red moss Dawoon gave him, a top-tier ingredient that's even more potent with an alchemist's touch. Kiseok is completely floored, saying that having an A-class alchemist is basically a cheat code. Seeing his opening, Kiseok quietly slides up to the alchemist. He whispers, asking if Manager Kim happens to be interested in hair loss. Manager Kim is shocked he knew. Kiseok's jaw hits the floor. It turns out Manager Kim has been secretly developing a hair loss remedy for the last decade. Manager Kim smiles, promising to gift him the cure when it's done. Overjoyed, Kiseok bows deep, pledging his undying loyalty. Then Manager Kim drops another bomb. He's already examined the curse on Jia and Yubiom. He explains that the ancient magic circle binding them is incredibly complex. It can't just be broken easily. However, he thinks he might have a solution if he could get his hands on a lot of mandragora fruit. Dawoon overhears this. You mean that red fruit? Manager Kim can't believe he knows about it. Dawoon just casually mentions he's eaten tons of them, and his own mandragoras will be bearing fruit soon. It finally clicks for Manager Kim. He's so shocked to see a whole mandragora garden, he didn't even notice it before. Dawoon explains that mandragoras refine the energy they absorb into fruit, creating a source of pure power. But there's a huge catch. If you pick the fruit by force, it becomes a deadly poison. It has to be given willingly. Dawoon adds that they should put some rocks in the garden. Mandragoras love to hide in them when they're about to bear fruit. Manager Kim frantically starts taking notes, completely blown away by Dawoon's expert knowledge. Dawoon just smirks, revealing he has a special connection with mandragoras that goes way back. It's flashback time. A younger Dawoon, test subject number 17, is sent on a solo mission into the demon realm. He found the 10-day mission to be a total cakewalk, so he decided to climb to the summit just for fun. And that's when he heard it. A strange slurping sound cutting through the darkness. Dawoon freezes in his tracks. He tries to find where the sound is coming from. He pushes through the brush and finds a mandragora lying in the snow looking like they've been attacked. He tries to touch it, but the little guy is feisty and starts hitting him with tiny little punches. But now, all that energy is gone. It's clearly on its last legs, about to totally collapse. Dawoon's brain short-circuits. Is he feeling sorry for this thing? For a monster? Unheard of. Against his better judgment, he kneels down and offers it a little sip of his mana. That shot of pure energy is like a tranquilizer. The little guy immediately passes out, fast asleep. So that night, he treks through the woods with his new little buddy tucked into a pocket. He's leading Dawoon to a cave to hunker down in for the night. Inside by the fire, he sees the little creature is back to its old self, zipping around happily. As Dawoon takes a drink, he gets hit with the saddest, most powerful puppy dog eyes you've ever seen. He figures it must be thirsty and pours out some water. You'd think he'd just given it $1 million. He tells it to stop shaking, but it looks less like shivering and more like an ecstatic, happy dance. Suddenly, it rushes into a crack in the rock and a brilliant blue light erupts. A few seconds later, the mandragora comes out holding some tiny red fruit. The little guy proudly offers it to him as thanks. Now, eating fruit from a monster is usually a bad idea, but since he's poison-resistant, he goes for it. And bam! A total flavor explosion. We're talking sweet, fragrant, and unbelievably refreshing. But it's not just tasty. He feels a massive wave of mana surge right into his core. Before he can even figure out what's happening, the creature starts vibrating and pops out a whole bunch of fruit. Then 5, then 6, it turns into a living fruit factory, just trying to give him everything it has. He realizes it's trying to repay him, but the poor thing looks like it's about to pass out again. He gently tells it to stop. It's okay, little guy. I'm full. Then it eats a fruit itself, and Dawoon has a light bulb moment. The fruits are its life force. He feels a stab of guilt. He's been eating its nourishment. The exhausted creature just curls up on his lap and falls asleep. For the first time in a while, Dawoon smiles. Maybe this mission won't be so boring after all. But of course, that high-level mana fruit is basically a dinner bell for every monster in the area. He gently moves the sleeping creature. Then his arm transforms into a monstrous claw. Time to go to work. The next day, the forest is littered with monster bodies. His little buddy just chills on his shoulder. He sits down on a log and shares some of his mana with his new friend. Both of them look completely content. But watching the sun rise, Dawoon knows his time is up. He's on a 10-day timer set by the lab. The little creature looks sad, and Dawoon finally understands why he felt bad for it in the first place. Seeing it abandoned in the snow reminded him of himself. A painful memory he tried to forget. He has to return. If he doesn't, the lab spell will literally kill him. He has no choice. But he can't take it with him. In the human world, it would just become another experiment, just like him. So he does the next best thing. He seals the cave entrance with super strong caterpillar silk to keep it safe. And for when it's on the move, he gives it a little something to keep with it for protection. He ties a small woven band around its body. The little creature looks down and beams with joy. I'm leaving now. The creature's face falls. It finally gets that he's serious and sprints after him. But it's too late. It trips and faceplants as Dawoon steps through a portal and vanishes. His last words hang in the air. Sorry I couldn't protect you. Left all alone, the creature wails. Kisok and Manager Kim are literally in tears. They demand to know what happened next. So Dawoon continues. He says he went back 2 weeks later, but the cave was gone, completely buried by a massive landslide. He searched everywhere, but there was no sign of the little guy. The regret on his face is real. He tries to play it cool, saying it was probably eaten. He had to move on. Nothing he could do. But Jaya points out that the silk thread is insanely strong. The little guy might have survived, Ubiome agrees. Dawoon decides he'll go back in a day or two to check. He admits it would be nice if it was still alive. Meanwhile, on that same snowy mountain, a massive army of mandragoras is marching through the blizzard. And who is leading this tiny but fierce army? It's the little Mandragora, all grown up and wearing that band like a general's medal. So while our little general is leading a revolution, what's Dawoon doing? He's back at his cabin showing off his Mandragora garden to manager Kim, who is absolutely losing his mind. Kim is just gushing, saying Dawoon must really love them. But our boy is just thinking about the one he left behind, convinced it's totally dead. Oh, you have no idea, my friend. Being a fellow Mandragora stan, manager Kim asks if he can bless the little guys with some of his mana. Dawoon's like, sure, go for it. But he gives him a little warning. His kids are a bit different. Of course, that just makes Kim even more excited. Famous last words, buddy. He kneels down to feed them. But Dawoon wonders if he can handle it, even if he is manager Kim. Turns out the true ability of a healthy Mandragora isn't just being cute, it's being a living, breathing mana vacuum cleaner. And just like that, the adorable little plants go full Kirby mode, sucking every last drop of mana right out of the poor guy. See, they're used to Dawoon's all-you-can-eat mana buffet. This is like going from a 5-star meal to a sad gas station hot dog. Manager Kim can only let out a blood-curdling scream as he gets completely drained. He collapses, looking like a deflated balloon. Or maybe a human raisin. You pick. Kisok immediately rushes over, screaming that the A-class alchemist is dead, total panic mode. But Kim just weakly whispers, I'm not gonna die. Gia declares it a total victory for the Mandragoras. But Nari points out that the winners are, throwing up. And yep, they all look disgusted, spewing green gunk everywhere. Guess manager Kim's mana tasted like regret and bad life choices. Dawoon just shrugs it off, calling them picky eaters. What a great dad. Truly. Meanwhile, in Gold City, a bunch of rich and shady people are having a very serious business meeting. The attack on Hambit Labs has really messed up their stock prices. Jessica, the CEO of Gold Auction, is furious. All her money invested in robot monsters is now totally worthless. And Violet, the vice CEO of the Red Brick Gang, wants to know what the heck they're going to do about it. Chairman Jang Gabong nervously points out that the Hunter Association president is already on the case. But Go Jung-hyuk, the president of the Free Hunter Association, just scoffs. He calls President Lee a washed-up old man with no real power. Jang Gabong slams the table, yelling that he's crossed a line, but Jung-hyuk couldn't care less. He turns to the guy at the head of the table, Assemblyman Park Woo-jung, and asks for his brilliant plan. The Assemblyman gives them a classic villain smirk, telling them not to worry their pretty little heads. He's got everything under control. He admits some strange fellow messed things up, but that's just business. He's already found them a new gold mine. And his big plan? He's located a massive Mandragora habitat on a snowy mountain. The very same one, folks. Everyone's eyes light up like it's Christmas, but they point out that even A-class hunters are scared to go there. The Assemblyman says they don't have to climb the whole thing, they just need a bunch of A-class hunters to get halfway up. They're confused, but he grins, explaining he's found a new, special, very rare transference ability user to do the heavy lifting for them. Cut to the Hunter Association, where our boy Bongsu is nervously asking to get his awakening status checked. He sheepishly introduces himself. Hef, oh Bongsu. Remember that name because things are about to get real bad for him. Next thing we know, a huge expedition of hunters is trekking up that exact same snowy mountain. A couple of them are gossiping about the special kid on their team, a rare case with an insane teleportation range. They're wondering how a newly awakened F-class like him even got permission for this mission. Turns out the leader is using an amplification ability on him. One hunter points out that it could literally kill the kid. And here's the messed up part. They're also using a puppeteer ability. The kid is being hypnotized and forced to do this against his will. But it's okay, he's just a kid from the slums. No one cares if he dies. Finally, the expedition leader calls a halt, saying they're in range. It's showtime. He gives the order, and the puppeteer places a hand on Bongsu's shoulder to get things started. Green energy crackles around Bongsu as the hunters watch, waiting to see if their cruel plan pays off. Bongsu lets out a scream and unleashes a massive wave of power from his hand. The blast of energy shoots up the mountain at an impossible speed, instantly finding the Mandragora habitat. And just like that, the beam acts like a portal, teleporting the entire team into Mandragora territory. Poof! The hunters are stunned by the sheer power, but the strain is way too much for poor Bongsu, who collapses bleeding from his face. With the prize right there, the leader yells, "First come, first served," and throws out glowing capture nets. Success! The nets land perfectly, trapping a huge chunk of the little creatures. The leader orders his men to secure their loot. They think they've already won. But wait, one Mandragora, wearing a very familiar woven band, hops onto a rock and lets out a fierce war cry. It's him, the little General Dawoon saved, and he did not come alone. The hunters are completely confused as the entire army, led by their tiny king, charges straight for the net. They start eating the net? No, the leader realizes in horror they're absorbing the mana right out of it. One of the hunters, a massive dude who clearly skipped leg day, scoffs at the mana users and charges in. He proudly declares that since he's a physical type, their mana-sucking trick is totally useless against him. The little Mandragora general just stares him down, completely unfazed by the charging mountain of muscle. The hunter raises his giant sword, sneering that he'll just beat the valuable little monster until it can't move. But just as he swings, a calm voice pops up out of nowhere, calling his weapon ugly. It's Dawoon, and he's here to save the day. He appears in a flash and shatters the huge sword with a single epic blow. Bam! The hunter's giant blade just explodes into a million pieces, leaving the entire squad completely speechless. The hunters stare in disbelief, wondering who this mystery man is. Someone from a rival guild, maybe? One of them dismisses the idea, knowing this whole operation came directly from the top brass. Dawoon has had enough of their whispering. Noisy, he mutters, unleashing a terrifying monstrous aura. And seriously, artist, what even is that thing? The sheer pressure is unbelievable, slamming every single hunter face first into the snow as they scream in agony. While this is all going down, the little Mandragora stares at their savior. Tears start to well up in the little guy's eyes. It looks at the woven band around its body. Soaring high above the chaos, Gia and Yubium are completely baffled. What in the world is a whole squad of hunters and an army of Mandragoras doing out here? But as they get closer, Yubium spots a very familiar face in the middle of it all. It's Dawoon, having a little emotional moment. He whispers, "It really is you." He recognizes the silk caterpillar thread he put around it all those years ago. Even though he was just a teenager back then, this little guy never forgot him. It wasn't just his face, it was the very signature of his mana. Talk about a deep connection. Overcome with emotion, the little general just bursts into tears of pure joy. Without a second thought, it leaps right into Dawoon's arms for a hug that's been years in the making. The little guy snuggles right into his chest, acting like a lost puppy that just found its owner. It's adorable. And that's when Dawoon realizes they have an audience. Yep, the entire Mandragora army is just standing there staring at them. Awkward. The general suddenly flies out. It then spins around, puffs out its chest, and faces its troops, basically ordering everyone around. Dawoon cracks a smile, noticing the little guy is trying to look bigger by standing on its tiptoes. He just chuckles to himself. The little dude is still good at expressing himself. Yep, some things never change. Just then Gia and Yubium finally land. "See?" Yubium says smugly. "Told you we'd find it." Yubium asks if he's taking the little general back to his garden, but Dawoon knows it's not that simple anymore. He decides to let it stay. The little general has his own family now. Turning to the groaning hunters on the ground, Dawoon figures they can just chase them off and call it a day. But then, his eyes lock onto one collapsed figure. He knows that kid. It's Bongsu. Dawoon sprints over, completely stunned. What is he doing here? Yubium is just as confused. Why would a random kid be wandering around the demon realm? Dawoon quickly explains that Bongsu guided him through the slums. He realizes the kid awakened as a hunter, and he's in really bad shape. Gia analyzes his energy, identifying him as a newbie transference user who's been hit with a dangerous amplification spell. She spots a glowing mark on his arm. Each bar is a day. At this rate, he's only got 3 days left. Dawoon gently lays Bongsu down and all the pieces click into place. His eyes flare with rage. "I get it now." He stands up and faces the hunters, his voice dangerously low. "So you kidnapped a kid who just awakened?" The hunters are frozen solid with fear. They finally realize they picked a fight with the wrong guy. A very, very wrong guy. One of them tries to cut a deal, but Dawoon isn't negotiating. He just smashes the man's face straight into the ground. Bam. Then he unleashes a massive shockwave of power, sending the rest of the hunters flying like bowling pins. He grabs the puppeteer. "You're all A-class hunters. What were you thinking dragging a 17-year-old through that gate?" Dawoon scoffs, disgusted. "You figured since he's an orphan from the slums, you could just use him and throw him away." He says what they did might technically be a crime, so it wouldn't be a problem if he just happened to do the same thing to them, would it? A little while later, after a serious beatdown, Dawoon sits quietly watching over Bongsu. He remembers when they first met, how Bongsu was wearing sandbags because he was always training to get stronger. The kid had said it himself. He wanted to be strong just like Dawoon. Back in the present, Bongsu struggles to breathe. Dawoon makes a silent promise to save him just as he senses someone arriving. They're here. And speak of the devil, Jaya flies in carrying manager Kim by his pajamas and just drops him, face first in the snow. Kim scrambles up, freaking out about Bongsu, but Dawoon cuts him off. Heal first, questions later. Manager Kim tries a healing spell, but it's no use. This is beyond healing. He's burned through too much of his own life force. He says even the best potions won't work. Dawoon quietly asks, "Life force?" Dawoon says there might be another way and starts drawing a ridiculously complex pattern in the snow. Manager Kim is floored. Is that an ancient alchemy circle? It converts mana directly into life force. But he warns that it's a forbidden technique for a reason. It requires a huge amount of mana, and if it fails, these hunters could die. "No," Dawoon says calmly. "Extract my mana? It's fine, I've done this before. My friend." That is a Chad move right there. Besides, he knows he has more than enough power to spare. He remembers the last time he saw this circle. Some shady researchers wanted to use his infinite mana to create an immortality spell. But young Dawoon, even back then, was not having any of that nonsense. He just deflected their power right back at them, blowing the entire research team straight out of the building. Still, he had to admit, the magic circle itself was a brilliant piece of work. And now, with Bongsu's life on the line, he prepares to use that forbidden knowledge for good. He tosses his shirt aside, ready to go. Shall we begin? Manager Kim gets right to it, preparing to extract Dawoon's immense mana for the ritual. He places his hands on Dawoon's back, channeling his focus. He's not just saving Bongsu, he's proving Dawoon's cursed past can be used for good. And boom, a massive pillar of pure blue energy erupts from the circle, lighting up the entire cavern. The raw mana takes physical form, and Manager Kim is absolutely losing his mind with excitement. All that's left is to transfer it to Bongsu. But of course, it can't be that easy. Suddenly, Kim is ambushed by a squad of tiny, angry Mandragoras. Yes, really. The little Mandragoras are giving it their all to protect their hero while Kim frantically tries to explain they're on the same side. Dawoon finds their loyalty touching. Suddenly, a voice starts mumbling. Looks like the life force potion has started working and Bongsu is now alive. Barely. The creepy black bars on Bongsu's arm, basically his life's countdown clock, begin to fade away one by one. Bongsu's breathing stabilizes and Kim just explodes with relief. The kid is gonna make it, mission accomplished. Dawoon watches on, thinking how ironic it is that the very same horrific alchemy used on him at TDA just saved someone's life. He cracks a small, bitter smile. Life is funny, he mutters. With the crisis averted, Manager Kim says he'll take Bongsu home to personally make sure he recovers properly. Yubium points out that a normal human can't just waltz through a demon gate, but Dawoon's like, don't worry, I got this. But then Dawoon gets serious. He reminds them that the alchemy they just used is super illegal for a very, very good reason. He explains that after he extracts mana from the hunters, he's going to have to wipe Manager Kim's memory of the entire event, for his own safety, of course. Wait, hold up. Kim does a double take. He's not worried about the memory wipe, he's stuck on what Dawoon said about the hunters. Dawoon calmly confirms their punishment. He's going to drain their mana, nerf them down from A class to D class, and just throw the power away. Both Yubiom and Kim suggest just wiping their memories instead, which seems a lot more humane, right? But Dawoon shuts that down immediately. No, he says. This time he's sending them back with every single memory intact. His reasoning? People don't change if they don't remember their mistakes. They need to live with the absolute shame of what they did. He wants the memory of their pathetic defeat burned into their brains forever. A permanent reminder not to mess with him or his people. Yubiom kinda sees the logic. Besides, they can just have Kim put a magical gag order on them so they can't spill any secrets. But as Dawoon mulls it over, he realizes stripping them of their powers and sending them home is a waste of perfectly good manual labor. He turns to the group with a wicked little grin. How about we make them build a research lab for us, right here on the mountain? He figures they can handle a few days of construction as newly minted D-class hunters. Plus, he wants to build a personal lab for Kim. Manager Kim is moved to tears. His very own state-of-the-art laboratory in the demon realm, it's a dream come true. Of course, Dawoon's real motive is pure convenience. Less travel time for his personal alchemist means more productivity. Classic CEO mindset. Dawoon tells Yubiom to go babysit the hunters while they're being drained. Yubiom agrees, then asks where Dawoon is off to. Reaching into his pocket, Dawoon carefully pulls out the tiny General Mandragora. Time to take you home, little guy, he says softly. A while later, the massive bird Blue swoops down from the sky and lands with a powerful thud. Dawoon gives the giant bird an affectionate pat on its beak, telling it to hang on for just a second. He kneels down and unzips his bag, and a whole squad of tiny Mandragoras spill out, chirping happily as they hit the snow. He watches them play with a warm smile. Doesn't matter who you are, he thinks, home is always the best. He gently takes the little general off his shoulder, but the tiny monarch just looks at him with a confused tilt of its head. Time to say goodbye, Dawoon says, explaining that a king belongs with his people. The little general looks absolutely shell-shocked. Seeing its devastated reaction, Dawoon quickly adds that he'll visit all the time since he basically lives in the demon realm now too. The Mandragora's face instantly lights up, then it turns and starts waddling away with purpose. Dawoon's just like, where are you going? The little guy turns back and gestures wildly, as if to say, what are you waiting for? Follow me, you big idiot. It leads him across the snowy plains to the mouth of a dark cave. Dawoon stops, a sense of déjà vu washing over him. This looks a lot like that old cave, he thinks, noticing that someone's been keeping the place surprisingly tidy. The Mandragora leads him to a specific crevice in the wall. This was the exact spot where it used to grow its life-saving fruit for him. It proudly shows off the spot to a surprised Dawoon. The other Mandragoras have assembled at the cave entrance, probably wondering where their king went. Just then, a wise-looking elder Mandragora with a magnificent mustache steps forward. The General Mandragora pauses for a moment. Then he slips off his sash and places it on Mustache Mandragora. Mustache is shocked. Dawoon is stunned. Did this little potato just abdicate its throne to follow him? He asks if it's really okay with this choice. The Mandragora responds with tears of pure, unadulterated joy. It's more than okay. This is what it wants. Later that night, the two sit together by a crackling fire, the former monarch snuggled up right beside its new chosen leader. Dawoon finally breaks into a genuine smile. Okay, he says. Everyone chooses where they live. Looks like he's officially got a permanent sidekick. Meanwhile, in another part of the demon realm, Bong-su starts waking up. He's completely confused. Huh? Where am I? His thought is cut short by the terrifying sight of a giant birdman staring down at him. Bong-su lets out a blood-curdling scream, scrambling backward in absolute terror. What? A monster? He stammers out. But it's not the birdman who answers. A woman in a chilling skull mask steps into view. Oh, Bong-su, right? She asks with a dark smile. Welcome to the demon realm. And with that chilling welcome, Bong-su's brain promptly short-circuits. Now he's just sitting alone in a snowy wasteland looking completely broken. Jia and Yubiom are watching from a safe distance. They figure he's in shock after nearly dying for the first time. Bong-su, meanwhile, is trying to remember how he got here. The day he found out he was an awakened, he was so pumped. He was ecstatic. Miss Park was right all along. He's got to go share the good news. But of course, a super shady hooded figure stops him in an alley. This is never a good sign, my friend. The guy flashes a creepy smile and some glowing goggles and somehow knows Bong-su is a transference user. He offers him a drink, calling it welcome tea that's good for his mana. Nothing suspicious here at all. And Bong-su, being the naive little guy he is, totally falls for it. He even calls the creep his senior. And snap, back to reality. He's beating himself up. An orphan from the slums was never meant to be a hunter. He collapses right into the snow, whispering an apology to the one person who believed in him. Man, this is rough. But wait, is that a bird? A plane? Nope, it's Dawoon on his giant bird, Blue, swooping in to save the day. And look, the little Mandragora general is riding shotgun in his pocket. The little guy is living his best life. As they land, Dawoon spots the captured A-class hunters grinding out some manual labor. The lab construction has started. Yubiom greets him as he lands, confirming their mana has been fully extracted. Yubiom explains he didn't want them getting lazy, so he put them to work preparing the construction site. Dawoon's impressed by how obedient they are, but Yubiom admits Jia had to, educate them a little. By educate, he means she sat on one guy's back and radiated pure don't mess with me energy. From their point of view, one guy is furious. 20 years as an A-class, nerfed down to D-class for a kid from the slums. Yubiom stands over a drained hunter and coldly calls out, next. One of the kneeling hunters suggests they team up now that Dawoon's gone. That was a bad idea. Bam! Jia's foot slams into his face. Team up and what? She roars, wings spread wide. Yeah, don't mess with Jia. Yubiom just complains about her temper while poor manager Kim gets splattered with blood. Jia lays down the law. She does not forgive people who mess with kids. She gives them a simple choice. Give up their mana quietly or die. Terrified, they immediately agree to cooperate. Wise choice, fellas. Back in the present, the watch at how scary Jia is. At this rate, the lab will be done soon. Dawoon agrees, trusting them to manage the project while he's gone. Manager Kim jogs over, reporting that all the hunters' mana has been taken care of. Dawoon asks about Bong-su. Kim says he's awake, but still pretty traumatized. Dawoon approaches Bong-su, who jumps up and gets all formal. But Dawoon just smiles and tells him to call him Big Bro. He notices Bong-su's hair is now partially white, but his mana capacity got a huge buff. Every cloud has a silver lining, I guess. He sits down and asks why Bong-su looks like he's about to die when he just saved him. Bong-su admits that he feels completely and utterly useless. He finally breaks down, crying about how stupid he was to get tricked and how he has no idea what to do now. Dawoon listens patiently, then calmly tells him to follow. No pep talk, just action. He leads Bong-su right to the hunter who tricked him, explaining how the guy used a puppeteer spell. Then he offers a simple choice. I can kill him for you. What do you want to do? Now that's what I call therapy. Bong-su clenches his fist, but says no. He survived, and the guy lost his power. That's enough for him. Instead of revenge, he declares he's going to get stronger so he won't be tricked again. Okay, character development unlocked. And would you look at that? A small, proud smile from our resident Chad. He tells the captured hunter that Bong-su is the one who just spared his life. Then he turns back to Bong-su and gives him his first task, mana training with Manager Kim. Then Manager Kim drops a little bombshell. That's right, Bong-su. I'm from the slums, too. Yubiom chimes in. What's wrong with the slums? I'm from the slums, too. Overwhelmed by their kindness, Bong-su just bursts into tears of gratitude and hugs Manager Kim. Dawoon watches with a satisfied smile, thinking this kid has the potential to surpass even Kiseok. Just then, Yubio notices the little Mandragora general peeking out of Dawoon's pocket. Dawoon explains that the little guy passed his monarch title to another Mandragora, so he decided to join the team. He decides to take his new little buddy back to the forest zone, leaving Yubiom in charge of construction. With a sudden burst of speed, Dawoon takes off, leaving Bongsu watching in absolute awe. Bongsu thinks about everything Dawoon has done for him, saving his life, giving him a second chance. He can't help but wonder out loud, just what kind of person is that big bro? Yubiom's answer is short, sweet, and to the point. A psycho. Ji explains it perfectly. Since Dawoon had nothing, he had nothing to lose and nothing to fear. After being used his whole life, he's just a guy who wants to build a house in the demon realm and live in peace. Speaking of which, Dawoon arrives back at the cabin, landing right near the rest of the crew. He casually asks if they've been okay, and an emotional Kisseoke just shouts, "Big bro." But Nari rushes past him, frantically asking what in the world took him so long. She drops the bombshell. Gu and Sasa are gone. Here she explains they've been gone since morning, and she couldn't find them anywhere. Kisseoke had no luck either, searching the forest and the waterfall with zero results. Even Neri and her little chimera crew came up empty-handed. Hearing this, Dawoon gets to work. He unleashes a massive wave of mana detection, scanning the entire area in an instant. The scan comes back clean, no intruders, no unfamiliar auras, nothing. Finishing his scan, he turns to Kisseoke and asks if anything unusual happened. Kisseoke reluctantly admits that Sasa picked another fight with the Mandragoras and lost again. This makes it 4 losses in a row. Bro is just not learning his lesson. He even lost to a tiny sapling. Nari adds that Sasa has also been sleeping every chance it gets. Dawoon puts the pieces together. Don't tell me it's not already starting to molt, is it? Let's rewind a few hours. Gu is flying through the forest when it hears a familiar sound. It's Sasa sneaking up on something. And its target? The youngest Mandragora, who is taking a nap. Sasa lunges with a mighty peep, but it's about to get a rude awakening. Turns out, the little Mandragora wasn't alone. The rest of the squad pops up. Gu knows this is a bad idea. These guys are way too strong for Sasa. With a single devastating blow, the Mandragora sends Sasa flying. Defeated and crying, Sasa is approached by Gu, who offers it a flower. Gu scolds Sasa for picking the fight, then gives it a special flower packed with demonic energy. Sasa eats it and is immediately overjoyed, its mood doing a complete 180. As Gu reflects on this, it suddenly notices something strange about Sasa's skin. It's peeling. Gu realizes with a shock that Sasa is about to molt. Bro said new skin dropping soon. Now folks, molting is a big deal. It's as difficult as hatching, and if the conditions aren't perfect, the monster can die. Even worse, no one can help directly, because any outside interference could cause horrible mutations. Gu knows the molting will start soon. It has to find a safe place, and fast. Meanwhile, Kisseoke finishes his chores only to find the entire camp deserted. Back in the forest, Gu is in a full-blown panic, needing to find a warm, humid place immediately. Exhausted and unable to explain the situation to anyone, Gu wishes Dawoon would just get back already. With no other choice, Gu decides to take matters into its own hands. I'll have to take you myself. Gu flies with Sasa to a secluded cave. Back in the present, it's sweating just remembering the journey. It recalls nearly dying multiple times just to get Sasa here safely. But just as they find a good spot, their relief is cut short by a terrifying shriek. A huge swarm of demonic bats descends upon them, their red eyes glowing in the darkness. Terrified, Gu bravely shields Sasa, screaming, "I'll protect you." Suddenly, a blinding flash of blue light obliterates the entire swarm. As the smoke clears, a familiar silhouette appears. It's Dawoon. So you were here after all. Gu is completely shocked. How did you know to come here? Dawoon calmly explains he used mana detection since he knows their auras. Tracking them was easy. He confirms Gu's suspicion. Sasa is definitely trying to molt. Now that it's safe, he asks Sasa if it wants to find a good spot. The little guy happily agrees. Dawoon finds a suitable place but notes that it's a little chilly, so he just places a hand on the ground and heats it up, creating the perfect warm climate. Apparently, this isn't normal molting. It's a type of rapid evolution. The demon realm is all about survival. After getting wrecked over and over, Sasa's instincts kicked in. It must have realized it was too weak, triggering a forced evolution to get stronger. It's survival of the fittest out here. Does this mean Sasa will get stronger? Gu thinks so, but since Sasa is a rare species, he has no idea what it will become. Suddenly, a brilliant flash of light erupts from where Sasa was. Gu stares in disbelief at what emerges from the light. Is that a flower? Even Dawoon is taken aback, watching this bizarre transformation. The light fades, revealing Sasa's new form. An adorable chick lizard creature with a flower on its head. So cute. Dawoon is just baffled, but decides to head home and figure this transformation out later. The second they get back, Nari comes charging out, absolutely furious. She lays into Gu for wandering off without telling anyone where he was going. Is Sasa really okay? A concerned Kisuk asks Do-woon, but our guy just replies with a, "We'll see." The little evolution tuckered Sasa right out, and it's fast asleep. Kisuk, ever the mom friend, plans to make it baby food. Suddenly, Do-woon hears his little plant babies crying out for attention. Realizing he's been neglecting them, he kneels down and gives them a little mana boost to cheer them up. He tells them they're getting a new family member, revealing the Mandragora general from his pocket. Bro really said meet your new sibling. Thankfully, the rest of the little guys are thrilled to welcome their new leader. Do-woon was worried they'd fight over being in charge, but their bond seems strong. He presents the general to its new garden. The youngest one is practically vibrating with excitement. But the general does not look impressed. Instead of joining the squad, the tiny general scrambles right back onto Do-woon's arm. It snuggles right up, completely attached. Looks like Do-woon's gonna need a baby carrier for this one. Nari and Kisuk wander over, so Do-woon explains this is the same Mandragora he met on that snowy mountain years ago. Kisuk is amazed by their fated reunion. Nari points out that the little guy is acting like a baby. She says he has to take care of it and give it pat-pats. Do-woon has absolutely zero idea what she's talking about. To demonstrate, she grabs a very surprised Gu and starts gently patting him. While Gu screams bloody murder, Do-woon just smiles. He kinda likes the sound of pat-pat. He decides to name his new little companion Dodak, which is the Korean word for pat-pat. Just then, a figure descends from the sky. It's Jia. Neri happily greets her sparrow aunt. Decked out in full battle gear, Jia asks if the research is done. Kisuk is totally starstruck. He stumbles through a greeting and she just casually calls him Cook. My man is down bad, immediately blushing. With renewed purpose, Kisuk vows to get his cooking license and become her exclusive chef. A man with priorities. Jia cuts in, announcing the lab is finished and she's here for pickup. Nari and Kisuk are immediately bouncing off the walls with excitement to see it, but Do-woon pumps the brakes. Sasa just molted, so he suggests they head over tomorrow instead. With the plan set, Kisuk gets fired up for dinner duty while Nari rushes off to pack. Later that night, Jia keeps watch from a high branch overlooking the quiet house. Her sharp eyes catch a little bit of movement down in the garden. It's Sasa creeping up on the Mandragoras. The flower on its head flashes brightly as it faces one of the little guys. But wait! Sasa senses something happening. One of the Mandragoras lifts Sasa with both of its little arms. Meanwhile, the other guys have finished digging the hole. The little dude settles Sasa into its new dirt bed, completely surrounded by its new plant buddies. Sasa calmly stays put, its eyes glowing with a dangerous red glint. It desperately tries to break free and crawl out of the hole, its eyes frantic. It tries to move, but nope, completely stuck. The poor thing is so terrified. Neri finds it like this and asks the million-dollar question. Uncle, why did Sasa become a flower pot? Do-woon figures it's just trying to disguise itself to get closer to the Mandragoras. And hey, they planted it pretty well. While Gu yells at it for eating its flower, Do-woon decides it's had enough trauma for one night and brings it inside. The next morning, the crew arrives at the snowy mountain and the gang are completely blown away. Before them stands a massive multi-story wooden lodge. This is so cool, Nari beams. Yubam smugly boasts that he and Jia are basically pro-builders now. Even Do-woon has to admit it's impressive. With the lab done, he can finally break the spells on those siblings and put them to work. Just then, Manager Kim shows up, huffing and puffing, with supplies from the human world. He reports that Bongsu is recovering fast and has already started his mana training. Good. With that handled, Do-woon turns his attention to the captured A-rank hunters. He tells Manager Kim to cast a gag order spell on them and that he'll handle the rest. Kisuk questions this, pointing out that an old-style spell like that is pretty easy to break. Do-woon flares his mana. Don't worry, I'll make it completely impossible to break. Elsewhere, a powerful politician is losing his mind with the president of the Hunter Association. Park Woo-jung is furious that dozens of A-rank hunters came back as D-ranks, and they can't even undo a simple gag spell. President Go looks grim. He says this is just like a famous incident from 57 years ago. Apparently, someone used mana to seal the spell itself, making it completely unbreakable. The technique is old school, and all signs point to President Lee Won-soo. Word is he even recognized the attacker. The assemblyman scoffs at the old era theory, but he sees an opportunity here to finally get rid of his rival, Lee Won-soo. Looks like it's time to move up the schedule for his mysterious slum cleaning project. With a sinister grin, Woo-jung declares they'll start sooner than planned. Nothing good comes from a guy like that, folks. Meanwhile, back on the mountain, Dodak is not having a good time. The dude shivers, muttering about how much he hates the cold. Poor little guy. While Dodak is freezing his little root off, it's a much more peaceful snow day for the rest of the gang. Meanwhile, the laws are laid down for some demoted hunters. A final warning still echoes in their minds. Never mess with kids again. Kisuk's brain completely short-circuits. Sealing a spell with mana? He's never even heard of such a thing. Then a 50-year-old memory clicks. It's from the legendary gag spell incident. He remembers reading about some alchemist who got busted for illegal chimera research. The guy had a gag spell sealed with pure mana, so he couldn't snitch on his research institute. Not even a team of S-class awakeners could break it. The association just gave up and called it a gate anomaly. Kisok realizes Dawoon's technique is a dead ringer for that legendary spell. Meanwhile, Yubam is busy snacking. With a terrifying aura, Jia growls, "Did you just eat my snack?" As Yubam flees for his life from his snack-crazed sister, Kisok connects the dots. If Do-woon has been friends with these two lunatics since they were kids, he must be a hunter from the old era. Kisok can't even begin to imagine what kind of life Do-woon must have lived. And yet, after everything, he was taken in by this incredible person. Kisok is moved to tears. He dramatically vows his eternal loyalty. Do-woon just deadpans. Want to go to the cave region? Nari's going. Kisok is floored. The cave region is one of the 3 most dangerous zones in the entire demon realm. Do-woon calmly explains they need to prep for winter because the snow in this forest is bad news. The snow here is known as the Quiet Invader, a friendly name for something terrifying. It looks normal, but it's highly corrosive. It literally melts any plant life it touches. Every winter, the entire forest dissolves into nothing, only to regrow at insane speeds in the spring. Nari and Kiso completely freak out. So their brand new house is going to collapse? Bro, the paint isn't even dry yet. Manager Kim laughs, telling them not to worry. The house will be fine. Apparently, there is a mushroom in the cave region that stops corrosion. They just need a special lime green glowing mushroom to coat the walls. A fluorescent lime green house. The thought is so ugly, it gives Kiseok a spontaneous nosebleed. Do-woon just teases him for his perfect timing on dangerous trips. Kisok can only wail about how unfair it is. Changing the subject, Do-woon tells Kisok to go rest and shows Manager Kim a pot. Inside, 2 mandragoras are looking rough. Do-woon notes they're in bad shape. Manager Kim agrees their recovery is slow. He suggests taking them to the lab for a full checkup. Manager Kim then pulls out a little gift for Do-woon. It's a homemade moisturizing cream. It's so gentle, it's safe for Nari and even plants. Since the cave region is extremely dry, this will come in handy. Always thinking ahead, he accepts it with a smile just as Dodak pops out of his pocket for a look. Dodak eyes the strange new jar with curiosity. With that settled, it's time to go. Nari cheers, ready for some cave exploration. But just as they're about to leave, there's a rustle in the bushes. Of course, it's Jia and Yubam. The others groan. Oh no, not these two. Turns out they're just heading home to check on their territory. And with that, they take to the skies on blue. Nari asks where they're going. Do-woon just says east, and that they'll be there soon. She's confused, thinking caves are supposed to be damp. Do-woon clarifies that this place is a little different. They land at the entrance of a massive arid canyon system. So this is the cave region. It looks more like a desert canyon than a cave. Do-woon looks on with a confident smile. Ready to go inside? Nari thinks it looks pretty empty. Do-woon explains that while the entrance is safe, the real danger is deeper inside. Bro really said the horrors are further in. The main problem is that it's an endless maze. It's incredibly easy to get lost forever. Nari suggests just climbing out. Do-woon agrees that's the best method, if you can actually climb. The stone pillars here are 50 meters tall and way more slippery than they look. On top of that, your powers are nerfed to only 10% of their strength here. Oh, and sometimes, people just disappear. Disappearances? Nari understandably freaks out. She stamps her foot, asking if they can just smash their way out. Do-woon grins. Want to try? Leave it to me, Nari yells, winding up for a massive punch. But her punch sinks into the rock with a soft thud, doing absolutely nothing. She looks defeated. I think I got a lot weaker. Do-woon explains the rock here just absorbs all impact. Nari finds this fascinating. Apparently, any normal stone will change if you leave it here long enough. Do-woon looks into the depths, realizing he's never actually explored this place before. Nari asks if he's been here before. He smiles faintly. Yeah. A long time ago. And cue the flashback. A younger Do-woon, known as Subject 17, gets his orders from a researcher. His mission? Go to the cave region and find Kim Il-hwan, his former dedicated researcher. The lab suspects Il-hwan is selling their secrets. They need Do-woon to handle him before the association finds out. The order is to eliminate him. Do-woon finds the researcher in the cave, looking like he's lost his mind. Il-hwan looks up. He recognizes Subject 17 immediately. He knew they'd send him. Do-woon stands over him, completely impassive. Any last words? Il-hwan desperately explains his wife has a terrible disease. He just found the last ingredient for her cure. He begs to be let go, but Do-woon reminds him he can only follow orders and spells. Suddenly, the researcher's eyes widen. He knows orders don't work on Do-woon. He was his dedicated researcher after all. Realizing his mistake, Il-hwan throws himself on the ground, begging for his life. Just pretend you didn't see me. He pleads for Do-woon to just wait until he finishes the medicine. He doesn't care what happens after that. Please just let me save my wife, the poor guy pleads. But Do-woon finds this very strange. He's seen this exact man watch horrific experiments on children without a shred of remorse. So Do-woon asks him a simple question. Why is it okay for them to die, but your wife has to live? The researcher screams, his face twisted with rage and desperation. Because she's my family. Family? The word is completely alien to the young weapon. The researcher pleads one last time. If you ever have a family, you'll understand how I feel. But before Do-woon can process this new word, monstrous shapes emerge from the darkness. A massive, insect-like monster with glowing yellow eyes looms over them, ready to attack. The researcher screams at the young Do-woon, trying to warn him about the giant monster. But Do-woon isn't looking at the monster. He's staring at the researcher, baffled by this alien concept of family. As the monster looms, Do-woon is lost in a memory of that same researcher, Kim Il-hwan, groveling on the ground. Without saying a word, Do-woon just snatches the guy's bag. Inside, he finds a tiny, crying monster and asks, "So this is its baby. Is this also an ingredient to save your wife?" The researcher swears he just found it by chance when the mother wasn't looking. He was going to sell it on the black market, but it's too late. Do-woon already let the baby go. And just like that, the mother and the baby are reunited. Do-woon calmly states the obvious. The mother came looking for her baby. The researcher screams that it's just a monster, but Do-woon hits him with an Uno reverse card. "Didn't you just say family was special? How are you any different from that thing?" he asks, his voice like ice. "Maybe it's even better than you. At least it managed to save its family." "I thought the weak always dies," he says. "Guess even the weak can live if someone helps them." Oof. Deciding to spare him, Do-woon turns to leave. The researcher completely panics, begging him to stay. He screams for Subject 17 to come back and save him from the giant monster. He promises he'll do anything, but Do-woon just stops and listens, saying nothing at all. Back in the present, Nari asks if the bad guy died. Do-woon, giving her the PG version, says no, he saved him. He forced the man to confess everything to his family and then turn himself in. He even placed a seal so he couldn't snitch. Do-woon wonders what that family must have thought when they heard the truth. Nari points out that the little mandragora seems worried about him. She says his expression got really dark, and she wanted to comfort him too. Do-woon is a little surprised by their concern, calling them random, but he lets out a small smile. He has to admit the feeling isn't bad. Just then, Neri gasps. She's found a whole patch of glowing green mushrooms. "I think we found it." She geeks out over the mushrooms, and Do-woon notes they found them way faster than expected. Nari points out that mushrooms usually grow in damp places. Do-woon praises her quick wit, but reminds her this cave is special. The rocks here don't just stay dry. They actively suck all the moisture out of the air. But every now and then, a pocket of humidity forms, and the mushrooms bloom to take advantage of it. With that, Do-woon says it's time to start harvesting. Nari cheers, "Leave it to me." In no time at all, their bag is completely full of glowing mushrooms. Nari declares that they're mushroom-rich. Do-woon agrees this should be plenty. But Nari suddenly gasps, looking at the mandragora in Do-woon's pocket. "Is this little guy sick? It's all shriveled up." Do-woon realizes it's way too dry for him here. Suddenly, he remembers the moisturizing cream manager Kim gave him. He sits down and gently starts rubbing the cream onto the tiny creature. And just like that, it plumps right back up, looking happy and healthy. Nari is amazed. "Wow, this stuff works great. It got all plump and moist right away." Do-woon figures that's enough for now. But the little guy clearly disagrees. It starts vibrating like crazy, basically demanding more cream. When Do-woon doesn't give in, it throws a full-on tantrum, huffing indignantly. Then it dives headfirst right into the jar of cream. Nari completely panics. Do-woon just laughs, surprised it loves the stuff so much. He promises to get manager Kim to make more. Nari asks if it has a name. Do-woon suggests Dodak, which means pat-pat. She absolutely loves it. Finally satisfied, little Dodak falls fast asleep after using up half the jar of cream. I'm telling you, this dude will be waking up tomorrow with glass skin. With their mission done, Do-woon says it's time to head back. Nari wonders how they'll get out of the maze. "Don't worry," he says, stomping his foot. "I left mana footprints on our way in." A trail of glowing footprints lights up their path through the dark cavern. Nari is amazed and asks why he doesn't get weaker here. Do-woon just shrugs, saying he doesn't feel any different. Nari thinks the cave is fascinating, speculating that something is deliberately trying to keep people out. Do-woon agrees. He knows he'll have to come back here better prepared next time. Meanwhile, back in the human world, our boy Kiseok is busy meditating. He's shocked that Do-woon's training suit purified his demonic energy in just a day and a half. He happily packs some boxes, wondering if everyone has been eating well without him. He's even bringing camping lanterns because he's just a thoughtful guy like that. He figures Do-woon's place is a bit creepy and could use some cute decorations to liven it up. With his gatestone in hand, he prepares to teleport back to the demon realm. His first priority, covering up that gross snail slime on the wall with a nice sunflower picture. He arrives with a cheerful, "Big brother, I'm here." But the box falls out of his hands as he's met with a horrifying sight. The entire house is covered in a dripping, corrosive goo. Nari, wearing sunglasses like a mob boss, starts ordering him around. Uncle Kisok, hurry up. We have to smear these mushrooms on the walls. He then sees Yubam and Jia, barefoot in a huge pot, stomping on the mushrooms. Kisok is losing his mind. Is this really the best they can do? Somebody needs to say something. But Do-woon just leans against the wall with a smile, clearly enjoying the chaos. Suddenly, Manager Kim comes running, shouting Do-won's name about a huge discovery. But he stops dead in his tracks when he sees the top-grade mushrooms they brought back. Do-won asks about the discovery. Manager Kim explains it started while he was examining the liquid metal mandragora. Its weakest roots just fell off on their own, like the body was shedding its useless parts. When he checked again, the mandragora part was gone, leaving only pure liquid metal. Do-woon realizes it can produce the metal on its own. Manager Kim confirms it, and even better, he got a breakthrough on that explosion dispel spell. He can't erase it, but he can combine the liquid metal with a formula to temporarily restrict its activation. Do-woon asks the only question that matters. Temporarily? For how long? Manager Kim holds up his fingers. 72 hours per week. In other words, 3 days a week. The realization hits them like a truck. For 3 days a week, they can finally safely return to the human world. The idea of going home hits Yubam so hard he just starts bawling. When Nari asks what's wrong, he brushes it off, saying he's just really happy. Do-woon then casually announces a trip to the human world for some sightseeing. Nari is totally hyped, but Manager Kim decides to stay behind and guard the house. Manager Kim tells Do-woon to go meet up with Bongsu while they're out. Jia, meanwhile, is having a full-on fashion crisis, but Yubam just tells her to take off the bone helmet first. Jia teases her brother about his own look, but Do-woon gets serious. He says it's time for a total makeover, and decides to find that clothing store Bongsu mentioned. They arrive in a grimy back alley where Do-woon meets up with Bongsu. He checks on the kid, who happily reports that he's feeling much better now. Bongsu points out Jia and Yubam, saying they look really strong. Do-won agrees, calling them handsome and beautiful. Next up are Kisok and Nari. Nari immediately starts clowning on Kisok for the weird bandana he's wearing, and he just tells her to knock it off. Walking with all of them like this, Bongsu gets a little emotional. It feels like they've actually become a real family. Do-won asks the siblings how it feels to be back after so long. Jia says it feels nice and warm, like she's finally home. But she also notices the place is way dirtier than she remembers. Bongsu explains that the city cut the budget and pulled all the cleaning staff from the slums. Suddenly, they stumble across a group of thugs towering over a woman on the ground. Bongsu recognizes her. President Park? Bongsu rushes over to help, but she desperately tells him to run. The main thug just grins, saying this could have been avoided if she'd just paid the spot fee. Bongsu tries to stand up to the guy. With his eyes glowing, he points out that this is District 12, not their territory. The thug scoffs, claiming the district is theirs now, and throws a punch. But Do-woon catches his fist with one hand and simply tells him to stop. The goon tries to pull away, but blue energy surges from Do-woon's hand. He lets out a scream and drops to the ground, clutching his wrist in agony. Do-woon looms over him with a dark aura and delivers a simple warning. Next time, it breaks. The other two goons charge in with bats to protect their boss, Baekdu. But Yubam intercepts them, and their weapons just shatter. With their weapons destroyed, the goons turn and run for it. Yubam just dusts off his hands, sighing that the neighborhood is as noisy as ever. President Park and Bongsu are completely stunned, realizing these guys are high-rank awakeners. Meanwhile, Neri and Kisok stand over the defeated Baekdu. Which family are you from? Baekdu asks. Now that you've touched me, war is inevitable. Nari then proudly introduces them as the Coconut family. A little later, they head into President Park's store. She explains she had to rebrand and start selling hunter gear and other necessities to make ends meet. She cheerfully thanks Do-won for the sales boost he gave her last time. Then she playfully scolds Bongsu for not calling, saying she was worried sick about him. She asks him the big question, did he awaken? Bongsu grins and confirms he's a teleporter. She's overjoyed and gives him a noogie. But this heartwarming moment is cut short when Jia steps out in a new outfit. Kisok and President Park are completely stunned by how beautiful she looks. Seeing Kisok flustered, she gives him a little push. Fighting. Next up, Yubam tries on an outfit and looks like a total celebrity. But he ruins the moment by teasing Jia, who instantly threatens to kill him. Do-won decides they should all get a few more outfits. Nari puts herself and Do-won in matching tropical outfits and sunglasses, which he is clearly not enjoying. When it's time to pay, President Park waves him off. She says everything is on the house as a thank you for helping her and for taking care of Bongsu. With the shopping done, Do-won says it's time to take out the trash. He turns to the kneeling thug and asks President Park about this whole spot fee business. She explains a rumor is going around that Gold City will redevelop the slums. A gang is using it as an excuse to demand protection money, but no one can afford it. Do-won finally understands why the place is so filthy, noting it's attracting flies. He turns to the bruised thug and calls him out. Baekdu, was it? He asks where their office is. When Baekdu hesitates, Do-woon's eyes glow ominously as he says he's going to do some cleaning. Meanwhile, in an office, a man named Lee Do-chul gets the news that Baekdu was taken down. His men report that it was by some crew they've never seen before. Lee Do-chul is furious. The idea that someone would mess with his space gang is unthinkable. He says he'll handle this himself. Right on cue, one of his men bursts in screaming that they're under attack. Heavy footsteps echo down the blood-soaked hallway, now littered with the bodies of the space gang. My friend, this is what we call a curb stomp battle. Standing over the carnage is Ki-suk, a cool blue aura surrounding him. A panicked voice over the phone reports on the mysterious attackers, the Coconut family. And right on cue, the boss Lee Do-chul kicks the door down. He storms in with his crew, demanding to know who's wrecking his spot. But he freezes. Standing alone amidst the wreckage is Ki-suk, looking completely unbothered by the chaos. Ki-suk starts sweating, seeing just how many gangsters are left. But Do-woon basically tells him to clean up the mess himself. He gives him just one condition. Don't use your fire powers. You might burn the whole building down. Ki-suk can't believe it. He's supposed to fight a mob of awakened thugs with his bare hands? Do-woon just shrugs. If he's serious about hitting A rank, this should be a walk in the park. And that's all the motivation our boy needs. With fire in his eyes, he screams, "I'll give it a try." Meanwhile, the rest of the crew settles in for the show. Yubam even breaks out the popcorn. The boss, Lee Do-chul, cracks his knuckles, brushing off his subordinate's warning. He's confident he can handle this. Then he finally takes a good look at the scene. Ki-suk has already taken down dozens of his men all by himself. He clenches his fists, wondering if these guys were sent by Junghaek from the Free Hunter Association. Ki-suk just scoffs. You sure talk a lot. If you're coming in, hurry up, Tin Can. Enraged by the insult, the boss lunges forward, throwing a powerful punch. But Ki-suk is way too fast for him, effortlessly weaving between a flurry of attacks. The boss can't land a single hit. Ki-suk thinks to himself that he can see everything. This is too easy. He slams the punk straight into the other side of the room, sending a massive shockwave through the entire floor. As the dust settles, Ki-suk realizes he really has gotten stronger from Do-woon's training. Jia gives him a rare compliment. Not bad, cook. Ki-suk blushes, grinning from ear to ear. He'll live off that one compliment for the next 5 years. Do-woon quickly warns him not to let his guard down because this fight is not over yet. Sure enough, the boss struggles back to his feet. He's furious that some rookie is using cheap tricks on him. He unleashes his power, gathering a swirling vortex of wind around his fist, promising to blow them all away. Ki-suk stands his ground, bracing himself against the gale force winds. He quickly sizes up his opponent. Physical enhancement plus wind-based abilities. Interesting combo. The boss goes all out, unleashing a full-blown tornado right inside the warehouse. Yubam asks if they should help, but Do-woon isn't worried at all. He'll be fine. He adds that he taught Ki-suk something special. Inside the vortex, a brilliant beam of blue light cuts through the wind. With a single decisive chop, Ki-suk dissipates the tornado and slams the boss straight into the ground. Want more? He asks. Yubam and Do-woon are impressed. He didn't just block, he integrated a mana shield into his attack. After the fight, Jia inspects the gang's confiscated weapons, and her verdict is that they're all complete trash. With both hands raised in punishment, the boss ends up looking oddly goofy. Just then, Neri walks in holding the gang's wooden office sign, announcing that she brought it down. With a quick blast of her eye-beams, she gets to work on a little redecorating. When she's done, the sign now reads Coconut in a cute, burnt-in script. Do-woon thinks it's a cute drawing. The gang boss watches in disbelief. That tiny kid isn't awakened, and she's supposed to be the weakest one. Yubam moves on to the safe, asking for the password. The boss refuses, saying he'd never tell. Yubam just sighs. Whatever, this will be faster. And he casually rips the mana-sealed safe door right off its hinges. The boss stares in shock. Inside is a literal mountain of cash. Do-woon and Yubam immediately start inspecting it. Do-woon wonders what to do with the gang. If they just let them go, they'll go right back to their old ways. President Park explained that while the gang runs a protection racket, they're protecting the slums from something much worse. She said that since the gang grew, serious crimes like human trafficking and murder have actually decreased. Sometimes, she admitted, they're even more effective than the police. Do-woon turns to the defeated boss with a question. He's heard Gold City plans to demolish the entire area soon. So how are you planning to stop that? The boss grits his teeth. With the police and politicians bought out, their only choice was to build up their own strength. He explains that Go Jung-huk, the Free Hunter Association president, came to see him personally. He offered a briefcase full of cash to cause trouble in the slums, which would speed up the redevelopment project. But he refused. Instead, he and his men started patrolling the slums themselves to maintain security. He gets on his hands and knees begging. He admits some of his guys aren't perfect, but they all love the slums. He pleads for their trust. Do-woon isn't impressed. Bull, he says, calling them out for acting high and mighty while still extorting people. He asks if there's really such a thing as a less bad gangster. The boss has no answer. Still, Do-won places a hand on the table. I'll give you a chance. He gives a confident look. Either way, you want to protect the slums, right? Then you won't mind if all this money goes toward that cause, will you? Sometime later, the gang members are now dressed in bright green sanitation uniforms, cleaning up trash in the alley. One of them complains, asking if the boss has any suction abilities. The boss angrily tells him to shut up. Still, the other man laughs, admitting that having the boss use his wind powers to gather trash is super efficient. From now on, Do-won puts the gang in charge of cleaning the slums. Change your name to Space Family, he instructs them. Oh, and also, if I drop by unannounced and the streets are dirty, you're getting hit first, Lee Do-chul, Do-won warns. As they get to work painting over graffiti, one member asks if they're really becoming cleaners, another just tells him to do what he's told. The boss watches them, thinking that while Do-won is young, he has a gut feeling that he can trust him. But cleaning is a massive success, with the whole district sparkling. They declare District 1 complete and prep for District 4. Do-won and Yubum survey the clean streets, noting the huge improvement. Yubum points out Do-won's new bag. Do-won explains it was a gift from President Park for buying so many cleaning supplies. And as it turns out, the bag is the perfect size for Do-dak, who pops out with a happy cheer. He has a home now. With the cleaning done, Do-won decides it's time to head back to base. They step through a portal back into the demon realm, where the rest of the gang is waiting to greet them. All the little creatures dogpile Nari, complaining that they took too long to come back. Do-won looks around, wondering where Manager Kim disappeared to. Gu replies that he went to check on the Snowy Mountain Research Lab. Suddenly, Yubam's stomach growls loudly. Jia points out that they haven't eaten anything all day. Kisok eagerly asks Jia if she's hungry, offering to make his specialty, soy sauce egg rice. Jia and Yubam stare blankly. The ingredients are literally just soy sauce, egg, and rice. Kisok promises they won't regret it and rushes off to cook. While he's busy, Do-won turns to Nari. Shall we go get dessert? Nari cheers, loving the idea. Nari's surprised to hear there's edible fruit in the demon realm. Do-won tells her they're going to pick some ripe red grapes. He warns her they're a little different from human grapes, just as Nari starts picking up a sweet scent on the wind. And when they arrive, Nari's mind is completely blown. The demon realm's grapevine is a tree so massive it touches the sky, but it looks like they've got company. Do-won spots a pack of wolves sniffing around the base of the tree. Nari points out someone else is here too. A guy is desperately clinging to the trunk, trying to escape the wolves snapping at his feet. He's completely terrified, praying for his grandpa to come and save him. The guy's hand is shaking, his strength is just about gone. He's tripping on hallucinogenic grapes, lost his ticket home, and is about to be wolf food. Meanwhile, up above, Do-won and Nari are on a casual fruit-picking date, totally unbothered. The poor guy, Baeko, spots Nari and his brain just short-circuits. A little girl? Here? Nah, can't be real. Nari points him out, worried he's going to fall, but Do-won just gives him a once-over. His response? He looks fine for now. Nari is blown away by the size of the tree. Do-won casually mentions it's probably over 60 years old. She asks how he knows, and then he drops a bombshell. He thinks he's the one who planted it. And cue the tragic backstory, folks. We flash back to his days as Subject 17 in a TDA lab. The researchers finish their experiment and tell him he can go. Just another day at the office. On his way out, he spots something in a trash can. It's a small pouch with a single tiny sprout growing inside. As he grabs it, a researcher sees what he's found. Demon Realm grape seeds, apparently. The scientist says they're useless junk, so Do-won asks if he can just have them. The guy agrees, mostly because everyone else is terrified of the kid who once stabbed someone named Chief Choi with a syringe. Back in the present, Do-won places his hand on the vine, feeling that old connection. He can't believe it's still alive. Then, he flexes his mana and pulls a perfect cluster of grapes out of thin air. Nari is impressed. Bigger and tastier than the ones we picked. Meanwhile, down below, poor Baeko is losing his mind. Just then, his hand finally gives out. He plummets straight down toward the hungry wolves waiting below. But before he becomes dog food, a golden thread whips around his waist, stopping his fall instantly. Do-won effortlessly yanks him up. You're Lee Won-soo's grandson, right? When you get back, tell him he owes me your life. For the second time. Sometime later, Baeko is in the field, and Sasa the snake chick is there to greet the new farmhand. His confusion only gets worse. He sees living potato creatures, a giant bird being used as a slide, and a creepy family in animal skull masks. To top it all off, he smells sesame oil and soy sauce. There's no way. He's definitely still tripping. But he's not. He sees Kiseok in full chef cosplay, presenting his latest creation. He dramatically announces the dish: fire-grilled eggs, fresh rice, and a perfect blend of soy sauce and sesame oil. Behold, the cheesy soy sauce egg rice, served with soup and kimchi on the side. The whole crew is ready to eat. Kisok says the melted cheese is the secret ingredient. Kisok cheerily mentions that they've met before, but Baeko has absolutely no clue what's going on. He decides to just roll with it and takes his first bite. And his world just explodes with flavor. Bro is having a religious experience over egg rice. Everyone else is loving it too, absolutely devouring their food. You know Kisoka's feeling pretty good about himself right now. Bro's self-esteem just got fed too. After the meal, Yubem asks the million-dollar question. Why was the president's grandson in the demon realm? Baekho admits he was after the seed at the top, but the hallucinogenic grapes got to him first. We get a quick flashback of him arguing with his grandfather at the Hunter Association. His grandpa made him a deal. Bring back the grapevine seed, and he'll finally get off his back. Baekho explains that he just wanted to meet his grandpa's expectations for once, but he has no idea why this seed is so important. And Do-woon, who knows nothing about family, chimes in. I know why he asked you to bring it back. He explains that the massive grapevine only produces a single seed every few decades. The tree grows huge to protect that one seed from predators on the ground, hiding it at the very top. And it uses the hallucinogenic fruit to protect itself from attackers in the air. The tree dedicates its entire life to that one seed, just like a parent dedicating their life to a child. Do-woon suggests that maybe his grandfather just wanted him to understand that feeling. Miles away, Chairman Lee stands by his window, wondering if he was too hard on his grandson. He pulls out his phone, the contact name reading Puppy, and thinks about asking him to dinner. Back in the demon realm, Baekho finally gets it, and the waterworks start all over again. Speaking of grandfathers, Chairman Lee tries to call his puppy, but the phone isn't even on. He hangs up, but a knot of dread tightens in his stomach. Something is definitely wrong. His mind races, connecting the recent weirdness, a Hanbit explosion, and then dozens of A-rank hunters getting nerfed back to D-rank. His subordinate confirmed it. They were all hit with a gag spell that no one on Earth can break. His assistant wonders if it's some gate anomaly, but the chairman shuts that down fast. Across that many people at once? No way. He knows it's no anomaly, because he saw the culprit with his own 2 eyes. It was that mysterious figure riding a giant parrot vulture, the same one who wrecked his plans. He gave chase immediately, but the target had already dipped through a gate by the time he got there. Staring out his office window, he can't shake the feeling. Why does that boy from years ago keep crossing my mind? Suddenly, an aide bursts into the room, completely out of breath. The news is bad. Young Master Baekho has entered the demon realm looking for grapevine seeds. Meanwhile, back in said demon realm, Do-woon and Yubam are just chilling by a campfire. A good meal knocked everyone else out cold. Yubam asks where Baekho went. Apparently, Kisok put him on dishwashing duty. Chores are the best cure for a moping teenager. Yubam then asks the real question. How does Do-woon know Baekho's grandfather? Do-woon just smiles. That's a story from a long time ago. And here we go, folks. It's flashback time. The scene shifts to a burning ruined city. A much younger Do-woon is confused. He was aiming for the demon realm, but this is not it. He checks his coordinates. Looks like he got a faulty gate stone. With his return window closing, he needs to find a new one, fast. Just then, he sensed a gate, and 2 absolutely vicious, dual-headed dragons lunge right out of it. The beasts fly straight for him, their energy warping the air itself. Ah, I see. He realizes they caused the malfunction. He casually raises a hand and clenches his fist. In a flash, the 2 terrifying monsters are squished into a tiny, cartoonish blue orb, looking completely baffled. Do-woon picks it up, thinking this new sealing method could be useful for catching bad guys. His thoughts are interrupted by a faint cry for help coming from a nearby pile of debris. He quickly frees the trapped man. The survivor is overjoyed, thanking him for the rescue after 3 long days. The man hands him a business card, introducing himself as Lee Won-soo, the Interim Hunter Association chairman. He explains that since he wasn't an awakener himself, he founded the association to support other hunters. Won-soo offers his help, but Do-woon is just thinking, help me? I'm not even a proper hunter. Noticing Won-soo doesn't have a gatestone, Do-woon tells him it's time to get a move on. Won-soo panics, warning him about monsters. Do-woon just points out he wouldn't be trapped if he had a stone to begin with. Switching tactics, Won-soo eagerly offers to find a gatestone, claiming there's one just a sector over. Is that right? Do-woon asks skeptically, but Won-soo insists he knows all the routes. Trying to break the ice, Won-soo offers him a potato, asking if he likes them. Our MC is quietly impressed. It's been a while since he met someone so cheerful after being trapped for 3 days. As they walk, Won-soo starts firing off questions. Where's he from? What's his name? Why is he talking so casually to an older guy? Do-woon gives him the silent treatment, which only makes Won-soo more desperate for an answer. Back in the present, Yubam asks if they stayed in touch. No, Do-woon says, that was the last time we ever saw each other. He adds that the chairman never even found out he was a chimera. With the story over, Yubam checks on the potatoes roasting in the fire. He pulls one out and takes a huge, blissful bite. The steam billows out perfectly. Wonderful, he exclaims, stretching his arms out wide. Now this is what life is all about. Do-woon starts thinking about the coming winter and considers building a cellar for firewood. Dodak pops out of his bag. It's a great idea to keep the wood dry. Suddenly, Dodak starts whimpering. He's already used up all his moisturizing cream. Just as Do-woon tells him to hang on, a blue portal opens. And speak of the devil, it's Manager Kim. Manager Kim looks around and asks where Ki-seok is. Do-woon replies, "Oh, he's doing the dishes." Manager Kim decides to wait on his big news. Instead, he opens a briefcase. They finally made a cure for the mandragora's indigestion. There's just one tiny problem. It has to be given through an IV, and the mandragoras are deathly afraid of needles. In a nearby pot, 2 mandragoras tremble in fear. Manager Kim explains the medicine has to be absorbed slowly to work. Do-woon gets an idea. He asks Manager Kim for some of that moisturizing cream. A moment later, he's giving one of the mandragoras a gentle massage. His friends are just watching this mandragora-exclusive massage session, completely baffled. He smiles. Such a good kid. The massage works a little too well, and the mandragora drifts off to sleep. Manager Kim has never seen anything like it. Now then, Do-woon pulls out the dreaded needle and injects it into the poor little guy. One down, Do-woon tells Manager Kim to start the IV while he handles the next one. The remaining mandragora starts sweating bullets. It knows it's next. Success! The procedure worked. Now they just have to wait and see if the little guys feel better. Do-woon sighs, admitting he'd rather be fighting monsters. The group is just glad everyone else was asleep for the whole bizarre operation. Then Manager Kim remembers his other news. He was saving it for Ki-seok, but he can't wait any longer. I finally perfected a hair loss treatment. A pot lid clatters to the ground. Ki-seok and a zoned-out Baeko, who was helping him, have heard everything. Tears of pure joy stream down Ki-seok's face as he asks, "I'm sorry, could you repeat that? A hair loss treatment?" That sentence just healed him spiritually. Manager Kim unveils his masterpiece. It is a 2-part formula for maximum gains. The blue one reactivates follicles and the yellow one stimulates new growth. He even has a booster to control the length. Ki-seok is absolutely losing his mind over this. Manager Kim asks what style he's going for. And oh, Ki-seok definitely has a plan. He remembers Jia's ideal type. The more hair, the better. You know, that classic do-it-for-her motivation. Fueled by this new determination, Ki-seok makes his request. He wants long hair. No, not just long. He wants it down to his back and as thick as possible. Kim calmly replies, 4 boosters should do it. With a quick shake of the vials, Manager Kim is ready. The operation begins now. The rest of the crew watches from a safe distance. They figure he is planning a big reveal for Jia. Do-woon glances at Baeko. He notes the guy looks even more invested than he expected. Turns out Baeko got the full tragic backstory while on dish duty. He is sincerely rooting for him. Suddenly, a massive explosion of smoke erupts. Uh-oh. Something is definitely not right. The trio looks on in complete shock. The hair growth is out of control. Ki-seok screams his head is getting too heavy. My man is getting crushed. Bro asked for hair, not a whole ecosystem. Manager Kim is panicking, realizing he messed up the formula. Ki-seok is being buried alive under a mountain of his own hair. But Do-won swoops in like a golden blur. He yanks Ki-seok out and warns him, "Stay still or you lose your neck." Do-won's golden threads get to work. A terrified Ki-seok watches as his dream hair gets an emergency trim. After the chaos, Ki-seok collapses to his knees. He just keeps repeating, "My hair? My hair?" Baeko is speechless. Yubum just crosses his arms and asks if he is happy with the result. Bro is savage. Ki-seok looks down with a dark aura. Then he holds up 2 perfect, luscious pigtails. He starts crying tears of pure joy. He screams that the length is absolutely perfect. He immediately praises Manager Kim as a genius and the savior of all mankind. Manager Kim just sighs in relief. Of course, all this commotion wakes up Jia. She stumbles outside to see what is going on. She is still half asleep as she walks out. Then she just stops dead in her tracks. She sees Ki-seok kneeling dramatically. His long black hair flows majestically. Her eyes start glowing a dangerous gold. She asks him, "What are you?" Ki-seok is a blushing, stammering mess. Jia steps closer and gently touches his face. And you know the rest of the gang is nearby. They are totally eating up this drama. Jia grabs his hair and just says it. "The cook, I thought you were a new monster. I almost attacked you." Oof. Jia just turns and goes back to bed. Ki-seok completely collapses as Do-won and Yubum start laughing. The next morning, the Chimera's are on cleanup duty. They are sweeping up excess hair. Gu pecks at Baeka to hurry things up. Nari points out that Ki-seok looks totally dead inside. And she is right. He is in the corner, traumatized, and muttering a new monster. Do-won tells her to just leave him be. Nari asks about Manager Kim. He is back at the lab doing more tests before this stuff hits the shelves. Suddenly, a huge pillar of earth erupts from the ground nearby. It is Jia and Yubum. They just dug a massive pit, and Jia thinks the depth is perfect. Yubum powers up his fists. He smashes the ground to reinforce the walls of the pit. Meanwhile, Jia skillfully uses her powers. She weaves wooden logs into a sturdy outer wall. Talk about teamwork. Their underground storage is finally complete. Yubum proudly says it is Do-woon's style, and Nari is thrilled. The entrance has these heavy, intimidating doors. Nari exclaims that it looks like a demon's lair. That entrance is doing horror movie marketing. Nari worries it is too small, but Yubum explains it opens up underground and even has glowstones for light. Elsewhere, Baekho has chopped a mountain of firewood. Do-woon confirms it is more than enough for the winter. As soon as Do-woon mentions moving it, the little chimeras eagerly volunteer for the job. Gu telepathically tells Do-woon that Baekho works surprisingly hard for a C rank. Baekho's talent is not top tier, but the guy works harder than anyone realizes. Do-woon offers Baekho a magic stone as payment. He tells him it is time to go home, but Baekho does not take it. Instead, he asks if he can join the coconut family. Not Bro rejecting the offer and applying for adoption instead. Do-woon asks why he wants to join. Baekho explains the training here has made Kisok way stronger. He has come this far, now he wants to see it through to the very end. Jia observes a new member has joined the crew. Looks like the family is growing. Do-woon agrees, but on one condition. Baekho needs to get his grandfather's permission first. Conveniently, Do-woon needed to talk to Chairman Lee anyway. He tells Baekho they are going to his house. They arrive at a massive, fancy estate. A nervous Baekho sighs and rings the bell. The gates fly open and his grandfather sprints out. He is shouting Baekho's name in a panic. He pulls Baekho into a fierce hug. He scolds him for disappearing without a single word. Baekho just accepts the hug. He quietly says, "I am back." His grandfather checks him for injuries. He asks if he knows how worried everyone has been. Then he finally notices who is with his grandson. "But who is that standing with you?" Do-woon just says, "It has been a long time." The chairman's eyes go wide with utter shock. Do-woon casually remarks that the chairman has aged a lot, probably because his awakening came late in life. He asks with a slight smile, "Potatoes, do you still like them?" That question got hidden lore behind it. Sometime later, Baekho is watching from inside, losing his mind. How does this 20-something dude know his grandpa from way back? Wait a minute. Could this be the legendary old-school hero his grandpa never shuts up about? Outside, the chairman confirms it. That potato incident? It was ages ago. Lee Won-soo says he could never forget, because that was the day his life was saved by Do-woon. All the hunters were wiped out, but a young Do-woon appeared and pulled him from the rubble. Back then, nobody believed his story. An S-rank hunter that young? Not a chance. The chairman asks where he's been all this time, and Do-woon casually drops a bomb. "Oh, you know, the demon realm." You can almost hear the chairman's brain short-circuit. "You are living inside a gate?" Do-woon just nods like it is no big deal. He explains he died, came back, built a house, and settled down. You know, just casual demon realm things. The chairman still is not buying it, so Do-woon decides to show, not tell. He shows the old man a monstrous claw. Turns out he's a chimera, a living test subject snatched from the slums at age 9. He asks, "Is that believable enough for you now?" The chairman is floored. This illegal lab existed even before the monsterization began. Do-woon admits his memory is shot, especially anything related to a place called TDA. By the end of his time there, he was basically just a beast in a cage. What's worse is that even his memories from before the lab are missing in parts. The chairman's face gets serious as Do-woon tells him they were erased on purpose. But by who? He is talking about the 3 founders of the TDA lab. First, the lab director, the guy who probably ran the experiments on him. Next, the chief instructor. He was in charge of recruitment and training. And finally, the nameless sponsor, the mystery money man behind it all. Do-woon says a spell kept them from spilling secrets, but it did not erase memories. But now that the spell is gone, his memories of just those 3 are missing. How convenient. The chairman gets it. "So what do you need from me?" Do-woon wants him to find any trace of TDA, and to dig up dirt on a director on. The chairman agrees, putting the pieces together. The Hanbid incident, the mountain, that was all him. He asks if this is all about revenge, but Do-woon does not answer. Instead, we see a flashback. Do-woon is giving orders to the slum gang he took over. His new rule, no more kidnappings, or the gang leader is the first to go. Crystal clear. Back in the present, the chairman's little dog, Puri, runs up to Do-woon. Do-woon finally answers the revenge question. He does not want to destroy the life he has finally built. Staring at the adorable dog, he quietly says he does not want anyone else to suffer the way he did. Suddenly, a low growl comes from Do-woon's bag, and out pops Dodak, the mandragora. He looks extremely jealous of the puppy. The chairman is shocked. A mandragora pet? And it is a super healthy one too. And that gives the chairman an idea. A light bulb just went off. He asks Do-woon to check something for him, and brings out a terrarium. Inside is a white cocoon held by golden threads. Do-woon knows exactly what it is. The chairman won it at an auction. Do-woon finds it weird for the hunter president to keep a monster pet. The chairman admits that after 60 years of fighting, he has grown fond of them. He even wonders if they come to the human world by choice. Maybe they don't. And Do-woon basically confirms it. You're not completely wrong. Anyway, the chairman has a proposal. He wants Do-won to take the cocoon. He says the demon realm is a better home for it. The irony is not lost on Do-won. Do-won places his hand on the tank, unleashing a huge wave of mana. A voice whispers from inside. Wait, this thing can talk? The cocoon sighs in satisfaction. Okay, so it is an intelligent one. As the sun sets, Do-won opens a portal to head back with Baekho. Once Baekho hits B rank, he will give official recognition. But he can't stay in the demon realm for too long. Do-won invites Baekho to visit the demon realm anytime he likes. The boy is so thankful. Do-won is just thinking it is good to have a messenger pigeon. Before they leave, the chairman stops him one last time. He just says, "Thank you for all of it." The cocoon spoke. The chairman wanted to know what it said. Do-won did the translation. It said it is thankful to him. Without him, it would have died. The chairman watches them leave, promising they will meet again soon. Do-won arrives back home in the demon realm. But where is everyone? Gu explains Kizok is training. The others are playing tag, and it looks more like a deathmatch. Gu notices the terrarium and asks what it is. Do-won explains it is a silk thread caterpillar cocoon. Do-won thinks they might get along, but Gu gets a seriously bad vibe from it. And right on cue, a massive explosion goes off in the distance. Gu says that has been happening a lot, just as a screaming, soot-covered figure sprints toward them. It is Kizok, looking like he just survived a Michael Bay movie. Blue light is circling on his body. Do-won is not impressed. Kizok comes flying in and eats dirt. Before he can even speak, Do-won cuts him off. I know. He congratulates Kizok on reconstructing his mana hole. Kizok is ecstatic. He broke his limits. He is totally gonna pass his exam now, right? Wrong. Do-won shuts that down immediately. Power is useless without control. The exam, though, is happening in a week. Pure yikes. Do-won suggests some aggressive sparring. Kizok would rather just fail the test. But somebody else has a plan. The person tells the duo to leave the training to her. Jia steps forward, looking ready for a fight. It is the least she can do to repay her debt, after all. A week of what I can only assume was pure hell training with Jia later, and it's finally exam day. The place is packed with hopefuls. The receptionist is just going through the motions, used to the exam day chaos. She calls the next number, but stops cold when she sees who strolls up. Do-won's crew rolls up looking like they just stepped off a runway. We got Yubam, Do-won, Jia, and Tiny Nari looking like icons. The poor receptionist asks if they're all here for the test. Do-won kindly explains that this whole entourage is for just one guy, and that guy is our boy, Namkisok. Bro looks like he hasn't slept in a month and smells like regret. She's so horrified she's debating whether to call the authorities. Jia's training was clearly not a spa day. A bit later, Kizok is a ball of nerves, but he's grateful for the support crew. He's panicking. He trained like a maniac, but the pre-test jitters are real. Just then, Nari says she has a little something for him. She presents him with a lucky bracelet she picked out just for our guy. My man is completely overcome, tearing up right there in the lobby. Nari, the tiny general, immediately puts Yubam on the spot for some encouraging words. Yubam immediately deflects to Jia, saying she should do it since she was his trainer. Smart move. Jia's version of a pep talk? Telling him his hair is a mess and he needs a haircut. Yubam is also suddenly unconscious on the floor. Let's just move on. And just like that, Kizok's morale hits rock bottom. Finally, Nari points to the final boss of encouragement, Chun Do-won. Do-won asks a simple question. What's the plan after you pass? But Kizok admits he's never thought that far. Do-won drops one heck of a goal on him. S rank, he tells Kizok not to stop at A rank. The real goal is to become an S rank hunter. He's thinking back to those A rankers on the snowy mountain. Let's be honest, they were all clowns. He basically tells Kizok, don't be a weirdo like them, leaving him totally flabbergasted. Speaking of weirdos, Chairman Lee Won-soo shows up, surprised to see Do-won. Do-won completely blanks the chairman to finish his pep talk. He tells Kizok he's a hard worker and that effort pays off. Kizok is floored. The praise from his hero hits different. Do-won assures him it's true. A little while later, they're all chilling in the chairman's office. Chairman Lee admits he's surprised the guy is Do-won's apprentice, but he has always respected Kizok's grind. Do-won asks how long this exam will take. The chairman says it's 3 rounds and can drag on for a while. Do-won is annoyed by how long it is, but then he looks down and sees Nari has completely passed out on his lap. Turns out the little champ stayed up all night looking for Kiseok's gift. Even Do-dak, the tiny Mandragora general, is knocked out. For a second, Do-won gets to feel something like peace. The chairman offers up some fancy Korean snacks, which Jia and Yubam start munching on. They're not S ranks too, are they? The chairman clarifies. Do-won says they're just his lab colleagues. Then Do-won casually drops that little Nari is probably around A+ rank. The chairman's brain just blue-screened. Seeing a golden opportunity, the chairman suggests they all register as hunters. Right now, he can use his authority to issue their IDs on the spot. No boring exam needed. He argues it'll make life easier and keep unwanted attention away. Do-woon actually considers it. The chairman frames it as a sign of respect. Do-woon just shrugs and says, sure, why not? He has one condition though. They do things their own way. The chairman agrees instantly. Yubom and Jia are cool with it, and the chairman feels like he's finally repaying a tiny bit of his debt to Do-woon. But just as they're about to snap some ID photos, the doors get kicked open. Some guy in a trench coat and sunglasses strolls in like he owns the place. Apparently, he's the chairman's son. The chairman is shocked. His son, Chung-hyuk, just looks over at Do-woon's crew with a grin. Meanwhile, back at the exam, Ki-sok faces his examiner, who helpfully reminds him this is his 7th try. Ki-sok tenses up. Of all the people to be his examiner, it had to be this guy. It's the same dude who one-shot him last year, and he's already mocking Ki-sok's hairstyle. And you already know the trope, folks. He's an earth user, a hard counter to Ki-sok's fire. Perfect. The examiner grins, dropping some cheesy villain line about false hope being worse than despair. Ki-sok barely blocks the first hit as the guy tells him to give up on his hopeless dream. But then he remembers his training, blasts the guy back with some fire, and makes some space. It doesn't last. The examiner is on him instantly, calling his attacks predictable. He keeps taunting Ki-sok, telling him to just quit and get a normal job while winding up another punch. We flash back to his training. He's face down in the dirt, but then he hears Jia's voice. She asks him why he always closes his eyes at the most important moment. She tells him to stop flinching, keep his eyes open, and face what's coming. Her words ring in his head. Focus on this moment. Right now. And with eyes wide open, he catches that massive stone fist. The examiner is furious and kicks him back, but Ki-sok realizes he was just scared of failing again. Scared that maybe this was as good as he was ever going to get, but not anymore. He plants his feet, cracking the floor beneath him. From now on, he's only focused on the here and now. Nothing else matters. He glares at the examiner. You think my dream is hopeless? Then you can be the first one to lose to this hopeless fool. Bro is cooking. The smoke clears. Ki-sok is standing, biting down on Nari's lucky bracelet for dear life. The examiner has been defeated. An announcement declares that Nam Ki-sok has passed round 1. He's bruised but triumphant. That's a first. He's never even passed round 1 before. Bro just discovered victory for the first time. So, you have company, Jung-hyuk says. He takes one look at the team and asks his dad if he's retiring to open a daycare. The disrespect is real. The chairman is already over it. He tells his son to cut the crap and get straight to the point. So Jung-hyuk casually drops a massive, still-breathing S-rank demonic razor clam on the table. He offers it for an upcoming auction, bragging that he can get more anytime he wants. Total flex. But the chairman is not impressed. He angrily rejects the gift, knowing it was probably obtained illegally. Then the visitor reveals why he's really ticked off. Jung-hyuk's goons were interrogated after the mountain incident. And worse, they accuse them of kidnapping a child from the slums. Oh, he is heated. The friendly facade drops. Jung-hyuk asks, do I still look like the boy who used to answer to you? He warns to never lay a hand on his people again. Suddenly, an angry screech comes from Do-woon's bag. It's Dodak, the Mandragora general, ready to throw down. The noise wakes up Nari. Do-woon just calmly says they probably sensed an unfamiliar mana presence. Jung-hyuk sees the little guy, already annoyed, and reaches out to get a closer look. Bad move. Do-woon's hand flashes out, grabbing his wrist in a bone-crushing grip. He leans in. Funny. Sounds like I'm the one who should be warning you. Do-woon remembers what the gang boss told him. Jung-hyuk was paying people to cause trouble in the slums. Back in the present, Do-woon's eyes blaze with blue energy as he puts 2 and 2 together. The mana pressure is suffocating. Jung-hyuk can't even move, he can only grit his teeth. A massive bird-like monster appears. He asks if the hunters on the mountain were his work too. The chairman panics, yelling for both of them to stop before they wreck his office. After a tense stare-down, Do-woon powers down. Jung-hyuk collapses to the floor, gasping for air. Jung-hyuk is in disbelief. He's almost S-rank, but he was completely helpless. He realizes Do-woon is on another level. Terrified, he scrambles out of there, needing to figure out who this guy really is. Once his son is gone, the chairman asks Do-woon if Bong-soo, the boy from the slums, is okay. Do-woon reassures him, saying Bong-soo is safe with some of his very reliable friends. Then the chairman drops a bombshell. Jung-hyuk also grew up in the slums. He sponsored him. The kid was bright, got into a good university, and worked with him for 20 years. But somewhere down the line, they fell out. Jung-hyuk wanted to use the association to make money, so a few years ago, he broke off and started his own group, the Free Hunter Association. Free hunters are basically mercenaries. They operate independently to cash in on their powers. With the tension finally gone, Do-woon asks about that auction Jung-hyuk mentioned. The chairman explains that every year, Gold City hosts a massive auction event. It started as a charity, but now it's just a playground for the rich to show off. Just then, someone knocks on the door. An aide comes in with some news about Ki-sok. He announces that Hunter Nam Ki-sok has passed his promotion exam, finishing after just 2 rounds. He was so dominant, they waived the 3rd round entirely. 7 minutes on the first test and just 1 on the second. Meanwhile, Kisok is completely shell-shocked. A whole mob of reporters has swarmed him. One reporter asks if it's true his wig was the key to his success. Kisok immediately starts to panic. He remembers he's supposed to keep the hair growth a secret, so he just nervously agrees. The reporters go wild, but right on time, Neri grabs his hand and yells for him to follow her. They make a clean getaway in a massive black limousine. Nari is just amazed by the very long car. Inside, Jia teases him, asking if he really passed. Kisok, crying with joy, shows off his new A-rank ID. Even Jia gives him a rare compliment, saying, "Not bad, chef." But Nari cuts the celebration short by shoving her own A-rank license. She's just like him now. And that's not all. Dodak is now officially an S-rank hunter. Kisok's mind is completely blown. He asks why Dodak's eyes are closed in his ID photo. Nari just figures he was still sleepy. Do-won holds up Dodak, saying he'll get his card fixed later. Kisok is already planning his own new photo. As they drive, Kisok asks where they're going, to which Do-won says, "You'll see." Flashback alert, Chairman Lee hands Do-won a black card. It's an association tradition to get a custom suit after hitting A rank. They are going to meet with an eccentric man who happens to be the best tailor in the city. Kisok and Nari are not impressed. The place looks pretty run down for the best tailor. Suddenly, the door flies open and a guy gets thrown out, followed by a bunch of sewing supplies. An old man grumbles about useless kids. The chairman's secretary politely greets him. Master Jung refuses service, saying he doesn't make clothes for hunters. But the secretary mentions the chairman. He gestures to Do-won's group, saying the chairman thought he might enjoy this particular job. Master Jung is still fuming. He's really eccentric, huh? Yubum thinks to himself. The master crosses his arms, ready to refuse, but then he sees something that makes him freeze. Nari pipes up, announcing that Dodak wants to pick out an outfit too. The little mandragora pops out of Do-won's pocket with a determined look, stunning the old tailor. Dodak turns on the charm, sparkling with a ridiculous amount of cuteness. It's a full-on charm offensive, and it is super effective. Master Jung is completely mesmerized. He just whispers, "So cute." He stands there for a moment, having an internal crisis. Finally, he caves. Muttering about personal requests from friends, he welcomes them inside. Victory for Dodak, and just like that, they're in. The whole coconut family is getting measured for some seriously slick new gear. Well, some of them are. Nari is currently losing a fight with a measuring tape, while Do-won is living his best life. Meanwhile, Kisok is absolutely feeling himself, hitting the mirror with some expert-level finger guns. Even Jia has to admit the place and their new coats are looking pretty sharp. With the chaos sorted, Master Jung finally asks Do-won what kind of style he's going for. Do-won admits he knows nothing about fashion, but he wants one thing: a matching look to feel like a real family. Neri is 100% on board with this idea, and the rest of the crew quickly agrees. This completely inspires the old tailor. But Do-won wonders why he suddenly changed his mind about working with hunters. The answer, my friends, is simple. It's the S-class weapon of mass cuteness, Dodak. Turns out, Master Jung is the president of an association for chimera rights. The man is a professional stan. He's so dedicated, he's even been spotted at protest wearing an I Heart Chimera t-shirt. A true activist. He then gets an amazing idea. Does the little guy want some custom clothes too? Apparently, custom outfits for companion creatures are a huge trend right now. Without missing a beat, he pulls out samples, a Sherpa jacket, some cute overalls, and a tiny dapper suit. Nari is losing her mind over how cute they are, and Do-won's imagination kicks into overdrive. He imagines Sherpa Dodak conquering a mountain like a tiny, leafy champion. Next up is Golden Child Dodak, just an innocent little guy playing with his toys. And finally, we have Stock King Dodak, a high-powered executive pointing to a chart that only goes up. Alright, this is a pretty solid idea. Do-won lets Dodak pick out his favorite. He spotted his fellow Mandragoras, or at least he thinks he has. His eyesight isn't great. Suddenly, a look of pure, unshakable determination crosses his face. He points forward, ready to lead his army, and shouts, "Follow me." And nobody moves, because they're mannequins. The look of disappointment on his face is just heartbreaking. Seeing this little tragedy, Master Jung reveals his secret weapon. His life's masterpiece. It's a coat he made for his future companion. But will Dodak even like it? Master Jung isn't worried. The special fabric is designed to be a perfect fit for any creature. Do-won picks up the tiny coat. And wow, the material feels incredibly soft. He pushes a little of his own mana into the fabric, giving it a familiar feel for Dodak. The mana makes Dodak's leaf glow a brilliant gold. Its eyes widen in pure wonder. Seeing the glowing coat, Dodak starts wiggling with excitement. He wants it. Now, Do-won gently slips the new coat onto the little mandragora. It's a perfect fit, and Dodak is overjoyed. He absolutely loves his new mana-charged outfit. With everyone fitted, Master Jung tells them to come back next week to pick everything up. Dodak, however, refuses to take off its new favorite coat, snuggling happily on Dawon. Just as they're wrapping up, the shop bell rings. 2 new customers have arrived. A woman in a red dress walks in, followed by a man with silver hair. She greets the tailor. She says she needs a dress, but Master Jung is not buying it for a second. He angrily tells her to get out. His shop is not for sale, and it never will be. The woman Jessica just laughs. She claims she'll pay any price for the land. She starts to make a threat, but stops dead when she finally notices Do-woon's crew. Her eyes go wide. She can sense his immense power, but doesn't recognize his face. She asks if he's new to Gold City. Do-woon just gives her a cool, "And why do you ask?" Switching tactics, she turns on the charm and invites little Nari to her amusement park, Dodo Land. The words amusement park hit Nari like a lightning bolt. She is absolutely floored. Jessica pulls out a golden ticket, trying to hand it straight to Nari, a classic villain move. But Do-woon is faster. He stands up. "What do you think you're doing?" Jessica just plays innocent, claiming she just loves children. "Yeah, sure you do." She hands the VIP invitation to Do-woon instead, formally introducing herself. The ticket is for Dodo Land, and she casually mentions a big parade happening tonight. She insists they come, promising that Neri will have the time of her life. Do-woon hesitates. The offer is suspicious, but he can't ignore how excited Nari is. An amusement park and a parade? This is a dream come true for Nari. She grabs Do-woon's hand, begging to go, but Do-woon isn't even that sure what a parade is. He remembers seeing one on TV once. There were cool cars and cute mascots. He also remembers seeing a family there, a mom, a dad, and their kid, all holding hands. It looked like so much fun. The kind of fun he wants for his family. That settles it. Nari wants their whole family to go see the parade together. Seeing her this happy, Do-woon smiles. Yeah, they're going to the parade. A bit later, Kiso catches the scent of something amazing. Grilled butter squid and churros. He has entered his personal heaven. Without a word, Kisok and Nari take off like a shot, sprinting towards the food stalls. Do-woon laughs, but Yubem's still on guard. He tells the others something about Jessica feels very wrong. Jia agrees. She's also noticed they picked up a tail on the way in. It's Jessica's silver-haired subordinate, trying his best to be sneaky. Yubem cracks his knuckles, more than happy to go deal with their little shadow. Do-woon thinks back to the weird energy he sensed from Jessica. It wasn't normal mana. He needs to handle this quietly, without ruining Nari's perfect day. Then his eyes land on a nearby haunted house. Oh, this is going to be good. A plan begins to form, and Do-woon can't help but smile. Later, Jessica's subordinate is waiting outside the haunted house. They've been in there for a while. He's starting to get impatient. What could possibly be taking them so long? Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream echoes from inside the building. Inside, things have gone completely off the rails. The actors' screams have become very, very real. A real ghost has appeared. Oh no! A woman cries out for her mom as Jessica's subordinate, Joy, just watches on. He immediately wonders if this chaos is their doing again. A little later, Jessica is stewing over her encounter with Do-woon's crew. She tells her driver, Joy, to find out exactly who they are. Joy walks through the park, noting he's never seen the boss so rattled. Worried about more trouble, he decides to check out the haunted house himself. He scoffs at the ghost rumors. Bro really thinks he's built different. He shuts off all the special effects and strolls in the place. It's his first time going inside. He instantly regrets this when he hears a faint, unsettling sound in the dark. His senses flare up, and he immediately dives into the shadows to hide. After a moment, Joy turns invisible and moves forward. What could make that noise? But with every single step, the sound echoes him. He realizes he's being followed. He panics. No one should see him, but something is charging straight for him. He bolts, finally understanding what's happening. It's the Coconut family, dressed as monsters and having way too much fun chasing him. Yubem shouts, "Get back here," while Jia straight up trips him with her scythe. Believing he's about to be ghost-napped, he screams for mercy. He's a believer now. He turns and comes face to face with a terrifying, long-haired ghost. The shock is too much. He passes out on the spot. Turns out the horrifying ghost was just Kisok, who is now seriously considering a haircut. Jia immediately starts scolding Kisek, telling him to train his mana control. Yubem fires at his sister, asking who throws a real scythe at family. She just says he shouldn't have taunted her. Kisok boasts that he's A rank now and can track them by aura alone. But the real MVP was Dodak, who found a voice-changing mic to complete the prank. So how did this all start? A little earlier, Do-woon had to convince a terrified Nari to go inside. The secret weapon? He told her their family is going. Plus, there was a prize for collecting all the stamps. Do-won's brilliant idea was simple. Why don't we just be the ghosts? I'll cast invisibility spell on you. Meanwhile, the young girl remembers the poor guy from Master Jung's clothing shop. Nari wanted to get a doctor, but Do-won knew this guy would never admit he fainted from a fake ghost. With their mission accomplished, they go collect Nari's hard-earned prize. She happily skips off to watch the parade, eager to give the toy to her fox friend. Yubam observes that there are definitely more people here than before. Kisok says securing a good spot is everything, but the fun is cut short when a massive, swirling red gate rips open the sky. Panic erupts. A natural gate opening in the middle of a theme park is very, very bad. A tiny, surprisingly cute creature floats out of the portal. It's a flying squirrel. The park security team mobilizes, but one hunter laughs. It's just one squirrel. The squirrel then effortlessly swats the magic arrow right out of the air. Its horn crackles with power before it unleashes a huge blast, wiping out the entire team. Kisok is genuinely impressed. For a squirrel, that's some serious firepower. Then, the creature starts to grow, and grow, until it towers over the park. Do-won immediately realizes the mistake, shocking Kisok. That's a disaster-class monster. Jia appears, noting how rare it is for one to show up alone as the creature roars with power. Now he is about to take up the whole frame. Oh no! As the monster towers over them, Do-won thinks something is off. A beast this powerful should have an army of minions. He finds it strange this one is flying solo. There has to be a reason for it. Suddenly, the monster launches itself into the air. Kisok screams a warning. It's coming right for them. But at the last second, Kisok moves to shield Nari from the impact. They look up, totally confused. The monster just vanished. Kisok wonders if it can turn invisible. Then bam! It reappears, shredding through a bumper car sign. It zips around like a bolt of lightning, demolishing everything as blue energy crackles through the park. Yubam figures it out. It's scattering demonic energy to hide its presence. A pretty slick move. Jia adds that the park-wide blackout means it's probably got electricity powers too. Great. Nari panics, screaming that it's going to destroy the whole park. Time to end this. Do-won gets a net ready, then unleashes his own attack. A storm of golden energy threads. The threads rocket through the air, weaving together into a massive glowing spiderweb. The net snaps shut, trapping the creature before it can react. Do-won slams it straight into the ground with a bone-shattering impact. Gotcha. When the dust settles, the monster is tiny again, just wiggling on the ground like a lost puppy. Kisok points out how cute it is now. Nari agrees, saying it looks totally harmless. Nari nervously asks Do-won if he's going to kill it. He explains that as a disaster class, other hunters won't let it live. She pleads for its life, arguing it was just scared and only fought back because it was attacked first. She insists it's a good monster deep down. Do-won smiles. He's also curious why it was alone. So he decides they'll take it home for now. Nari is absolutely thrilled. Just then, Jia notices the big red gate in the sky is starting to close. Yubam thinks it's closing way too fast for a natural gate. Something is definitely up. They look around at the wrecked park and realize everyone else has evacuated. They're all alone. Nari's face falls. She realizes what this means. The parade is canceled. Do-won confirms it. No parade tonight. Nari scoops up the little monster, hugging it tight. With tears in her eyes, she says it's okay. They can just see it next time. Seeing Nari this disappointed is rough. The rest of the family looks completely dejected. But then Kisok's got an idea. He tells everyone to follow him. He leads them up to the observation deck of a tall clock tower. Jia is skeptical. Did he seriously drag them all the way up here for the view? Kisok just tells everyone to wait. And then, a firework shoots into the night sky, exploding in a brilliant flash of color. The group is absolutely stunned, so this is what fireworks are like. Kisok explains they're scheduled to go off right after the parade. The emergency power must have kicked in. Do-won watches with a small smile. It's clear that both Dodak and Nari are loving this. With her eyes sparkling, Nari tells him she's going to remember this day for the rest of her life. Meanwhile, back in the demon realm, Gu is looking out for the little cocoon creature. Gu is freaking out. Even with the mana-infused house, it's getting worse. The poor thing can barely breathe. Little flashback, Do-won tells Gu he's leaving him a new friend, the little cocoon guy. He explains it's an intelligent creature, just like Gu, and can even talk a little bit. Do-won also mentions his telepathy doesn't work on it, which might mean it's a higher rank than him. Just then, a portal opens and the rest of the group arrives. Gu zips over to them, completely panicked. He yells at them for taking so long and tells them to check on the sick creature immediately. Do-won sits down to examine it. Gu confirms it's been having a hard time breathing. He places a hand on the nest to check his mana infusion. He has no idea what's wrong. Suddenly, the little squirrel in Nari's arm starts squeaking and struggling like crazy. The cocoon creature seems to respond, weakly saying they've met before. The squirrel leaps from Nari's arms and lands gently near its sick buddy. And then it clicks. Gu realizes the disaster-class monster is the sick creature's friend. He's floored. The squirrel nudges the cocoon, who has tears in its eyes. It looks like the patch is suffocating it. With a determined cry, the little squirrel turns around and bolts away at top speed. Do-won smiles. He tells the others to rest while he follows it. Looks like those two really are friends.